This guy has absolute godlike strength, easily snapping a mammoth tusk with just one hand. During a fire swimming contest with the Fire Clan, thousand-year-old lava feels like gentle ocean waves to him, and he even saves his drowning opponent. He challenges gods and destroys demons, so how on earth did Ren get isekai'd into the very Demon King hunted by millions of players across the entire server? Rewinding a few minutes, Ren is the last player standing against the final boss of the demon race. While others complain about this boss having an absurd nightmare-level difficulty, Ren stubbornly summons thousands of shadow clones, buzzing like a swarm of angry flies all around the Demon King. After hammering away at his keyboard like a madman, he finally lands a scratch on the boss's forearm, successfully staining his blade with one precious drop of black blood. The Demon King sneers, mocking the tiny human. Getting serious now, he unleashes his ultimate skill, Echo of the Abyss, burning everything in sight and locking Ren in mid-air with endless thorny black tentacles that pierce straight through his body. I will praise you for your stubborn persistence. If you want to beg for your life as a reward, go ahead, I might just listen and consider it. Even in this desperate situation, Ren sneers arrogantly in response that is pathetic. His stalling time is over, and he tightly grips his special sword, the actual vessel of Angel King Keth, summoning a massive pillar of blinding white light that tears through the absolute darkness. Demon King Shajia remains completely calm. Do you really think you stand a chance against me just by summoning some weak remnant of the Angel King? But his smirk instantly vanishes as he realizes this is no mere remnant. It is the original god himself, and definitely not some ordinary divine being. It has been totally corrupted by the blood of his arch-nemesis, Shajia. Pure white wings are stained with a dark crimson aura and bizarre demonic eyes. Angel King Keth roars in absolute rage at his own defiled state. Blasphemy, pure blasphemy. Watching this divine wrath unfold, Ren calculates his next move. The rest is up to me. If I time this just right, I will have a real shot at destroying the Demon King. However, the sheer force of Keth's attacks forces Ren to scramble to dodge. Watching the chaos, Shajia demands to know what he did. Retreating step by step, Ren quickly explains his insane plan. The truth is, this sword is the Angel King's sacred relic, and I contaminated it beforehand to drive him insane. Humiliated by such a cheap trick, Shajia roars, "You are just a human playing dirty tricks. I will not let you leave here alive." Gathering a massive surge of purple energy, Shajia charges forward while Angel King Keth screams in absolute madness. Blasphemy, pure blasphemy. At the ultimate critical moment, Ren shouts now. Demon King Shajia immediately unleashes Echo of the Abyss, clashing head-on with the Angel King's devastating Santo Tanius attack. Ren roars in pure triumph, declaring that Demon King Shajia has lost. And get this, a massive explosion erupts, swallowing everything in a blinding, terrifying flash of light. Looking at the ruins with a victorious smirk, Ren declares it is finally over and Shajia was fated to be sealed from the very beginning. Suddenly, the necklace around his neck shatters, releasing a massive surge of raw energy. Massive system announcement shakes the entire server. Demon King Shajia has been defeated. The golden leaderboard displays a single legendary name as the Slayer, Ichinosen. With this unprecedented achievement, he officially earns the title of the first Demon King Slayer in gaming history. Back in the real world, sitting in his dark bedroom, Ren cannot contain his sheer excitement, laughing out loud with total satisfaction. Laughing like a madman, the otaku gamer screams in pure joy that even the Demon King was not that big of a deal. "I actually did it," he yells. "I am officially the strongest player." This is easily the peak moment of his gaming life, the ultimate glory he always dreamed of. Ren smugly brushes back his hair, enjoying the praise from the system notifications. It sounds absolutely beautiful. Right in the middle of his celebration, a new notification catches his attention. Oh, is this a gift from the game developer? I should probably send him a proper thank you message. But then a bizarre direct message from the admin team suddenly pops up with some very mysterious content. The message asks if the Demon King really is not that scary, and why not accept his new mission, as even though the text is weirdly corrupted and makes no sense, Ren just shrugs it off. Thinking a gift is a gift, and only an idiot would refuse. He decisively clicks yes, but a sudden chill runs straight down his spine as he notices something incredibly off. That line about the Demon King not being scary, some force actually heard him say that out loud. But how on earth did they hear it? Ren's face turns pale, his eyes shaking with absolute terror as he realizes he is no longer in his safe room. A shadowy entity with a massive grin of razor-sharp fangs suddenly manifests, growling out, "Right here, Ren. Let's play a game." Ren only has time to let out a terrified scream before jet-black tentacles suddenly burst from his computer screen, wrapping tightly around his body as he shrieked in absolute agony. Sucked by a deep blue vortex into a strange void right outside the Demon King's castle, he sees a total mess of defeated goblin minions scattered all over the ground. A powerful white tiger steps forward, making the trembling goblins hiss in fear. They call the tiger a useless, dumb stray cat, screaming that Shajia is dead and gone. Enraged, the tiger roars back, "Do not speak Lord Shajia's name so casually." Backed into a corner by his terrifying aura, the goblins only sputter a weak threat that they will remember this before running away for their lives. The tiger huffs, telling them to beat it. Looking up at the lonely castle, he quietly promises that Lord Shajia, his only true master, can rest assured because he will protect this fortress forever. Right at that moment, a figure stumbles forward in the distance, and it is indeed Ren, but he is in complete panic, groaning and asking what the hell is going on. He complains that he had absolutely no idea the new mission meant becoming the actual Demon King. Checking his status screen in complete shock, he finds his character name changed to Shajia Herat, a level 0 demon. Ren turns pale, seeing his status reads cursed with 9,999 power but currently sealed. He laments over his completely ruined stats starting at level 0 with a mountain of heavy debuffs. Seeing the white tiger glaring right at him, Ren forces a nervous smile and waves, asking if it is going well, bro. But the beast's reaction is totally unexpected. It roars in shock before turning absolutely furious, screaming that he stole Lord Shajia's armor. This is getting crazy. The tiger vows never to forgive him, but Ren quickly tries to regain his composure. No, wait, if he has the Demon King's base power, this tiger should actually be easy prey. Ren raises his hand, intending to unleash Shajia's signature ultimate move. Echo of the Abyss, but instead of a world-ending explosion, absolutely nothing happens. The tiger lunges and chomps down hard on his arm, leaving Ren in utter shock, screaming in despair as to why his skill will not activate. The tiger effortlessly pins Ren to the ground. Right at that moment, a cold system notification chimes in: attack successfully blocked, acquiring the passive skill known as Shadow Boost. Movement speed is increased by 30% for 5 seconds. Ren bitterly realizes the harsh reality he has to relearn every single skill from scratch. While he is still reeling in shock, the tiger roars, leaping forward to strike again. Despite being backed into a dangerous corner, Ren tries to stay positive, telling himself that even with all these debuffs, he is still the mighty Demon King. But a flashing red system warning instantly shatters his optimism. You have been affected by the curse. Shadow Boost has now mutated into Stone Guardian, hardening your entire body for 10 seconds. Ren screams in sheer panic, asking what on earth that is supposed to mean. The white tiger seizes the opportunity, lunging with terrifying speed as Ren raises his arms in a desperate attempt to block, knowing he cannot dodge in time. As the powerful bite slams down, Ren is shocked to feel his body going stiff. His arm is literally turning to solid stone. Even with razor-sharp teeth sinking into him, he grits his teeth and endures, holding on to a sliver of hope. If he can just hold out until the tiger's grip weakens, he might survive. Luckily, the system pops up a notification showing the stone status is about to end, taking him by surprise. The beast notices something is off too. Snorting in deep contempt, it mocks the useless curse, declaring itself the ultimate tank and inviting Ren to bring it on. The stone layer on Jen's arm shatters, releasing a massive burst of raw energy that blows his opponent away. But instead of attacking again, the giant tiger lands, looks back, and lets out a surprisingly cute, affectionate whimper. Its glowing red eyes lock onto Jen with pure adoration as it realizes the truth. This familiar presence, it really is a long-lost master. Suddenly, a brilliant light envelops the giant beast, and its body begins to transform, tearing away its outer fur. My master has returned. The emotional voice rings out as a young girl lands gracefully on the ground. The tiger beast girl Heras, sporting fluffy ears and a tail, kneels down with teary, joyful eyes, saying she has waited forever. Lord Saras, is that really you? Jen is completely stunned, realizing the previous Demon King actually had such a gorgeous female subordinate in his ranks. Before he can process this, the tiger girl leaps forward and hugs him tightly, crying about how much she missed him. Jen panics, desperately trying to push her away, yelling at her to wait a second and calm down. Who even are you? And please stop hugging me, Jen pleads. The girl looks hurt, explaining that she is Mamheras, his loyal tiger mount, asking if he forgot her. Hearing the name Mamher, Jen freezes, asking if she just said Mamherat. Seeing her master still confused, she asks if his memories have returned yet. Suddenly, a terrifying memory flashes in Jen's mind, showing a massive, savage tiger demon who was once the feared beastkin chief and his absolute right-hand enforcer. The memory of a hulking, muscular beast roaring makes Jen scream in terror. What on earth is this? He yells. Are you cosplaying? Because you look completely different. Seeing his utter shock, Heras blushes and confesses that it all started 100 years ago. According to her story, the former Demon King was ambushed back then by the leader of the angels, Ket. Despite a fierce, heroic struggle, their lord was defeated, causing the entire demon army to completely collapse. Afterward, the demon race stood defenseless against a brutal purge led by the ruthless new angel commander, Ben. This historic defeat sent shockwaves everywhere, forcing 6 out of the 7 demon leaders to surrender and serve the angels. Only the Beastkin, under her personal command, continued to fiercely resist. However, even her loyal tribe could not escape the sweeping purge, and they were ultimately captured by the enemy. Heras painfully recalls the bitter moment Ben cursed her, turning her mighty and powerful warrior body into a woman. Since then, the angels have successfully controlled the entire demon army. She silently uses a tree branch to draw sad, nostalgic sketches of her old legion in the dirt. Heras anxiously asks if her master understands the situation. Jen nods along, but secretly roasts her terrible drawing skills, thinking she should never pick up a stick to draw again. He finds it incredibly bizarre that his own victory over Saw is completely unmentioned in her story. Even worse, he has no idea how 100 years have already passed. Suddenly, a system window pops up and get this guys, it is a new quest called the Return of the King, forcing him to rescue the Beastkin in 2 days. Jen figures that since he has to survive in this world, he might as well follow the system for the rewards. But then, he completely flips his attitude and confidently says, "No way, I refuse." He does not want to take risks when he still knows nothing about the curses on his body. Instantly, the system threatens him with a failure penalty, a blood curse that halts growth and causes permanent migraines. Jen is absolutely terrified. Just as he tries to ignore it, a 40-minute countdown timer begins ticking away, forcing him to bitterly admit that he has absolutely no choice but to start. Annoyed, Jen reluctantly taps yes and mutters under his breath. A reward selection screen then presents a choice, unlocking his Demon King powers or finding a way back to his old world. Jen briefly fantasizes about a lavish life, filled with treasures and beautiful women as a king, but he quickly snaps out of it. No, he has a real life waiting for him back home. He turns to Harris with a serious face and asks if she will lend him her strength if he commands her to fight beside him again. Harris joyfully cheers, saying she has waited forever to hear those words. Pumped up, Jen selects option A as his reward. But Harris immediately kills the mood, revealing she is no longer the chief because her power plummeted after turning into a woman and her rank was stripped away. Jen's face deforms in pure shock as he screams in despair. "What did you just say? I only asked you because I thought you were still the chief." Harris casually replies that if he wants to meet the current chief, they can do it right now. She excitedly claims that if the tribe hears Lord Saras is back, they will surely return, leaving Jen highly skeptical. "Really?" he mutters. Suddenly, she leaps forward to hug him again, happily basking in being close to her beloved master. Before Jen can even react, Harris throws him over her shoulder and dashes off like a bullet toward the Beastkin camp. Dragged along so violently, Jen can only scream in agony as his body gets constantly battered along the way. Meanwhile, a tense, dark atmosphere hangs heavy over the Royal Angel Temple. Inside the Grand Hall, the supreme leader of the angels, Ben, sits quietly playing chess. Suddenly, a subordinate rushes in with news that Saras has been resurrected. Ben lets out a chilling, mysterious smirk, as if everything is going exactly as he planned. His eyes gleam with malice as he orders his subordinate to spread the news to the other angels. He mutters to himself that he will push Saras into the depths of utter despair. Because Saras killed Ket, the one Ben loved most, he vows to make the Demon King suffer horribly before his own subjects before finally taking his life. Ben coldly slides a white pawn forward, knocking down the Black King to show his resolve. Looks like Saras is in serious trouble this time. Now check this out. Over at Dragon Valley, a silver-haired assassin stands proudly on the corpse of a massive dragon. A subordinate rushes over with urgent news that the angels have ordered them to hunt down the newly reborn Demon King, Saras. Hearing his target's name, the captain lets out an excited grin, thrilled to finally have a chance to cure his long-standing boredom. He leaps down from the high cliff, ordering this task to be handed over to the Shadow Moon 3rd team. This leader is Jiro, a level 32 assassin from the DM tribe known as the Black Crow. With eyes glowing with bloodlust, Jiro marches his army forward, coldly declaring they will kill every last one. Meanwhile, at the CDA Mountains, a new Beastkin village is shown living under the heavy influence of the angels. Villagers are all kneeling before a massive statue, firmly believing that only Commander Bello can bring them true happiness and protection. Watching from a distance, Harris wonders why does not just march right in. Glares at a nearby flag printed with words demanding the execution of Saras and nervously admits that walking in after seeing that is a bit awkward. He nervously checks his quest timer, noting there are only 37 minutes left. Usually, the losers in this world are just forced into manual labor, but Jen has never seen people brainwashed into changing their faith in such an extreme way. Wary of the terrifying brainwashing power of the new angel commander, Jen decides his very first step must be helping Harris reclaim her position as the Beastkin chief. Jen confidently promises her not to worry, assuring her that her loyalty will be rewarded and that she will reclaim her status in the tribe. Harris' eyes well up with tears. Crying that she is unworthy of his praise, she points toward a building with a red flag on its roof when asked about the current leader, reminding him they must convince that alpha before heading inside. Suddenly, a deadly rain of arrows pours down on them. Harris immediately leaps in front to shield him, screaming for Lord Saras to get back. An arrow pierces her shoulder, but she ignores the pain, urging her master to stay safe. From above, the shooter looks down with a mocking, asking Mammer if she is still wagging her tail for that loser. Just as the angels said, the Demon King is a coward hiding behind his underling's skirt. This is Enchi, a level 32 wolf beast. Drawing his bow proudly, he snarls that he should thank the former chief for bringing their target right to him. Enchi roars at Harris to get out of the way so he can offer Saras's head to Lord Bello. In response, Harris snaps back, calling him a traitorous disgrace who willingly became a slave to the angels. Realizing the angels have already caught his scent, Jen silently observes the situation. Enchi orders his troops to arrest them both immediately, but Herat leaps forward into a combat stance, swearing to rip apart anyone who dares touch her master. Facing the enemy's obvious provocation, Jen suddenly smirks with absolute confidence, telling Herat to back down and leave the rest of this mess to him. Jen looks down at the beastmen with pure contempt, mocking them as nothing but weak little puppies and kittens. Suddenly, a terrifying crimson demonic aura erupts right behind him, making every single one of them tremble in sheer terror. Even Enchi stands frozen by the sudden change and suffocating pressure coming from the man he just called weak. The system chimes in, announcing Jen successfully intimidated his enemies, unlocking a brand new skill called Walk of the Dark Lord. This skill places all opponents into a state of absolute fear for 15 seconds. Jen grins, wondering just how effective this new ability will be. Not bad at all, he thinks. To trigger this power, Jen only needs to perform a simple stomp. Wearing a sly grin, he decides to test it out immediately, eager to see what the true aura of a Demon King actually feels like. A heavy stomp unleashes a wave of deep blue energy, sending wailing souls charging straight toward the enemy. Jen calls out loudly, telling them to try and endure the crushing pressure of a real Demon King. The beastmen are completely overwhelmed by the crushing force, screaming in agony as their very souls are shaken. But just as the soldiers collapse in absolute terror, a malicious bright red system notification suddenly flashes before his eyes. Wait, talk about a disaster. The system warns the effect is reversed and the curse is active. Jen goes pale, realizing things have gone horribly wrong at the absolute worst moment. He spins around and frantically yells at Herodotus to run immediately, leaving her completely baffled by his sudden panic. That wicked curse has twisted his intimidation skill into a massive taunt, turning the fearful beastmen into raging, bloodthirsty maniacs. Their eyes burn crimson as they roar in fury, charging at him like rabid beasts. Kill the Demon King, the system coldly announces. Provocation successful, target has been locked for 60 seconds. Jen pales as the mindless beastmen swarm him. Desperately, he thinks it is all over and he is going to die here. Before he can even react, a brutal rain of heavy blows batters him mercilessly. Seeing her master get absolutely pummeled, Herodotus cries out in panic, begging him to stay back. Writhing in pain, Jen decides to make one final gamble. There is no other choice, he has to try using it again. If he pours every ounce of his remaining strength into it, maybe he can actually scare them off this time. Summoning all his power, he stomps so hard the earth cracks, letting out a wild roar. Bow your heads to me, or I will crush you right now. Jen struggles to keep up his arrogant front despite his heavy injuries, hiding his weakness by demanding how trash like them dare oppose him. He claims he wanted to avoid a fight for his own sake. However, Herodotus can see right through him, realizing he is pushing himself way too hard and cannot possibly hold out much longer. Seeing this, Enchi steps up to pressure her, telling the former leader to stop her meaningless resistance. He claims Jen must die for the good of the beastmen, but Herodotus suddenly realizes this is her chance to rise up again. She yells out at the top of her lungs to halt the chaotic crowd, demanding everyone calm down. She proposes they settle this the traditional beastman way through a duel of 100 beasts. While Jen stands there utterly confused about what on earth a duel of 100 beasts even is, Enchi immediately calls her out, asking if she is just buying time and thinking he is stupid. Just as Enchi is about to strike, a powerful, authoritative voice echoes through the area, commanding him to stop. Harming the one who calls for a duel of 100 beasts goes completely against their sacred rules. The crowd parts as a newcomer arrives, leaving Jen to sigh in sheer exhaustion. This new face is a white-haired elder, sitting regally on a palanquin carried by several muscular beastmen. The elder solemnly warns Herodotus that a duel of 100 beasts is no ordinary fight, but a brutal battle where she must put absolutely everything on the line, including her very life. This elderly newcomer is Dawson, a level 35 beastman advisor who is currently suffering from the exact same fate of having his powers sealed away. Facing Herodotus' reckless proposal, Dawson asks if he's truly sure about this. Looking at the old man's majestic presence, Jen silently realizes this is the actual leader he will have to deal with, much sooner than he planned. When Herodotus firmly confirms her decision, Dawson looks us around in confusion, asking where she even is. Only when a nearby soldier points to the tiger girl does the elder realize that their once mighty leader has completely changed. He clicks his tongue to save face, claiming he obviously knew it was her all along. Seeing things temporarily settled, Jen speaks up, arguing that since she is badly injured, any battle must wait until she fully recovers. But Dawson coldly shuts him down, telling him to stop whining and keep his mouth closed. He snaps that Jen was the one who practically demanded this duel of 100 beasts in the first place. Yet, despite his harsh words, the elder tosses a potion over, telling them to take the medicine. Jen catches it, thanking the grumpy old man. He secretly wonders if the old man has some hidden motive for agreeing to the duel and handing over medicine. Regardless, Jen knows he has absolutely no other choice but to fight. He gently tells Herodotus to bear with the pain for a second, then swiftly pulls the arrow out of her shoulder, making her cry out. Watching the fresh blood pour, Jen shivers as the terrifying realism of this world sinks in. This is definitely no longer just some simple video game. He understands that the duel of 100 beasts is their highest ritual to choose a leader, making it his only path to earn their respect and survive. While Jen carefully bandages her wounds, Herodotus whispers in deep concern, urging her master to run away while she distracts the others. She claims she is nothing but a burden now, willing to throw away her life to keep him safe. Annoyed by her foolish sacrifice, Jen suddenly reaches out and squishes both of her cheeks tightly. He tells her not to be so stupid, because there is no way he would ever leave her behind. He flashes a confident, slightly mischievous grin, declaring he has absolutely no intention of losing. Armed with his experience as the ultimate pro player who conquered every single race, Jen claims he has already spotted the beastman's weakness. His absolute confidence fires up Hirata's, filling her with fresh hope for their victory. Jen silently notes how kind she has become since her transformation, even though her combat power has severely dropped. Right then, Dawson slams his staff hard against the ground, loudly declaring the start of the match. He yells for the duel of 100 beasts to begin. Looking at the massive arena, Jen tells himself he needs to adapt to actual combat quickly, while Dawson begins explaining the rules to him. This special ritual is a massive all-out tournament held whenever their tribe needs to settle highly important decisions. Amid the roaring cheers of the crowd, the elder explains that the challenger must face 3 champions representing land, sea and air. Jen nods with supreme confidence, saying he understands, which only deepens Hirata's admiration. She whispers in awe at how confident he looks. Jen secretly recalls that these rules are identical to the game, and if his memory serves, the land representative should be Sado of the Night Wolf clan. Well, so much for his perfect game knowledge. The elder suddenly calls out Banda to represent the land, and Jen's jaw drops as a massive, towering shadow slowly looms over them from behind. He can only gasp in absolute shock, wondering what on earth this giant is. Standing right before them is Banda, an elephant beastman with a colossal muscular body. Dawson declares they will fight fairly. The system identifies Banda as the king of strength at level 28, possessing a terrifying aura despite his sealed power. Jen panics completely, his face twisting as he wonders why Sato was replaced. He internally screams that the game is rigged. Banda looks down with glowing red eyes, suggesting they have some fun. Then, the system announces the match will be settled through simple arm wrestling. Staring at Banda's gargantuan arm compared to Hirata's, Jen frantically whispers, asking why Sato is not here. She sadly explains that Sato died fighting the angels 100 years ago, and the other legendary champions are long gone too. Jen freezes as the horror of his quite deadly mistake sinks in. He forgot it is 100 years later, no more old allies, and 0 ways to cheat. Old Dotson slams his staff down, conjuring a solid stone table before barking his orders for both sides to prepare. Jenin desperately tries to calm himself after all. His opponent is also sealed, so the power gap should not be too crazy. But the moment he faces Banda at the table, instant regret hits him hard. That monster looks like he could easily crush 10 guys' hisses. Jen's face goes entirely pale, looking completely lifeless. He is basically picturing his own funeral at this point. Seeing him panic, her whispers a reminder of their backup plan. Do you remember what we talked about? While she distracts them, he needs to run. Jen watches in utter shock as the Tiger Girl prepares to dive into danger. The moment Dotson calls for readiness, her and Banda lock hands. Jen bitterly admits there is no option left, but to run away fighting now would only mean total defeat. Yet right as Dotson yells the start, Jen suddenly steps forward to stop her, leaving her crying out his name in shock. Jen looks at her with absolute resolve. The plan was for me to fight instead of you, right? Though his heart is shaking, he knows running like a coward today means living in hiding for the rest of his life. Seeing his opponent change, Banda laughs with savage excitement. How fun that the Demon King himself wants to take me on. Up above, Enchi sneers at what he calls a completely meaningless struggle. Dotson turns to his fighter, and Banda instantly agrees with a wicked grin. The match officially begins with an incredibly powerful handlock. Jen grits his teeth, realizing that despite looking cool, his arm is about to snap under the giant's overwhelming strength. Right at this critical second, a system notification pops up. Do you want to activate petrification defense? Grasping for any lifeline, Jen screams in his mind for the system to activate it immediately. Turn it on now, my arm is literally about to break. A 10-second countdown starts. Watch closely. Jenin bears the agonizing pain as his arm turns stone gray. Suddenly, a massive burst of energy explodes from their grip, creating a shocking impact that leaves Banda wide-eyed at this sudden resistance. The raw power of Jenin's petrified arm triggers a violent shockwave, tearing up the ground and shaking the entire arena. Banda can't believe the incredible force resisting him. Is this kid built like a bull? As heavy dust rises, Enchi assumes Banda has already secured an easy victory. Amid the total chaos, her cries out for her master in panic, but the sharp-eyed advisor Dotson spots something highly unusual unfolding beneath that thick cloud of dust. He gasps in sheer amazement at the actual outcome, while her points ahead with renewed hope. Look, the Demon King isn't beaten yet. Amid the rubble, Banda is straining, shocked by his opponent's power. He is a worthy opponent indeed, but inwardly Jen is sweating bullets. Petrification is definitely not a long-term fix. Instantly, the system warns his right arm is overloaded. It starts upgrading the petrification skill to adapt. Jen smirks with total confidence as new power surges through him, perfect, just in time to strike back. A massive shockwave erupts from their locked arms, leaving Enchi completely speechless. He cannot believe this kid is actually matching Banda, a warrior strong enough to move mountains on his own. Jen gloats inwardly as the crowd stares in shock. You guys don't get it. The more I fight, the stronger I get. That is standard game logic. System notifications flood in, leveling up his defense stats. He suddenly realizes that ever since meeting Ma'am, this brutal reality is a far cry from playing safe video games back in his room. No matter how harsh this cursed world gets, Jinan knows he has to fight to survive. Banda grows flustered, unable to budge Jen's arm. Wait, why is this so insanely solid? Jinan plans to stall until his opponent burns out, but the system delivers some pretty bad news. His mana consumption is spiking, and petrification will wear off very soon. He pales already, but noticing Banda's pressure weakening, Jen hopes he's gassed out. Suddenly, a dark murderous aura wraps around the giant with a chilling warning. You have caught my attention now. Jen gasps in horror. What? But look at this. Beast mode activates, transforming Banda's body with even more terrifying pressure. Jinan watches in absolute horror as his opponent unleashes his true beastman form. Banda transforms into a massive mammoth, roaring and shaking the entire arena, leaving Jinan screaming in despair. That is straight up cheating. Even Advisor Dotson has to admit in shock that he never expected Banda to possess such world-shaking power. Standing outside, Her is terrified. She screams a warning. Master, get away. Just hold on a little longer, he will change back in less than a minute. But Jen is at his absolute limit, his arm feeling like shattering glass. Hold on my butt, my arm is breaking right now. In this desperate moment, he decides to use that technique. Jen rallies his remaining strength, roaring with sheer authority. Open your eyes and watch this. A blood-red energy erupts, forming massive magic circles that encircle the giant mammoth. The crushing pressure from this new move completely suffocates the air. Disregarding the size difference, Jenin charges straight at his opponent, triggering a violent collision that tears the ground. The terrifying energy blast is so massive it literally blows back the entire crowd. Dotson and Her can only shield their eyes from the violent gale amidst the blinding dust. Jinan's glowing red eyes lock directly with Banda's murderous gaze. A massive pillar of light shoots straight into the sky from the epicenter, signaling the final decisive blow. As the dust finally settles, the giant Banda is completely spent. He drops to his knees, bitterly muttering his defeat. I yield, I yield. Old Dotson immediately proclaims the result to the entire tribe. The winner is Jenin. Stands frozen in the center, breathing heavily. He still cannot believe his own victory. Did I actually win? While the beastmen roar with excitement for the next battle, eager to crush him next. Her runs happily to her master. My lord, you actually did it. Banda silently accepts defeat, leaving those who doubted the new Demon King completely stunned. Watching this unexpected victory, Advisor Dotson falls deep into thought. Though the beastmen serve the angels, their loyalty is entirely forced. He wonders if the Demon King's return is the key to finally breaking their current chains. Meanwhile, despite winning, Jen is in a hilarious bind. His body is completely petrified, frozen solid. Embarrassed, he has to ask her, sorry, but could you carry me? Her immediately obeys, straining to lift the stone statue onto her shoulders with a heavy gasp. Trying to act cool, Jen mutters, what kind of technique is this? It is hard and stiff, making the tiger girl blush as she tells him to watch his wording. The system warns that this defensive petrification will last 13 more minutes. Exactly 13 minutes later, his body back to normal, Jen and old Dotson head deep into a fiery volcanic cave. Sweating heavily, Jenin asks, hey old man, how much further? Old Dotson chuckles mysteriously, saying, we are already here. He points toward a massive stone structure rising out of the boiling lava, the arena for their second trial. Jen gasps, in here? The blistering heat is highly uncomfortable. Suddenly, a mysterious dark shadow leaps from a high cliff, blocking their path with an impactful landing right in front of him. Dotson explains the next test is a brutal endurance trial. The mysterious figure slowly sheds his cloak, revealing the muscular build of a dragonkin beastman with long white hair and a scaly tail. Wara glares at Saza with a smirk and shouts out, alright, let's get this match fired up. Right behind him, a boiling pit of molten lava with floating stone slabs appears, ready to swallow alive anyone who lacks the guts to survive this deadly ordeal. Seeing that Saza still seems to hesitate, Wara mocks him, what, are you too scared to fight? You can still run while you have the chance. But Saza just gives him a dark smirk in response, quit? Honestly, I am actually looking forward to a great seafood feast. Saza knows that water attribute beastmen are heavily swayed by their emotions, so he deliberately gets under Wara's skin to rattle him. Yet the mighty dragon warrior manages to maintain a truly shocking level of composure. Let's see if you can keep talking once you are submerged in lava. Seeing both fighters ready, the elder advisor Deeson loudly declares the match between Saza and Wara has officially begun. The moment the final signal ends, both warriors plunge straight into the boiling magma. Their epic leap sends massive pillars of fire shooting upward, leaving the watching crowd on the shore utterly horrified. Emerging from the molten magma, the mighty warrior Wara stands tall, looking absolutely untouchable by the searing heat. The beastman crowd roars his name in pure excitement, while Heras stands on the shore, her heart racing as Saza still fails to surface from the burning depths. Wara laughs mockingly in triumph. He is convinced that the agonizing pain has silenced Saza for good, and that his rival has already dissolved completely in this insane, crushing heat. But then, out of nowhere, a sudden kick rockets up from beneath the lava, forcing the water warrior to widen his eyes in absolute shock. And wait for it, stunned silence completely grips the entire arena as Saza casually rises to the surface with a highly satisfied look. He actually treats this deadly magma like a relaxing hot spring, causing Heras to scream his name with pure joy. In stark contrast to that excitement, Wara starts trembling, unable to believe his eyes. Giving his opponent no time to recover, Saza dives right back into the fiery depths, unleashing powerful underwater impacts. Wara desperately looks around for any trace of his opponent, wondering where Seiza could have vanished. Meanwhile, Seiza quietly notes that the ultimate weakness of any water attribute beastmen is their tail. While Wara is busy calculating Saza's endurance and fearing a surprise attack from below, Saza has already crept up right behind him. He suddenly bursts upward, grabbing his foe tightly and roaring with pure deadly intent. Die right here! Saza lifts the giant up into the air as Wara panics. Smirking, Saza reveals his trump card. He knows a water attribute beastman cannot survive inside boiling lava for very long. Wara is pushed to absolute panic, screaming at Saza to ask what kind of trick he used. After all, water beastmen must endure years of brutal, hellish training just to survive these extreme temperatures. So how could Saza remain so incredibly calm? Saza just gives him a mysterious smirk. You want to know why? Well, I do not feel like telling you, so go ahead and die, Matt. Just then, the system repeatedly warns him about the extreme heat burning his body, but a curse called the Lament of Snow suddenly activates, allowing him to completely neutralize the deadly effects of this lava and keep his composure. Seizing the moment, Saza leaps out of the fiery magma, leaving a stunned Wara behind. Even though he is losing, Wara grits his teeth in defiance, swearing that beastmen will not go down easily. At this rate, I have to use that item. I cannot lose for the sake of my clan. He decides to activate the Froststone, a rare water clan treasure that lets him withstand extreme lava temperatures. While the fierce battle rages deep inside the volcano, Giro's assassin squad above receives a crucial update. Their subordinate reports that all preparations are finally complete. Giro asks coldly, "Where is Saza?" The subordinate reports that, according to Angel Clan intel, the target is currently in the lava tunnels beneath the volcano, locked in a duel. Giro smiles with cold calculation. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Saza is powerlessly walking straight into a death trap himself, so all they need to do now is deliver the final blow without any delay. Giro immediately unleashes a dark secret spell called Jingen Nusu, casting down sharp spikes that pierce the ground to form a cursed barrier surrounding a pitch-black ball of concentrated energy. His nearby subordinates are left in absolute terror, recognizing this legendary forbidden technique that can reduce everything to ash. Giro ruthlessly orders the blast, detonate it now, and roast them all alive. A massive, terrifying explosion erupts, releasing wild streaks of crimson energy. When a confused subordinate asks if their mission is simply to kill the newly reborn Demon King, Giro glares into the distance with a chilling look. He corrects him, explaining that Lord Ben's true order is to completely eradicate every single person associated with the Demon King. Meanwhile, back at the Beastman village, everything seems perfectly peaceful. Little children are still running around, chasing each other and playing with their toys, their laughter filling the clean air. Nearby, a pregnant angel woman with pure white wings gently rubs her stomach. She lovingly thinks of names like Wind for her unborn baby, eagerly waiting for her husband to return home and decide. But here is where things take a truly dark, tragic turn. Right in the center of town, the giant angel statue that stands as their sacred symbol of protection suddenly begins shedding dark, terrifying streaks of bloody tears. It's an omen of a terrible tragedy about to unfold. Meanwhile, the second round of this intense duel continues deep within the blazing lava. Saza looks at his exhausted opponent with a smug grin, taunting that Wara already looks completely wiped out after just 30 minutes. Yet inside, Saza is secretly anxious, knowing he must end this clash quickly before his quest countdown timer reaches 0. Losing his strength, Wara grits his teeth in frustration. Do not get cocky. You did something to this lava, did you not? Wara realizes the temperature around them is rising at an alarming rate, making him wonder if his Froststone's protection is already fading. Seeing his opponent has reached his absolute limit, Saza speaks up, offering to end the fight if Wara simply admits defeat. Watching from the sidelines, Enchi grumbles with pure jealousy. Humph. He won't be able to act all high and mighty like that when he fights me. Suddenly, Saza stops in his tracks as the environment shifts unnaturally. Wara groans in agony while massive gas bubbles violently surge up from the floor, and a glowing red system screen flashes a warning that the surrounding temperature is spiking. Saza frantically asks his system, "What do you mean the temperature is rising?" Suddenly, Wara collapses into the magma, forcing Saza to scream in terror, "Hey Wara, what is happening to you?" Barely breathing, Wara gasps out a terrifying warning. At this rate, the entire volcano will explode. Saza's face goes pale with shock. Without hesitating, he grabs the sinking warrior and screams to the crowd above, "Everyone run. Get out of here now. The volcano is about to erupt." D-Sun and the Beastmen look on in disbelief, wondering if Saza is actually serious about an eruption. Instantly, a massive column of fire blasts through the cave with devastating force. Holding Wara tightly, Saza grits his teeth as the danger escalates. We are not going to make it. It has already started. Outside, Mount Kazda violently trembles as thunderous explosions rip through its peak. Billowing clouds of ash and fire spew from the cave entrance, turning the sky into pitch darkness. A massive eagle suddenly soars out just before a violent explosion swallows the entire cavern entrance. Everyone clinging to its back gasps in relief, realizing they almost met their end. Thanks to Saza's quick reflexes and Enchi's beast form, they made it. They barely escaped with their lives. Looking down at their home, Harris cries out in panic, but what about the Beastman village? Saza turns around and they all freeze as they look down. A horrific scene unfolds right before their eyes. The entire village is completely swallowed by a sea of raging flames. The volcano erupts violently, raining fireballs onto the ground as helpless villagers scream in pure desperation. Staring down at the burning wreckage, Enchi is horrified to spot his family trapped in the ruins. Inside a blazing home, his pregnant angel wife is desperately shielding their child from the flames. A agonizing, heartbreaking scream tears out from deep within him. "My wife is down there." He prepares to plunge down to save her immediately in this highly critical situation. Wait. Genin stopped it just in time. "Do not dive yet, the wind from your wings will only fan the flames." Down there, a woman and her child are losing consciousness from the thick smoke. Elder D-Sun urged him desperately, saying they had to save them right this second. Jinin's gaze turned razor-sharp and decisive. He called out to Harris, who instantly understood her master. The tiger girl immediately acknowledged the command, and Jinin leaped into the air, throwing himself off the massive eagle's back. That exact moment, Harris unleashed her beast origin state, transforming into a majestic white tiger to catch him mid-air. Landing amidst the blinding sea of flames, Jinin reached out toward the terrified mother and child and yelled, "Get on quickly! Climb up!" He firmly grabbed the woman's hand, pulling them onto the tiger's back before shouting for Harris to run. With a mighty roar, the white tiger dashed forward through the crumbling ruins. Jinin reassured them amidst the deafening explosions, promising they would be safe once they reached the high ground ahead. Once they finally made it to safety, the mother choked up with intense emotion. She thanked them for saving their lives, but Jinin did not waste a single second, telling her to save the thanks for later as they needed to rescue the others. All the while, the volcano kept erupting violently. Circling above, Enchi cried out in panic from his eagle form as he stared down at the burning hell, warning that the eruption was not stopping and the entire Beastman tribe would soon be wiped out. Riding on Harris's back through the fiery debris, Jinin silently recalled what he knew of this place. If his memory served him right, Mount Kakaro was supposed to erupt only once every 1500 years. If that was the case, the next disaster should not have happened yet. He began to suspect whether his very presence in this world had somehow caused this catastrophe to strike way ahead of schedule. Glancing at the quest timer with just over 29 minutes left, Jinin knew saving the Beastman was part of the old man's test for recognition. Making up his mind, he declared he would find a way to stop this volcano. "So I am leaving everyone in your hands." Elder D-Sun, who was currently being carried on a soldier's back, gasped in utter disbelief, asking what on earth he could possibly do against a volcanic eruption. Jinin glanced back with fierce determination, confidently declaring that he would find a way since he was the Demon King after all. Seeing his master head straight into danger, Wara immediately stepped up, begging to lend a hand. Meanwhile, looking down from a high cliff at the village burning below, the cold-blooded assassin Jiro silently relished the absolute chaos. "Keep burning," Jiro muttered. "Soon the forest will be cleared, and Lord Bio's mission will be complete." Just then, a henchman rushed over to report that the exits were blocked, leaving their prey with 0 escape routes. Jiro praised him with a smug grin, noting that even if the Demon King tried to flee, he would end up trapped like a helpless rat in a cage. He confidently watched the desperate villagers fleeing the flames, sure his trap was sealed. But get this out of nowhere. A scout peering through binoculars shouted that he had spotted the Demon King. Giro whipped around, eagerly asking which direction the target was escaping. However, the scout hesitated, wearing an extremely puzzled look as he stammered for his captain to see for himself. The scout terrifiedly reported that Jinin was charging straight toward the erupting peak of Mount Kakaro. Riding on the back of Wara, the shark warrior gliding powerfully through the molten lava, Jinin pressed closer to the heart of the disaster. Wara shouted in a panic, warning that this was the absolute closest he could get to the volcanic crater, as the heat above was simply too intense to go any further. Jinin remained completely calm. "This is close enough," Jinin said. "The rest is on me." Leaving Wara utterly stunned, he leaped off the shark warrior's back and proudly declared that he was going to extinguish the volcano himself. Wara could only gasp in shock as he watched his lord dive headfirst into the absolute worst danger. Staring at Jenin's back amid the raging flames, the shark warrior realized this king was entirely different from anything he had ever imagined. The moment he plunged into the extreme temperature, system notifications flashed rapidly, showing his heresy snow skill leveling up to adapt. Jinin quickly realized a vital rule: the harsher the environment, the stronger his skills became. Betting on a crazy calculation, he decided to strip off all his clothes mid-air to maximize contact with the lava, forcing his curse to unleash its ultimate power. He braced himself, challenging the curse to grow even stronger in this boiling magma. Instantly, the skill reached a new tier, dramatically extending its duration and breaking all limits. Through this extreme trial, Jinin officially unlocked a brand new ability called Absolute Zero Ice. Genin smirked triumphantly. He won. The volcano was definitely going down this time. A massive blast of ice erupted, directly clashing with and suppressing the magma to halt the eruption. Meanwhile, back at the village, Harris in her white tiger form was desperately leading the evacuation of the people. She yelled for everyone to prioritize getting the children to safety first. Amidst the spreading fire, a panicked beastman reported that the flames were growing stronger, while Enchi, circling above, suspected that their new demon king had already fled. Harris roared in anger from her white tiger form, snapping back that he would never do such a thing. Meanwhile, the quest countdown timer displayed an ominous 25 minutes left. Enchi coldly retorted that she was being far too naive, questioning if she really believed a single person could stop a volcanic eruption. Yet, despite his skepticism, Harris refused to doubt her master. If it was Lord Jinan, she knew he would definitely find a way. Recalling all his hard-fought victories, she stood firm, knowing that her master was capable of pulling off absolute miracles. Enchi watched in silence, but his expression suddenly warped as he noticed something strange at the mountain. "Look at the volcano." Someone cried out in shock as brilliant blue beams of light shot from the peak, tearing the night sky apart. A shocking system notification flashed. The volcanic eruption had stopped. The sight of the silent mountain left everyone dumbfounded. Harris cheered in pure joy, crying out that Lord Jinan had actually succeeded. But on the other side, Jiro's gang of assassins were completely stunned, unable to believe this boss had not been weakened yet, as a worried subordinate questioned the captain. "What now, boss? If we fail, our tribe will," but Jiro calmly peeled his apple to reassure them. "And honestly, here's the scary part. The angels placed a special curse inside those embers, and it is only at 10% power." His eyes glowed a menacing red as he grinned, declaring that the real fun was just beginning. Far away, Enchi was still reeling, unable to believe the Demon King had actually stopped the eruption. But in an instant, Enchi sensed another terrifying threat looming over them. A massive explosion shook the entire earth, and thick, pitch-black gas began spewing out from the mountain peak. Panicked cries echoed as the mountain began to collapse, with everyone screaming to run as the peak crumbled down. Harris and the other beastmen watched in horror, wondering how this could be happening. A bizarre plume of black smoke rushed forward at a terrifying speed, threatening to swallow them whole. Seeing the threat, Harris shouted for everyone to watch out and leap to shield her allies, only to get struck by a dark purple-clad rock. Harris roared in agony as the dark energy engulfed her. Horrified by the sight, a beastman screamed her name. Writhing in excruciating pain, she desperately gasped for them to stay back and not come any closer. Harris realized how strange this dark flame felt. It was hideous and distorted. Clutching her chest in agony, she realized it could not be put out, no matter how hard she tried to blow it away. It was burning her very soul. The beastmen gasped in horror at the mention of a soul-devouring flame, with one of them suddenly realizing the terrible truth that this was the cursed seed itself. Pure resentment was the true source of power for these embers. Watching the tragic scene, Jiro coldly noted that there was no better way to harvest resentment than deaths masked as a natural disaster. He knew that every 1,000 years, the eruption of Mount Kakaro would turn everything within a 400-kilometer radius into a sea of fire. The hatred built up tonight, combined with the past 1,000 years, was more than enough to wake the cursed seed. Even so, Jiro still could not wrap his head around how Genin had managed to stop the massive eruption. Meanwhile, at the scene, a monkey beastman loses all hope as inextinguishable flames of hatred completely trap his entire party. He bitterly accepts that the end has finally come, but right then, Herat steps directly through the black fire, lecturing him with a cold smirk. "Seriously, you are already crying over a tiny little spark like this?" Even as the toxic purple aura aggressively burns her skin, she confidently marches forward. The shocked beastman can only gasp, desperately asking what she thinks she is doing. Herat proudly declares, "Isn't it obvious? I am getting every single one of you out of here alive." Unleashing her monstrous strength, she smashes through the burning timbers to forge a bloody path. The terrified monkey beastman screams for her to stop, claiming that it is completely impossible. He warns her she will collapse and die before even reaching safety, especially with the forest edge still 100 meters away. But Herat remains completely unshaken. "We will never know until we try. If I fall, I will simply stand right back up. So if I fall 100 times, I will rise 100 times. No matter where I go down, I will keep fighting, because I am going to save everyone." Herat roars with absolute resolve. A powerful beastman like her will never be stopped. No way, not by such pathetic low-level sparks. Channeling every ounce of her power, she shatters the final blockade to shield her allies. Inspired by her unstoppable willpower, a commanding lion beastman suddenly steps forward, shouting his praises. In an instant, dozens of injured beastman warriors find their second wind and stand back up. The terrifying dark flames no longer scare them, they only fuel their burning desire to fight. Together they shout at the top of their lungs, "Leader, we are going to help you, because we still have our beastman pride." Herat smiles with pure pride. "This is exactly why we exist. And besides, I know Lord Sa is out there fighting with everything he has for our peace." With a deafening battle cry, the beastman army charges headfirst into a brutal fight for survival. Meanwhile, right at the roaring center of the volcano, Jinan is desperately struggling against the intense heat of the flowing magma. Searing agony, he grits his teeth and curses under his breath. Damn it, is this dark flame really coming from that cursed seed? Suddenly, a flashing red warning pops up. A warning alert flashes psychological strike with unknown effects. This is bad. Jinan realizes the situation is spiraling out of control. Mental attacks are always the absolute worst. Talk about overpowered. Before he can even react, a colossal, skeletal purple hand suddenly erupts from the boiling magma, revealing a horror that will make your skin crawl. Standing before him is a colossal skeletal monster with hundreds of screaming skulls trapped inside its ribcage. The system confirms its identity, the Cursed Seed, a terrifying creature born entirely from the pure hatred of the dead. The beast lets out an earth-shaking roar, unleashing a heavy pressure that completely pins Jinan down. As a massive arm swings toward him, Jinan quickly dives deep into the lava to dodge the blow. Wow, he carefully tracks its pattern, searching for any opening. Nice. I can actually read its attacks. Jinan leaps high into the air, narrowly dodging a devastating sweep from the vengeful monster. He figures its massive size makes its movement slow, but there is a catch: he cannot land a decent counterattack either. He realizes he will have to expose its weak spot before he can even hope to defeat it. Right on cue, the Cursed Seed starts charging a glowing purple energy inside its chest and jaws. Its creepy eyes flash as it unleashes a barrage of screaming skull spirits that fly straight towards him. The frantic swarm of souls forces Jinan to let out an angry curse. Damn it! Suddenly, a bizarre purple energy wraps tightly around him, dragging his consciousness into a dark, endless void. Complete agony. Jinan groans as his soul is violently ripped away from his physical body, right in the middle of the boiling lava. A demonic skull lunges forward, viciously tearing at his soul and sending shockwaves of pain through him. The damage immediately reflects onto his physical body, completely paralyzing his entire left arm. The grim truth: his left arm is completely offline now. Soul damage equals body damage. Meanwhile, the giant skeletal phantom looms over the entire volcano, a true nightmare. Jinan glares at his massive opponent, suddenly realizing the truth. So you are just playing with your food, huh? He is completely shocked to find out he had it all wrong. He actually believed its movements were just naturally slow. It turns out the beast was just playing with him this entire time. It lets out a menacing growl, its eyes glowing in the darkness as if mocking his weakness. Jinan grits his teeth. You seriously underestimated me. But before he can even finish, the giant hand slams down with terrifying force. A massive explosion blows him back. He flies into the raging fire. He desperately roars out, struggling to stand, and here is the scary part: a screaming skull spirit sudden sea leaf ace, leaving no room to breathe. Too close for comfort. He barely has time to curse before a brutal wave of purple energy pierces clean through his body. Soul attacks cannot be blocked. They cannot be dodged. Jinan is in a deadly corner. He knows that if this keeps up, not only will he fail the quest, but even making it off this mountain alive will become a distant dream. Desperately searching for a miracle, he wonders how he can possibly turn the tables. Meanwhile, back at the village, the people trapped by the dark flames are slowly losing their minds and going completely mad. Enchi frantically urges everyone to run as she witnesses the unfolding horror. Right in the middle of it all, Herat is pushing her limits, barely holding back the overwhelming power of the curses. She screams in pure agony, telling everyone to escape before she completely loses her sanity to the toxic hatred. Watching from a distance, Giro knows that the more resentment she absorbs, the faster her mind will be eroded away. Eventually, the victims will become nothing more than mindless puppets of hatred, turning on the very people they love most in the world. Yet Herat remains completely defiant, declaring that the proud Beastman tribe will never submit to this cheap hatred. Around her, even the most heavily wounded Beastman warriors grit their teeth, refusing to let the creeping darkness swallow them up. Shadowy tentacles stretch out from the volcano like demonic arms, tearing families apart and spreading sheer terror as helpless victims desperately scream for their loved ones. Absolute chaos. Dark energy violently erupts from the mountain peak, swallowing the land. It drags this entire nightmare into something far worse than before. Back in the burning lava, Jinan is horrified to see Herat's soul being dragged out by a powerful dark force. He screams in sheer terror. The cursed entity is hungrily absorbing Herat's soul directly into its giant skeletal frame. Jinan watches helplessly as her soul is dragged straight into the beast. Roaring triumphantly, the monster continues to devour spirits, growing larger and more powerful with every single soul it consumes. He spots a massive concentration of dark energy gathering at the monster's core. Seeing the vulnerable weak point finally exposed, he pushes past the pain. Alright, this is our only chance. Meanwhile, near the forest, Herat has completely passed out in the arms of her loyal soldiers. Dosun watches her in absolute agony, realizing their situation is now completely hopeless. He fears Herat might be beyond saving. If they cannot retrieve her soul and defeat this beast, the entire Beastman tribe is doomed. But right then, a blinding red light erupts from the volcano, making Dosun gasp in shock. What on earth is that? Don't tell me it is upgrading again. The old advisor cannot believe his eyes as he stares at the terrifying new shape of the cursed entity. A flashing red system warning rings out with a grim message. The cursed seed has fully absorbed the Demon King's soul, triggering an evolution into a greater cursed entity. Dosun completely breaks down as he watches the horrifying transformation. He trembles, muttering that letting it evolve this far means the end of everything. Watching from afar through his scope, even the assassin Jiro is left speechless. He bursts into a smug laugh, confident that absolutely nothing can stop the destruction now. The entire Beastman tribe and their precious leader are about to be completely wiped off the map. But suddenly, Jiro's subordinate shouts in panic, reporting that something is moving inside the cursed monster's body. Both Jiro and Dosen freeze in absolute shock. What? Is that the Demon King? Right at the monster's energy core, Jen's silhouette suddenly comes into view, leaving everyone in absolute shock as they wonder why he's there. Standing in the middle of a swirling dark purple haze, Jen appears half naked, with his eyes glowing with pure, unbridled rage. Gritting his teeth, he snaps that even his own soul refuses to be absorbed in such a shameless way. It is definitely time to teach this thing a lesson. Jinan dives deep into the chest of the colossal beast. Spotting a pitch-black sphere oozing an incredibly eerie aura, he smirks to himself. Looks like I've finally caught your beating heart. Jen wonders what would happen if he just crushed it, and without a single second of hesitation, he reaches out and grabs it. One hard squeeze makes the cursed entity roar in agony, its entire massive body thrashing violently from this direct strike to its weak point. Watching this insane move, a terrified beastman screams out, "Demon King, what on earth are you doing?" Watching from a distance, the assassin Jiro sneers in disgust, calling him a hopeless fool who lacks the strength to stop it. But right then, Jinan is shocked to feel the dark, cursed energy inside his own body surging out of control. Can I really not control the cursed power inside me? But then, a crazy, reckless idea flashes through his mind. I get it now. Instead of trying to suppress it, Jinan decides to bet it all on a massive gamble, shouting out that he will let it absorb as much as it wants. He dares the beast, "How much of my curse do you think you can actually handle?" Fueled by the sparks of resentment, Jen's curse level suddenly shoots up. The system announces that the dark, swirling energy is now transferring directly from Zara's body into the cursed seed. The massive beast begins to warp and scream in agony, completely overloaded by the very evil power it was trying to devour from its host. Violent explosions rip through the area, swallowing the monster in a sea of raging flames. Its form is reduced to nothing but a massive blurry shadow, venting an eerie purple mist into the thick dust and smoke. Back at the village, the beastmen stare in shock at the ruin around them, survivors clinging to each other in sheer terror after that massive blast. Watching from a high cliff, Jiro quietly realizes that if his clan hadn't followed Lord Bellow's orders, they probably would have shared this exact same tragic fate. Seeing that the battle is settled, Jiro orders his men to retreat. "Let's go, our part is done here, and the Chaos Seed will finish the job for us." Now hold on, because here comes a major twist. But a sudden, ground-shaking impact erupts from the monster, forcing him to halt in his tracks. Jiro stares in shock at the massive column of rising energy while his men tremble before a terrifying pressure they've never felt. Jiro immediately senses something is off. This is definitely not the aura of the cursed seed. He wonders in shock who else could possibly be unleashing an aura like this. Right then, the system alerts that the cursed seed has absorbed all of Zara's curses, but because its level is way too low, it can't handle this sheer amount of raw power. The severe side effects begin to materialize, forcing the original host and the devourer to split apart. A radiant red entity radiating absolute authority bursts from inside the beast, triggering the giant dragon's breath curse. This is ISEKAI'D, the legendary founder of the giant dragon clan. Jiro can't believe his eyes as a dragon actually coming out of the cursed seed. The beastly dragon attacks with wild fury, though Jiro realizes these are just awakened remnants of its original consciousness. It unleashes a series of lightning-fast strikes, pinning the dark monster to the ground and tearing it apart without mercy. The cursed seed is utterly overwhelmed, roaring in pain as glowing blue system codes begin to flicker across its failing body. Thick pitch-black smoke spews from its gaping maw once more, signaling yet another major transformation as a second curse, the Scorn of Wisdom curse, is officially triggered. From a brilliant blue light, a massive humanoid figure made of digital circuitry materializes. This is Signator, the legendary founder of the Wisdom clan, and he makes the cursed seed look completely pathetic right now. Giant boulders rain down from the sky, crushing the beast as it struggles in vain to escape the punishment of the ancient ancestors. With these non-stop strikes, the vengeful entity doesn't get even a single second to breathe. Right after that, the wrath of the Deep Sea curse erupts, summoning Tito, the Deep Sea clan founder, alongside giant tentacles covered in sharp, wicked spikes. The skeletal beast is now forced to face the power of 3 legendary ancestors, completely outmatched and ganged up on. The sight of these 3 giants surrounding the cursed seed creates an absolute horror show that spreads over the entire forest. Down below, the beastmen watch the battle in sheer shock. You can probably guess what's happening. One of them realizes the monster is trying to steal their souls just to summon backup. Talk about a cheap trick. The situation turns critical as the monster whips its massive tail, clearing out everything in its path. Right then, the war roar of the Beast King curse is activated, and a giant white tiger carrying Demon King Zara on its back storms forward. Ripping through the night, the Chaos Seed howls in agony as it gets pushed to its absolute limits. Instantly, Harris, in his fierce white tiger form, leaps ahead and tears into the cursed beast with sheer power. Under the bright full moon, the majestic Demon King rides high on the tiger's back. He quietly says, "Sorry to keep you waiting." The beastmen below erupt into cheers, calling out for their savior as they celebrate his return. Looking at the weakened monster, Saga cold-bloodedly mocks it, "You've shrunk. Haven't I already told you that you stand zero chance against me? There's absolutely no way you can handle me. Staring at the insane scene, one of Jiro's men mutters in shock, wondering if this is the Demon King's true strength, capable of easily overpowering the Chaos Seed. But Jiro, with a sharp gaze, remarks that Saga isn't just beating it. When his subordinate presses for the real meaning behind those words, Jiro stays silent, watching the fight with intense focus. Suddenly, a shocking truth hits him. Wait, is the Demon King hosting this entire fight? Just then, a system notification pops up to explain the harmonious curse state, an incredible phenomenon triggered only by the sheer presence of an overwhelmingly powerful soul. Herat roars and charges forward as the ancestral entities unleash devastating, synchronized strikes according to their sovereign's will. Saga stands proudly on the tiger's back, raising his hand to issue a decisive command. Let's move. Jiro silently notes that while the Chaos Seed is made of pure hatred, its power is still miles behind the Demon King. He realizes Saga has brilliantly manipulated the consciousness of the ancient founders, tricking them into targeting the Chaos Seed as their primary enemy. The blazing red dragon Akankor charges a massive energy sphere in its jaws and fires it straight ahead. Cornered from all sides, the hateful beast scatters into fragmented pieces like a panicked nest of ants. Gathering all its power, the red dragon Akankor unleashes a sea of scorching flames that burns down everything in its path. The cursed seed is forced back, taking massive damage under the terrifying pressure of that heavy strike. Stumbles through the flames, but before it can even react, strange glowing blue cubes materialize to trap it. The monster stares blankly as a massive digital cage quickly forms around it, sealing off every possible escape route. Right above, Akankor fires off his devastating Dragon Roar cannon, slamming a massive beam of red-hot energy onto the trapped target. The powerful impact forces the beast to its knees, but the punishment is far from over. From the glowing walls of the cage, sharp blue beams of the Windblade trap skill shoot out in rapid succession. The cursed seed gets mercilessly skewered by razor-sharp Windblades from every direction. Screams in agony as it gets absolutely pummeled by this insane combo. Amidst the chaos, Signator, founder of the Wisdom Clan, stands proud and majestic in his brilliant blue aura. Right behind him, the sea monster Tito rises, its massive tentacles reaching up to cover the entire sky. With his signature move, Abyss Meteor, a giant column of dark purple energy erupts from the ground, completely swallowing the beast in a devastating blast. The sheer power of the Abyss Meteor creates a massive purple pillar of light, vaporizing the hateful beast once and for all. The monster shrieks in agony as its skeletal body crumbles under that intense heat. A massive explosion ripples out, completely erasing the darkness, leaving only lost souls drifting away from the scattered white bones. As the dust settles, the faded projections of the ancestors slowly dissolve into nothingness. Watching this happen, the assassin Jiro realizes that the spirits are fading because the Demon King has an incredibly firm grip on their minds. The guy is definitely a force to be reckoned with, but one of Jiro's underlings spots a crucial weakness, realizing the enemy might actually run out of options to strike back. Is it possible the Demon King's raw strength isn't actually that impressive on its own? Jiro smirks, totally agreeing with the idea. Exactly, if we can just seal his control over the ancestors, the advantage is ours. Jiro confidently boasts that he has figured out a way to end him, ordering his team to follow him down the mountain. Meanwhile, Herat cheers happily, saying it is just what she expected from Lord Shajia. But in contrast to all that hype, Shajia looks completely exhausted and deeply worried. He warns her it is way too early to celebrate, leaving Herat totally confused as he stares at the ash, muttering that their biggest issue is still unresolved. Out of nowhere, the ground starts shaking violently, throwing the beastmen into a panic. This sudden earthquake has everyone staring up at the peak, where a massive pillar of fire shoots up, tearing right through the sky. Panic screams echo everywhere as the eruption rages on. Where is all this endless lava even coming from? Mount Kakaro is not cooling down at all, in fact. It is flaring up, threatening to bury everyone in a sea of fire. The volcano continues to erupt with absolutely terrifying force, shaking the very ground under the pure wrath of nature. The terrified beastmen yell that they need to run right now. But others cry out in total despair. There is simply no time or energy left for them to escape this nightmare. Right in the middle of all this sheer panic, Shajia is standing there, looking incredibly calm. He casually pops a pill into his mouth, telling the terrified crowd to just take a breath. He tells them not to panic, even if they cannot run. Shajia stands tall, directly facing the massive wall of fire rushing down at them, confidently declaring that he has got this fully covered. A massive wave of fire erupts, completely swallowing the Demon King as the beastmen scream out his name in sheer terror. Feeling the blistering heat, a lion beastman mutters gloomily that even the Demon King cannot survive a blast like that. With tears welling up in her eyes, Herat holds back her panic and whispers that she refuses to believe it is over. They really have no other choice left. But right then, an unbelievable sight unfolds, forcing the lion beastman to rub his eyes in absolute shock at what is happening before them. A towering wall of ice suddenly shoots up, freezing the night and completely blocking the path of the rushing lava. Shajia stands in the freezing cold as his system keeps warning him that the extreme temperature has triggered a burning state. His passive curse, Heresy Snow, has officially reached its absolute limit under this extreme heat. Sagia's entire body begins to transform, crystallizing into a towering, glowing entity of pure, deep blue ice. He casually muses that he looks incredibly cool like this, and honestly, who are we to argue? Right on cue, the system alerts him that the ultimate freezing process has officially kicked off. Razor-sharp ice pillars shoot out like frozen blades, instantly locking the burning lava in place. In seconds, the entire battlefield is swallowed by eternal frost, leaving a giant ice flower blooming right in the middle of a disaster zone. Witnessing a level of power that literally bends nature to its will, the Lion Beastman can only tremble in absolute disbelief. Is this guy using cheat codes or what? With a simple snap of his fingers, Shajia turned a volcanic disaster into a frozen wonderland. Standing among the glittering crystals, he calmly declares that a little eruption is nothing to a demon king. Internally, though, he is breathing a massive sigh of relief, knowing that if he hadn't consumed those embers to boost his curse earlier, things would have gone bad. He would have been in serious trouble. The moment the danger clears, Heras runs over sobbing and throws her arms around him, relieved that he is safe. Shajia just laughs smugly, instantly putting on a show to maintain his cool reputation. He tells her she is worrying way too much, boasting that a minor event like this could never scare the great Demon King Shajia, but underneath the smug act he is genuinely shocked at how ridiculously fast his powers are growing. He went from a regular player to someone wielding earth-shattering forces. But right in the middle of his silent celebration, Shajia freezes as a massive army of beastmen begins to emerge from the heavy rolling fog. Watching them march forward with intense energy, Shajia nervously wonders if this crazy beastman duel is somehow still going on. Heras gasps as she realizes what is happening, but before she can explain, the leading beastman stomps up and violently rips out a handful of Sagia's hair, making him yelp in pure agony. Rubbing his head, Shajia listens as Heras explains that this is actually a sacred beastman ritual. The lead beastman casually chews on the hair he just plucked, proudly explaining how highly they value their hair and flesh. Apparently revenge means drinking blood, but deep gratitude means eating your savior's hair. Shajia immediately visualizes a horrifying future where hundreds of beastmen pluck him totally bald, looking exactly like a certain famous one-punch hero. He grabs his head and screams in absolute despair, begging them not to make him go bald at his age while he is still in his prime. Terrified by the glowing eyes of the beastmen surrounding him, Shajia quickly asks about the next round's rules to find an escape route. But the chief warmly answers that they would never dream of challenging their savior again. However, Enchi suddenly steps up to object, arguing that skipping the round goes completely against their traditions. The chief quickly brushes him off, pointing out that everyone is far too exhausted to worry about strict rules right now. But Enchi remains completely stubborn, insisting he can still go a third round with the Demon King so they can settle this fairly. He promises that if Shajia wins officially, he will pledge the loyalty of the entire tribe to him. Elder Deason nods along, agreeing that this might actually be the best way to earn everyone's true respect. Without warning, Enchi grabs the exhausted Shajia off the ground and drags him away to start the race. Behind them, the mob is still screaming to eat his hair, making Shajia panic and beg Enchi to run even faster. Meanwhile, hiding in the dark shadows nearby, Giro's deadly assassins are silently staking out the area, watching their every move from behind the thick trees. One of the thugs asks how their captain is so certain the Demon King will come this way. Giro calmly explains that the third round is a race against the bird tribe, meaning the route is always predictable. He confidently boasts that Shajia will practically deliver himself right to their doorstep. Back at the village, while everyone is busy cleaning up, Enchi's wife suddenly bursts in, looking completely pale and terrified. Elder Deason and Heras instantly freeze as the hysterical woman runs up to them. Get this, she drops a massive bombshell, revealing her husband Enchi is already dead, pointing to his lifeless body on the ground. Elder Deason stands frozen, unable to believe his ears, while a chilling realization hits Heras. If the real Enchi is dead, then who on earth is currently carrying Lord Shajia away right now? High up in the sky, the imposter carrying Shajia flies on, eyes glowing with a sinister red light. Meanwhile, our completely clueless Demon King has no idea he has flown straight into an enemy trap. Enjoying the ride, Shajia finds this version of Enchi surprisingly straightforward, even promising to promote him to Elder after the race. But the imposter replies with a chilling tone, saying he has one final request. Before Shajia can even process that, the fake Enchi's eyes flare with absolute malice, claiming he wants his head. A sudden, violent explosion erupts, blasting the Demon King straight down to the hard ground. Crashing down, he realizes this guy is definitely not Enchi, but before he can recover, a glowing purple magic circle appears right under his feet, shooting up binding chains of light that lock him in place. Shajia struggles, realizing he is completely paralyzed by a high-level binding spell. Sensing their prey is finally trapped, the masked assassins leap out from the shadows, blades drawn and ready to end his life. Coughing heavily through the thick choking dust, Ren bitterly realizes he messed up. He was way too careless, walking straight into their pre-prepared death trap. As an assassin lunges forward to deliver a final blow, Ren suddenly remembers something. He recognizes this exact tactic. Meanwhile, back at the Beastman village, They finally discover Enchi's dead body with a brutal, fatal chest wound. Elder Dosun watches his warrior go down in a single blow. Gritting his teeth in pure anger, he declares this is definitely the work of the Black Moon clan. Dosun calmly explains that the 7 great clans have peacefully coexisted for generations without interfering. For them to suddenly attack like this, that schemer Ben must be pulling the strings. He turns to tell Herat to stay calm so they can plan, but then notices something weird. Wait, where did she slip off to like a ghost? A panicked guard reports she bolted to find the Demon King the second they started talking. Dosun gasps in disbelief. What? Far away, Herat is running with everything she has, racing against the clock. She screams out in desperation, "Hang on, my lord, I am coming!" Meanwhile, an assassin thrusts a razor-sharp blade straight at Ren, only for it to slam into a stone-hard armor. The killer gasps in shock, "What is this?" Ren sighs in relief. Whoosh! Talk about a close call, he almost took a beating. At the absolute last second, Ren activated his petrifaction skill to shield himself. Gray stone coats his body, making every physical attack completely useless. The assassins recoil in horror, seeing their target totally unscathed. But they are not quitting yet. 2 of them combine their secret moonlight hellfire arts, blasting massive pillars of flame to burn Ren to ash. As the flames die down, they look at each other, wondering if they finally got him. But out of the burning inferno, Ren stands perfectly fine with his stone armor untouched. Ren estimates their average level is only around 55. There is no way anyone here has the raw power to crack his ultimate defense. The system alerts him that his petrification state will last for another 10 minutes, giving Ren ultimate confidence. He figures that since they had to use a sneaky ambush, they cannot handle a head-on clash with the Beastmen. All he needs to do is hold his ground until help arrives. Watching the killers surround him, Ren casually decides to let them waste all their energy on useless hits. But wait, here's where it gets really bad. His smug smile fades instantly when 2 assassins suddenly form hand seals. Purple magic arrays glow around Ren, tightening like iron chains to his absolutely utter shock. Wait, what? Ren realizes in absolute horror that they actually spent a century finding a way to crack his armor. The assassins roar with bloodlust, send him to the grave. Ren frantically searches his options but has no defensive skills left, and his current attack style cannot summon his ancestors. With sharp blades closing in from every single direction, he panics, wondering if this is the end. Suddenly, Ren's eyes flare with raw determination. No, there is still one way left. A massive burst of purple energy suddenly erupts around him as the system confirms his reward exchange is complete. With his Demon King skill awakened, Ren instantly unleashes his devastating ultimate technique, Carnage Bloom. Crimson tentacles, like demonic flowers, pierce straight through the killers, draining their entire life force to convert it into pure raw power for himself. This is one of Herat's 3 ultimate abilities, which steals life force and boosts his attack power by 200% for every blooming blood flower. Standing among his fallen enemies, Ren calmly realizes that raw, overwhelming power is always the absolute best solution. At that moment, the system confirms the Beastman leader's respect, boosting his quest progress to 65%. Feeling his strength surge back, Ren chuckles to himself, thinking he just turned the tables. But right as he gets smug, a cold voice echoes from behind. "So you were hiding a secret trump card all this time?" Ren quickly turns to look up at a high branch. Who is there? It is the leader of the Black Moon clan. Looking up at the masked figure, Ren smirks defiantly. "You have got some guts showing your face after seeing that." The mysterious stranger casually scribbles in a notebook, replying with complete disdain. "Sure, you are brave, but you are incredibly foolish. You knew we were the Black Moon clan, yet you stood, taking our gasps? What do you mean?" And right here, watch how his face suddenly turns pale as creepy purple veins bulge across his neck. Ren's eyes widen in absolute horror as a deadly poison begins eating him up from the inside. Right then, a flashing red warning screen pops up. The screen warns him that he is heavily poisoned and cannot hold on. Ren collapses to the dirt, coughing up dark blood right next to a toxic needle that just slipped out of his wound. Looking down from his branch, the assassin mocks Ren's suffering. "As the Demon King, you really should know better. Our specialty was never direct swordplay. We are masters of poison." He boasts that this toxin can easily wipe out a whole Beastman tribe. Ironically, Ren's own lifesteal technique is what dragged the poison deep into his own veins. Ren collapses, choking on his own blood. Believing the hunt is over, the assassin leaps down and draws his blade to finish him. "Who knew you would end up dying to your own power? I will not even bother asking for your last words, just die." But Ren suddenly looks up with a devious grin. "Who on earth said I was actually poisoned?" Instantly, a system notification saves the day. Because of the massive poison level, his Blood Moon healing skill activates. Ren smirks, glad he built up a poison resistance that restores 3% of his health every single second. The killer gapes in utter disbelief. How is the poison not working? He furiously hurls a barrage of daggers at his target, but Ren just coldly points a finger at him and snaps, "You are pathetic." Those creepy red tentacles from Carnage Bloom shoot out, easily slapping away his massive attacks and lunging for his throat. Realizing the tables have turned, the killer grits his teeth in frustration. "Damn it. This went south fast. I need to fall back." He vaults into the tree canopy, bitterly accepting he cannot kill the Demon King today. Ren roars in anger, "You are not getting away that easily. I am going to use Carnage Bloom again to end this." but a flashing red screen completely ruins the moment. Due to his curse, his energy capacity is restricted, meaning his Demon King skills can only be used 3 times a day. To unlock more uses, he must finish his main quest. Ren's face falls in absolute despair as he clutches his head, screaming, "Why does this always happen at the worst times?" Seeing the terrifying attack suddenly halt, the assassin hesitates, wondering if that was really all the Demon King had left in the tank. But whatever the reason, there is no way he is going to waste this golden opportunity. This is the perfect moment to strike. He immediately throws a flurry of sharp throwing stars straight at Ren, but our main character swiftly dodges them all, mocking the killer with total confidence. "Did you really think those weak toys could actually touch me?" But the killer is far faster than Ren expected, instantly appearing right behind him. Ren gasps in shock as a swift slash forces him back into a defensive stance. The assassin slides back with a sinister smirk. To Ren's horror, his armor is suddenly covered in glowing explosive talismans. When on earth did the guy even manage to stick those on him? A massive explosion erupts, swallowing Ren in a violent fireball. He stumbles out of the smoke covered in soot and minor wounds, clicking his tongue in pure annoyance at how incredibly annoying this assassin is. No breathing room. The assassin immediately launches a heavy kick, sending Ren crashing and sliding across the dirt. As Ren struggles to get back up, the assassin weaves hand signs for a secret technique. Shadow clones? Dozens of exact copies appear instantly, completely surrounding him on all sides. Before he can even react, the army of clones leaps into the air, launching a relentless synchronized dive attack from above. Yet surrounded by mortal danger, Ren sighs with absolute relief. "Letting you attack me all this time actually paid off?" he mutters. So, standing firm with a highly smug, triumphant smile. "I have been waiting for this head-on attack for a pretty long time, you absolute amateur." Right away, Ren triggers a crazy, never-before-seen combination skill merging petrification and flesh decay. Razor-sharp stone thorns carrying lifesteal power suddenly erupt from his body, skewering every single clone in an instant. The system immediately chimes in to confirm that Ren has unlocked an incredibly devastating combination technique. He chuckles to himself. He was pretty curious if combining skills would actually work. It was a massive gamble, but it paid off. Ren turns a cold glare toward the sole surviving assassin. "Now let me show you what happens to fools who dare oppose the Demon King." Ren stands over the kneeling assassin, demanding to know if Ben ordered this sudden strike. I doubt he has the sway to order all 7 clans, but only a chilling, creepy silence answers him, making him wonder if the guy is mute. Suddenly, the killer starts laughing. "What?" Right before his eyes, the assassin drives a kunai straight into his own chest, beginning a dark, sacrificial ritual. Ren instantly senses that something here is horribly wrong. Thick, pitch-black blood energy oozes from the wound, soaking the ground. The killer looks at Ren with a creepy, hollow gaze, whispering, "Hey, Demon King, is the moon not beautiful?" Stunned, Ren looks up at the night sky. The assassin screams with his remaining strength, declaring the time has come to descend. Suddenly, the moon turns a terrifying deep blood red. Look at that sky. The Blood Moon Summoner ritual is complete. The dying killer shrieks as his eyes turn crimson, calling upon a legendary demon ancestor on this perfect, cursed night. Ren bitterly realizes the setup. All of them, even this assassin, were just expendable pawns. This entire fight was just to wear him down, ensuring he would have no strength left. The assassin laughs, confirming that the real boss battle has finally begun. He summons a dark, abyssal spirit, a crimson warrior who slaughtered thousands of demons, the ancestor of the Black Moon tribe. Out of the swirling crimson mist, a massive entity clad in a terrifying demon mask emerges with countless swords strapped to his back. The system identifies him as Xin, the level 66 Black Moon ancestor. He is weakened, lasting only 3 minutes. Ren grits his teeth, facing an ancient monster who was sealed away for ages. Instantly, Sin lunges with mind-boggling speed. Ren can barely react, realizing in shock that this guy's level is way beyond his current limits. Damn it, he's too fast. I can't even track his movements. Ren barely blocks the incoming blow as metal clashes loudly, but when the monster draws dual swords, Ren pales. Dual blades, this is bad, I have to dodge. A vicious slash comes down, forcing Ren to dive away, sweating bullets. He realizes the strength gap is way too massive. That swing could have taken my head off before I even twitched. Is this monster just playing with me? As Xin approaches with glowing dual blades, Ren knows he has to keep his distance. Summoned beasts always have a strict time limit. Ren bolts into the dense forest, hoping the thick trees and obstacles will give him a solid hiding spot to buy some precious time. But Xin levels a massive forest section with a single swing. Ren watches in sheer disbelief as towering trees are sliced clean in half right in front of him. What kind of ridiculous power is that? Right then, the system alerts him that he successfully dodged the massive attack, unlocking a new skill called Wheel of Fortune. But thanks to the Demon King curse, it instantly mutates into the Wheel of Destruction. Instead of lowering his enemy's stats, it actually boosts Xin's accuracy by 50% and damage by 30%. Xin suddenly looms right behind him in the ruined clearing. Seeing the monster casually toy with him like a mouse, Ren grits his teeth in absolute rage. So you want me to keep running just to keep yourself entertained? Don't look down on me. Even for a weakened Demon King, this is insulting. Do you really feel powerful destroying some helpless trees? Ren smirks with defiance, mocking that rusty sword of his. But in response, Zin's eyes flare with raw killing intent as he slowly draws a third sword from its sheath. Ren stares his enemy down, yelling at him to bring it on. He offers to take a free hit. Zin merely responds by unleashing his true ancestral power, activating his own domain. Ren instantly recognizes this as Zin's lunar calamity domain. Under this blood moon, the ancient warrior controls all gravity and physical pull within the area. System alerts spam his vision as Zin's stats skyrocket. His attack increases by 300%, speed by 200%, alongside crazy high magical and physical resistances. He even gets lifesteal and 50% bonus damage on every hit. To make things worse, the domain's gravity crushes Ren's movement while lightening the load for Zin, making him blazingly fast. Even tiny forest insects are flattened by the sheer gravity. Ren grims, silently admitting that this guy is a major pain to deal with. Zin swings a massive blade down with thunderous force, but Ren reads the trajectory and slips away just in time. He knew exactly where that strike would land. Zin keeps pressing hard, his sword shattering massive boulders right beside Ren. Ren realizes there is no way he can win a straightforward battle against an ancient beast like this. But then, Ren remembers a curse of his own that might actually counter this godlike power. He knows from experience that curses and debuffs usually do not affect him at all. This is it. If his theory holds true, this hopeless match is still very much winnable. Right on cue, the system announces his curse has activated the reverse moon domain, completely neutralizing Zin's gravity effects. Ren's expression turns deadly serious and fully focused. Alright, the real fight starts now. Clenching his fists, Ren prepares to strike back as Zin rushes him. Combining his domain with the Wheel of Destruction should let him match this monster's speed. Zin swings with everything he has, but Ren calmly blocks the deadly blade barehanded. He just needs to hold out until the summon timer runs down to seal his victory. But an ancient ancestor does not play nice. Zin unleashes relentless strikes, giving Ren zero room to breathe as he struggles to block each heavy, fast blow. Ren knows his defense will crumble eventually, giving Sin the perfect opening for a finishing blow. Yet, seeing his incredible resilience, the ancient warrior actually looks slightly surprised. One split second slower and he would have been sliced to pieces. Realizing he cannot play defense forever, Ren declares that the ultimate defense is a brutal all-out offense. Instantly, a system notification pops up. The reverse moon domain has merged with his skills, transforming him into the legendary Obsidian King form. Clad in massive stone armor glowing with purple energy, Ren swings his greatsword, roaring that it is his turn now. He charges like a purple lightning bolt, clashing with the ancestor. The explosive collision blows Zin backward, knocking the swords off his back. Ren presses the advantage immediately, unleashing a relentless barrage of heavy strikes without giving him a second to breathe. Seizing the moment, Ren raises his glowing greatsword high, pouring everything into a final, devastating blow. Eat this, he roars as a massive explosion obliterates the surrounding forest. Standing amidst the dust, Ren smirked, confidently declaring game over. But his smug grin quickly fades as the smoke clears. Sisen somehow stands firm, using his remaining sword to block the devastating attack. That is exactly when Ren is completely shocked, suddenly realizing his fatal mistake. He really should have shattered both of his opponent's weapons right from the start. Out of nowhere, Seisin reveals a sharp hidden blade from his wrist and drives it straight into Ren's chest. The Demon King can only gasp in pure shock as he feels that freezing steel pierce right through him. Even in this new form, Ren realizes Seisin still holds the absolute speed advantage. Dodging the wind-slashing strikes with great difficulty, he quickly analyzes the situation. This guy is still one step faster than him. However, as an experienced veteran, Ren is confident that he has the combat experience to win. But look at this, Seisin suddenly pulls out a highly familiar technique that leaves our hero completely shocked. Wait, is that not the exact clone technique the final boss used? Seisin does not give his opponent any time to recover, pushing his speed to the absolute limit and unleashing a barrage of illusions from every direction. Yet Ren stands firm right in the center of the encirclement, coldly declaring that unfortunately for him, these cheap tricks will no longer work on him. Watching the horde of illusions rushing forward, Ren smirks defiantly. If he cannot tell who is real, he will just destroy them all at once. I will shred every last one of you, he roars out, unleashing a massive and devastating arc-shaped energy strike that instantly sweeps away everything around him. The massive blast of energy blows away the clones, forcing the real Seisin to show himself in utter shock. Refusing to give up, the Black Moon ancestor leaps high into the air, pouring all his strength into a heavy downward strike. But Ren is already one step ahead, effortlessly blocking the blazing fiery blade in a split second. A triumphant smirk spreads across Ren's face, leaving Seisin trembling in absolute shock. Staring straight at his opponent, Ren confidently asserts that the assassin no longer has enough power to pierce through this armor of his. Seisin feels completely helpless, realizing all his efforts are utterly useless against the Demon King's absolute defense. Ren unleashes a decisive strike that blows his opponent away, coldly declaring his victory. That means you have absolutely no chance of winning left. Seisin is knocked backward, completely collapsing under Ren's terrifying, overwhelming power. Raising his glowing greatsword high, Ren makes a final, absolute declaration. This is where it ends. The devastating blow leaves the assassin completely broken at his feet. He struggles to look up, his eyes filled with complex emotions as he whispers respectfully, "Lord Shara." Standing over his defeated opponent, Ren coldly asks if he is begging for his life. Knowing there is no way out, the assassin bows his head to admit the truth. "I know forgiveness is something I can never hope for, but I want to share some information regarding my tribe." Sheathing his sword, Ren silently commands him to speak, and the assassin begins to reveal a horrifying truth. "As you already know, the new Heavenly King Ben wants you dead. And not just a normal death, but one delivered by your own former subordinates." Hearing this, Ren silently ponders the situation. "So that is why your tribe came to kill me. Does that mean Ben ordered the entire Black Moon clan?" The assassin nods, confirming that otherwise, they would never dream of harming him. Ren smirks with pure irony, so they were just manipulated, yet still acted so enthusiastically. Suddenly, the assassin slams his head against the ground, coughing up blood as he begs desperately. "I humbly beg you, please take my life but spare the rest of the Black Moon clan." Without even waiting for an answer, he screams a final farewell and ends his life right in front of Ren. Looking at his enemy's corpse, Ren can only sigh and tell him to rest in peace. He deeply worries about Ben's cruelty suffocating the other tribes. But right then, the system panel suddenly announces the quest is complete. Ren clicks his tongue done so fast, without even letting him process his emotions. The reward for gaining the Beastman Chief's recognition is partially lifting the Demon King's curse and unlocking a new magic skill. Ren smiles, hoping Marm is also doing well, before casually selecting the next quest. Right, let's just keep this momentum going. But right as he turns to leave, a pitch-black hand on the ground suddenly twitches. This is where things take a dark turn. A creepy shadow entity silently rises behind him, driving a sharp blade straight through Ren's chest before he can even react. Shocked, Ren vomits blood, barely able to gasp out in sheer surprise. Amidst the heavy, suffocating, killing intent, the dark shadow entity mocks him, asking if he is having a good time playing around. Ren stares wide-eyed at his attacker, crying out in sheer pain. "Who are you, and why are you doing this to me?" Slowly pulling the blade out of Ren's chest, the creepy shadow entity casually replies that it is nothing personal, he just has some business to take care of. Blood splatters everywhere as the sword leaves his body. Instantly, the system activates his demon blood art, regenerating 3% of his health every second. The stranger just stares at Ren with mockingly glowing red eyes. Telling Ren that he has wasted too much time and needs a harsh wake-up call, the attacker leaves him gritting his teeth. Pale from blood loss, Ren realizes his recovery cannot keep up with this damage. The villain retracts his dark energy and prepares to leave, casually saying goodbye. Ren can only reach out in vain, struggling to ask his attacker why he is not finishing him off right here. The shadow entity pauses, replying mockingly that his schedule is fully booked today, maybe next time if he survives. With that, the attacker completely vanishes into the dark void. This leaves Ren collapsed on the cold ground, his breathing ragged. He has no idea what just happened, but his wounds are incredibly severe. Is this where his life finally ends? Just as his consciousness begins to fade, a pure white feather gently drifts down before him. Ren looks up at the sky in dazed confusion, wondering what is happening. An angel? A majestic winged entity suddenly appears under the brilliant full moon, and the system immediately identifies the new arrival, a level 79 scout angel. Ren turns pale with horror as he realizes this majestic entity holds absolutely no good intentions. It definitely did not come to save him. Is this truly the end of the road? But a sudden system notification completely changes the game quest complete, rewarding him with a partial lift of the Demon King's curse. Ren is utterly stunned by this sudden twist of fate. Ren quickly calculates a partial curse lift. If that is true, then he might actually stand a chance. Meanwhile, the scout angel lands, looking down coldly at the dying demon. "Are you still holding on to life?" That must mean the Black Moon clan failed their mission. Since Lord Ben's orders are absolute, I will finish you off myself. Brandishing his long spear, the angel charges forward at a blinding speed to finish the job once and for all. A heavy impact echoes, but the angelic scout suddenly freezes in pure shock. The angel gasps as he suddenly senses an icy, terrifying killing intent right behind his back. Trembling, the scout cannot believe his eyes. How could Ren possibly stand behind him with those fatal wounds? Standing right behind his foe, Ren smirks arrogantly, saying that this is actually working out perfectly. The system announces a new state with the curse partially lifted. He can now access his full Demon King power for 5 minutes a day. Gripping his glowing purple blade, his timer reads 4:59. Having just used his Phantom Presence skill to teleport, Ren looks at the panicking angel and chuckles. "So, do you still think you can win this fight?" A burst of pitch-black energy wraps around Ren, transforming him back into his majestic Demon King form. With his eyes glowing with raw bloodlust, he realizes this is the perfect chance to test his real power. With just a light tap from Ren, the angel's spear immediately begins to rot and crumble away, leaving the scout in complete shock. The scout gasps, terrified that his weapon is rotting from a single touch. Realizing that the Demon King has fully regained his power, he desperately spreads his wings and tries to flee. "I must report to Lord Ben immediately," the angel gasps. But Ren glares down with a freezing gaze and scoffs, "Did you really think you could just walk out of here? Do not mistake me for being merciful." A surge of pitch-black energy erupts from Ren's hand, swallowing the escaping angel right out of the sky. The Celestial only has time to let out one painful shriek before being completely crushed by the dark force. Standing proudly amidst the eerie aura, Ren declares that this is the true power of the Demon King. But, right then, the system countdown starts flashing warning signs 02, 01, 00. As the duration of the Demon King power ends, Ren instantly loses consciousness. His vision goes blurry and his exhausted body collapses onto the cold ground. Wait, who on earth is this? Just before Ren hits the dirt, a cloaked stranger with glowing purple eyes swoops in to catch him. Smiling at the unconscious king, he whispers as expected of Lord Zara, "Your power hasn't faded one bit." This is Montes, a traitor to the Demon Clan. Shortly after, up in the Grand Celestial Realm, a high-ranking female angel gasps in utter shock. Has he actually failed? Montes kneels before her and confirms yes, it seems Lord Zara has fully reclaimed his true power. Fuming with rage, the High Angel clenches her fists as her eyes flare with absolute bloodlust. If that is the case, she snarls, "I will tear him apart myself." Montes quickly tries to stop her. "Please, wait a moment, the tools of the Black Moon Clan are still highly effective." The High Angel smirks, letting out a wicked laugh. "I see. You mean Fumizuki." She immediately commands, "Very well, send orders to Fumizuki of the Black Moon Clan. If they do not want their entire clan wiped out, they must finish off Zara once and for all." Meanwhile, at another location, an angel is brutally impaling rebels with his spear. A man is lifted into the air, trembling and crying as he begs, "Please, spare us." Fumizuki hasn't fully inherited her role yet, so carrying out this mission is going to be incredibly difficult. The angel cold-heartedly snaps back, "You can explain that to Lord Ben yourself." But suddenly, a freezing voice cuts through the air. "That won't be necessary." The angel turns around in absolute horror, only to find his comrades already lying dead across the ground. "What? Everyone is wiped out. Who did this?" Before he can finish his sentence, a razor-sharp blade brutally pierces his chest from behind. A young girl with a high brown ponytail and blood-red eyes steps out of the shadows. She coldly declares, "Fumizuki, accepting the command, in the name of the Black Moon Clan, I will execute Demon King Zara." Later, Ren wakes up in a tent, finding Herat looking down at him with immense relief as she softly asks Lord Zara, "How are you feeling?" "I am so glad you are safe, though you really do have a stubborn life." Still dazed, Ren mutters, "How did I end up here?" Herat explains that she realized Enchi had been replaced by an imposter, prompting her to give chase, eventually finding him unconscious deep in the forest. Ren quickly sits up to ask about the situation. "Right. What about the village and the beastmen?" Herat reassures him that although some were injured, almost everyone managed to survive. While Ren wonders about the true identity of the fake Enchi, a bright red system alert flashes. It warns that he just woke from a coma, a severe side effect of over-releasing his power. He quietly realizes how close it was. If he hadn't finished the mission earlier, he might have lost his life. Just then, the elder advisor Deesun enters the tent, revealing that the imposter was an assassin from the Black Moon Clan, sent by the Celestials. "I managed to defeat him, but they have already uncovered our hiding spot, so we must leave as soon as possible." Herat is stunned to realize this is indeed a celestial conspiracy, while Deesun urges everyone to pack up and move immediately. Ren worries that the angels will definitely dispatch even stronger assassins next. He knows he needs to clear more quests quickly to unlock new skills. They will target his allies too, and to prevent useless sacrifices, he must get much stronger. Lost in thought, he snaps out of it when Deesun calls his name. And so Lord Zara, the elder, hesitates. "I should be happy to send you off, but I have one more request." Things didn't just end with the defeat of the Seed of Resentment. He recalls that fateful battle, explaining that even though Ren had destroyed the seed perfectly, the leftover remnants of resentment possessed other spirits, giving rise to another immensely powerful monster called the Crystal Beast. Right now, the injured beastmen whose village was burned are hiding deep inside volcanic caves to escape the beast's relentless hunt. Deesun drops to his knees, begging for help as those refugees are constantly ambushed by the Crystal Beast, without any time to heal. Seeing Herat's worried face and the advisor's desperate plea, Ren realizes those exhausted beastmen stand absolutely no chance against the monster. There's simply no way he can just abandon them. Ren places a hand on Deesun's shoulder to reassure him, "Do not worry. Chief, just leave this task to me." He calculates that having the beastman's support will be highly useful for his future plans. And besides, this Crystal Beast looks like a pretty juicy target to help him level up his powers. No more hesitation, it's time to take action. Herat guides the group deeper into the pitch-black cave, calling out softly, "Lord Zara, this way." He follows silently, determined to bring some good news back to the Beastman tribe soon. Ren is quite worried about a sudden ambush from the celestial forces, so he wants to wrap this up quickly. Suddenly, a strange sound echoing from the rubble makes everyone freeze. Herat flinches as a rock tumbles down right in front of her. Right after, a low, heavy rumble echoes, making Ren suspicious. Wait, what is that noise? He notices the stone wall beside them is closing in abnormally fast. Now watch this. Was this wall always this close to them? A sudden wave of panic truth dawns. No, this isn't a wall. Before he can react, a massive force slams into him, sending him flying. Ren skids across the floor, fighting to keep his footing amidst the thick dust. Herat screams out in panic, "Lord Zara." He roars back a warning that wall, it isn't made of stone. From the shadows, a colossal beast emerges with glowing eyes, the level 70 giant crystal serpent. Ren realizes in horror that what they thought was a cave wall is actually the massive body of a giant snake. The serpent towers over them, filling the cave with a suffocating pressure. As it lunges forward to attack, Ren realizes just how bad this terrain is. Fighting a massive snake inside a tight cavern is an absolute nightmare. He decisively barks, "We need to fall back right now." Herat quickly points toward a potential exit, "Lord Zara, over there." Ren immediately nods and yells out, "Run, hurry!" They both leap away, narrowly evading the creature's deadly jaws. A violent crash echoes as the snake slams headfirst into the stone, causing a massive cave-in that blocks its path. Ren looks back at the rubble and exhales a sigh of relief. Phew, that should hold it off for a little while. But their relief is cut incredibly short as Herat screams out another desperate warning, "Lord Zara, we have got company." Bursting from the sweltering heat, a gigantic saber-toothed tiger with a glowing red crystal on its forehead roars, shaking the cavern. This new crystal predator slowly moves closer, radiating an aura far more terrifying than the serpent. Facing this lethal opponent, Ren doesn't show a hint of fear, only smirking with amusement. Well, look at that. A pretty delicious meal has served itself right up, now it's just a matter of reeling it in. The moment the massive crystal beast pounces, Herat screams out in total panic, "Lord Zara, watch out." But Ren doesn't even flinch, instantly unleashing his newly acquired magical skill to cleanly deflect the predator's attack in a split second. Instead of killing it, Ren gently reaches out to pet the giant beast, which instantly turns docile and starts purring softly like a harmless little kitten. Ren is quite pleased, realizing his magic reward has successfully let him tame the crystal beast. Witnessing this impossible sight, the elder D-Sun can only stammer in utter disbelief. This is absolutely unbelievable. Ren returns to the camp riding proudly on the crystal beast, confidently announcing, "I have brought back a new companion." The system immediately confirms the creature now fully obeys him, tamed by his dominant Demon King aura. With the crystal beast helping out, the Beast King village quickly gets back its old peace and wealth, making Elder D-Sun incredibly grateful to him. The elder promises his tribe will never forget this kindness, but Jen simply waves off any reward. Seeing his modest attitude, D-Sun hesitates before making one final desperate request. He points to their guardian statue, which the angel tribe corrupted into a surveillance device, begging Jen to restore it. Wanting to finish the job right, Jen happily agrees to help them out. Looking at the heavily wrecked statue from the eruption, our hero seriously doubts it can even be fixed. But D-Sun explains all he has to do is touch it and channel his mana inside. Jen mutters, "So I just touch it? But check this out." The exact moment he reaches out and makes contact, the stone reacts violently, bursting with crazy purple energy. Suddenly his smile fades as a bizarre dark mist erupts from his arm, making him scream in pure agony. D-Sun watches in utter shock as things go south real fast. "Is the leftover magic of the Demon King rejecting you?" Herat asks, trembling in total disbelief. Everyone around begins to panic, wondering why the former Lord's statue would refuse the person who holds that very title now. Did the previous Demon King secretly refuse to hand over the throne to Jen? Watching this bizarre failure, the beastmen start whispering to each other with deep doubt. "Wait, is he not the real Demon King?" Shocked by what she is hearing, Herat stutters and asks if he is truly Lord Saza. Meanwhile, the surrounding crowd starts gossiping even louder. They whisper that a real Demon King would never get hurt so easily by a simple ambush. Plus, his appearance looks nothing like the legendary Saza. As the crowd continues to mock him, Jen struggles violently against the raging purple energy. Gritting his teeth in sheer rage, he thinks, "Damn it. After surviving so much, I cannot believe I am tripping up right here of all places." He realizes the lingering magic inside this stone belongs strictly to Saza's soul, and since his own soul is completely different, he cannot bypass it normally. But in a flash, Jen calms down, a wicked grin spreading across his face. Honestly, he is almost thankful for this parting gift Saza left behind. Since the issue lies in the soul, he sees only two options: either trick the statue into believing he is Saza, or destroy it entirely. Gathering his strength, Jen flares up a blinding golden aura. He decides to flood the statue with curses from the 7 great races and completely saturate the relic with his own mana. As his strike connects, the system instantly detects the Demon King's power and triggers the curse effects. Jen smirks, realizing his crazy plan is actually working. Since he just fooled everyone, there is absolutely nothing left to worry about, right? If that is how it goes, then let's go all out. Jen roars with pure excitement. Red system alerts flash across his vision as he unleashes every single bit of his power. The Beast King's roar, the Angel's curse, the Demon King's jealousy, the Dragon's deep sigh, the resentment of the deep sea, the contempt of the wise, and the sins of the Black Moon tribe. Jen funnels this incredibly chaotic mix of power straight into the monument, triggering a massive world-shaking explosion that tears through the air. Watching from afar, Herat and D-Sun scream their lord's name in utter terror, while Jen keeps roaring to release his full magic. A towering pillar of flame shoots into the sky amid a thick cloud of dust. Once the smoke finally clears, Jen stands proud in the crater, letting out a heavy sigh of relief. It actually worked. Seeing the monument completely restored to its original state, Herat and the beastmen erupt into loud, joyful cheers. Right then, a system alert pops up, announcing Jen has unlocked a special exploration skill to scan the entire village for secrets. Staring at this brand new skill, Jen lets out a calculated smirk. He decides to test it out without wasting a single second. You're not ready for how fast this plays out. Jen's eyes flash with a sharp, icy glare as he instantly identifies the hidden traitor who has been spreading fear and doubt in this tribe for so long, declaring with a confident grin, "I knew it." Without wasting any time, Jen lunges forward, grabs a chubby orc tightly by his throat, and yells, "Show your true form." Caught completely off guard, the shocked orc can only gasp as a bright flash of light tears away his disguise, revealing the pristine white wings of an angel. Bitterly, the spy admits he used Ben's unique power to sneak into the village. The surrounding beastmen howl in absolute fury, realizing this dirty enemy disguised himself to tear them apart. Turns out he is also the culprit who plotted to seal Lord Saza's power. The angry mob rushes forward to tear the angel spy apart, completely ignoring his terrified threats about Ben. Watching this chaotic scene, Jen silently admits the spy's words hold truth. He genuinely needs to find a way to break the nasty curse holding him back. Sensing his worry, Herat asks if this sudden instability is indeed caused by that curse. Instead of answering, Jen suddenly asks if she knows where Patry went. Herat mentions that Patry is actually a sentient weapon designed to purge negative status effects, reminding Jen of his ultimate trump card. Since Patry served him directly in the past, she definitely shares a deep soul bond with Saza. Right on cue, a new system quest triggers Return of the King Elf Edition. It demands he conquer the Eastern Elf tribe within a strict 40-day time limit. 40 days is a pretty generous window, assuming nothing major goes wrong. Jen turns to Herat, asking if she knows Patry's current whereabouts. She thinks back and remembers last seeing Patry flying off toward the northwest. Jen turns pale, realizing that is the exact opposite direction of his quest. Still, since 40 days is plenty of time, he decides to prioritize finding Patry to break his curse first. Jen quickly orders Mam to join him as they head northwest. The two swiftly depart the Beast King village, leaving behind a highly mysterious system message that reads, "Hope you do not regret this." Suddenly, a massive bolt of lightning strikes the ground with terrifying force. Out of the rising smoke, a young guy wearing a regular tracksuit unexpectedly appears out of nowhere. Looking around in utter confusion, he wonders if he just got sent to some deep boundary realm. Convinced he was ISEKAI'D, he gets incredibly excited seeing a system quest window with a 3-month limit and over 10,000 active players. With his ultimate goal of defeating the Demon King, the guy screams in pure joy, absolutely convinced he is the main character of this brand new fantasy world. Meanwhile, across a ruined ancient battlefield littered with massive skeletal remains, a mysterious figure wearing the exact appearance of Demon King Saza strides up the grand stone steps toward a majestic, towering castle. He mutters in high anticipation, "This is the place." Arriving right before the massive gates, he yells loudly to announce his grand arrival. "Patry, are you in there? The Demon King has returned." The heavy doors slowly creak open, revealing a stunningly beautiful girl with vibrant red hair and cute demon ears. This is Patry, the Demon King's unique sentient weapon in human form. Looking at him coldly, she asks, "What? Why are you here?" Shrinking under her overwhelming pressure, the fake Demon King breaks into a cold sweat as he stutters, "You are not even going to greet me, to greet us." Seeing Patry slightly bow in respect, he grins inwardly, fully believing his Saza disguise has worked like a charm. In reality, this guy is actually a player named First Star of the Silent Knight, a level 97 warrior trying to scam this legendary sentient weapon. As it turns out, he was also suddenly dragged from the real world into the very game he used to play. Using his incredibly deep game knowledge, he easily manipulates the local NPCs and quickly realizes he is not the only player around. To gain a massive advantage over everyone else, he used a special transformation potion to disguise himself as Demon King Saza. His sole goal is to obtain Patry, the sentient weapon who is absolutely loyal to the Demon King. Believing that acting as her true master is the ultimate way to win her over and satisfy his dream of being the protagonist, he smiles wickedly, imagining himself ruling this world with Patry in his hands. The moment he steps into the grand hall, a sudden wave of dizziness hits him, making his vision spin wildly. He dizzily wondered why his vision was blurring and tilting sideways until he noticed a dark crimson aura coiling around his body. Patry looked down at the collapsing figure with freezing contempt, her eyes cold as she delivered the final blow. "You pathetic fool." Patry coldly watched the imposter plunge into a deep pit piled high with corpses. With pure disgust, she told him he should at least be grateful she was giving him a proper grave. Moments later, she marched through the grand palace hall to meet her true master. Kneeling before Herat, Patry reported that she had eliminated the fake who dared defile Lord Sa's name. The white-haired Demon King, with his signature horn, smiled in quiet satisfaction. "Great job, Patry," yet the red-haired warrior could not hide her deep disgust. Lately, the number of fools trying to mimic Lord Sa was growing, and it was simply vile. Sa leaned back in his throne, his glowing red eyes full of dark amusement. He told her not to stress since it was just a little entertainment, promising they would clean up every last one as they walked into his trap. Meanwhile, in a distant town, Jinan let out a massive sneeze, making Herat ask with worry if Lord Zara was alright or if he was simply exhausted from their long journey. Rubbing his nose, he replied that he was fine and just needed to find Patry quickly. Checking his system screen, Jenin saw the quest to free the spirit tribe had only 32 days left, and finding her would make things much easier. Lost in thought, a young girl suddenly rushed forward and slammed right into him. Jenin guardedly barked to stay back, but the disheveled brown-haired girl begged in sheer terror for him to forgive her and please help. Her cute, tearful look actually made Herat's heart soften a little, finding her pretty adorable. But their peaceful moment shattered instantly when 3 brutal thugs materialized right behind the girl, looking ready for trouble. One thug warned them to stay out of their business. Herat quickly took a combat stance, growling in pure fury at 3 massive men trying to corner one helpless girl. She swore she wouldn't allow this, but Jenin suddenly stopped her, telling his subordinate to stand down. Even though Herat was eager to protect the girl, Jenin pushed her back and grabbed the stranger by the shoulder instead. Shocked, the tiger girl asked her master if he was seriously planning to just ignore this. Jenin replied coldly that he normally helped, but saving her would be like Tong Sanzong saving the white-bone demon. He flatly refused, ignoring her desperate pleas to reconsider. Jenin casually handed her over to the thugs with a smirking grin, telling them that taking her quietly was actually their best option. Inside, he had already recognized her true identity. There was no way she was a helpless victim. Why would Yanagi Fumizuki of the Black Moon clan let herself get bullied by low-life thugs? Something highly suspicious was definitely going on. Yet the girl kept up her tearful act. She cried out, begging Lord Zara to save her, but when she realized Jenin was not buying it, her gaze turned icy cold as she realized things were not going according to plan. She recalled rumors from the Beast King village saying he always helped people. Meanwhile, Jenin began to mockingly tease the thugs, acting overly terrified. Gritting her teeth, the brown-haired girl made a quick decision. It looked like she had to shift her strategy to avoid causing a public scene. Creeping closer to Jenin with calculating eyes, she watched as a thug grabbed her shoulder with a sleazy grin. Oh, they messed with the wrong girl. In a split second, Fumizuki's eyes flashed with a terrifying red glare, sending a bone-chilling shiver straight down the spine of every thug there. They terrifiedly realized those eyes belonged to a wild wolf on the hunt, making them flee for their lives while yelling to run and let her go. Jenin watched the fake, cowardly display with a sarcastic smirk. Instantly, Fumizuki lunged forward to hug him tightly, crying out in a sweet voice that she would devote her entire life to repaying his kindness. Jenin acted flustered on the outside, but his mind was racing. Keeping her close to keep an eye on her was far safer than letting her strike from the shadows. He casually told her to follow along. Jenin turned and informed Herat they were heading straight to the ancient battlefield, leaving the panicked tiger girl scrambling after him, begging him to wait up. After a long journey, the group finally reached the ancient battlefield. Jenin was stunned to see that instead of the ruined wasteland he remembered from 100 years ago, it was now a bustling market packed with vendors selling legendary goods. The entire scene was so utterly chaotic that Jenin could only hold his head in disbelief. "What is this madness?" he muttered. Suddenly, a man shoved past him, yelling to get out of the way. Jenin stared at a notice board and realized with a shock that this massive line was actually adventurers waiting to challenge Patry. He groaned, seeing how insanely packed it was. A local explained that a new guard force had to be formed just to handle the crowd. If he joined the line now, it would take 2 whole months before his turn came. Panicking, Jenin grabbed the man and asked if there was any shortcut to get a match sooner. He worried that at this rate, completing his quest on time would be impossible. The man suggested joining an existing expedition party, though warning him that most of them were already full. Staring at the dense crowd, Jenin sighed in deep frustration, muttering about what an absolute mess this was. Seeing his worry, Herat offered to ask around, so Jenin agreed they should split up. Watching them from behind, Yanagi Fumizuki grew suspicious of why the Demon King was personally trying to acquire Patry's weapon. She wondered if he had lost his ability to control that divine weapon. Smirking, she realized this crowded place was a golden opportunity to recruit useful pawns for her own hidden agenda. A bit later, Jenin and Herat reunited, still without any lead on how to bypass the line. He calmed his companion down, reminding her they had just arrived and there was no need to rush. Suddenly, a system notification popped up, accompanied by an astonished shout calling out his player name, Ichino. A gold-haired warrior and his team rushed over, absolutely thrilled to recognize Jenin instantly due to his famous face. Jenin was deeply stunned to realize he was not the only player who had been summoned to this fantasy world. The warrior could not hide his admiration, calling Jenin his idol and the top-tier player who had vanished during a live challenge broadcast. As the guy shook his hand warmly, Jenin asked who they even were. The gold-haired fighter was genuinely shocked to hear that Jenin had not met any other players since arriving. Watching this bizarre conversation, poor Herat had absolutely no clue what a player even meant. And honestly, it makes you realize how the system kept the locals completely in the dark about this massive gamer invasion. Realizing Jenin also wanted to challenge Patry, the gold-haired warrior eagerly invited him to join his team, explaining they were casual, guildless players. Meanwhile, the 2 girls in his group, a mage and a priest, quickly befriended Herat and Fumizuki. The girls showered both Herat and Fumizuki with compliments about their cute outfits. Meanwhile, the gold-haired leader confidently boasted that with a legend like Genin on board, their team would be unstoppable on the battlefield tomorrow. He even promised to split the loot fairly by rolling dice, just like they used to do in the game. After thinking it over, Genin agreed with a calculated smirk. Deep down, he could feel that things were finally starting to get highly interesting. The fighter explained that right after Genin vanished, the game suddenly crashed and became inaccessible. A few days later, an update dropped, and upon logging in, a pop-up window asked if they wanted to try a completely new adventure. Driven by curiosity, they clicked yes and ended up transported here alongside countless others. Seriously, talk about curiosity bringing a whole crowd to clutter up this world. Jinan realized that timeline perfectly matched when he ignored the system to travel north. With a serious look, he stared straight at the gold-haired warrior and asked if the system had given them any specific quests. The blonde guy admits his goal is to destroy the Demon King Zara. Genin clicks his tongue, realizing the system is doing everything it can to nerf him by turning other players into enemies. Soldiers begin lining up on the castle walls, ready to strike. Genin warily tells himself, are these guys really my enemies now? What about the ones behind me? Will they make a move? The blonde guy points straight at Genin and shouts with excitement. That armor belongs to Zara, right? Getting the Demon King's gear takes sheer luck and crazy skill. He steps closer with a sinister smirk. Yino-san, what exactly happened to Zara after you defeated him? Genin freezes as he realizes his true identity has been completely exposed. Trapped between two sides, he quickly calculates his next move. So they already figured it out. How should I handle this? Genin smirks defiantly, asking what if I refuse to answer? Right then, two girls from the blonde guy's squad suddenly subdue Herat and Fumizuki. Genin coldly asks, what do you plan to do with them? We are just holding them hostage, they reply. The blonde guy swaggered forward, hoisting his massive axe. If you do not want to answer, that is fine. Killing my idol will only bring me more luck. He suddenly swings his axe, roaring at his men to fire. Instantly, a heavy rain of arrows pours down on Genin. Herat screams in absolute worry, Lord Zara, but the enemy snaps back. There is a blade at your throat. Do not move. Genin does not even blink. He activates the Demon King's exclusive skill, Phantom Mirage, boosting his speed by 30%. Now watch this. He shifts into a purple specter, easily dodging every single arrow in the blink of an eye. Genin suddenly appears right behind Fumizuki, his purple eyes glowing with a menacing light. Just watching is pretty boring, right? He coldly shoves her forward, telling her it is time to risk her life for him. Fumizuki is stunned, unable to track his movements at all. When did he get behind me? I did not see a thing. Genin stands back, calmly watching her with a mocking smirk. I would love to just sit back and enjoy the show like a true demon king, but what comes next? Fumizuki is completely shocked by Zara's mocking words, wondering what on earth he is talking about. Genin calmly keeps provoking the enemies, acting as if she spoke. Oh, you want to punish these guys for disrespecting me? Calling them loudmouth cowards is a bit much. Do you not think? Yeah, throwing a hostage out as a shield is a pretty dirty trick. Fumizuki is completely speechless, unable to comprehend how things took such a bizarre and chaotic turn. Humiliated, the blonde warrior roars and charges forward. Why do you not teach us some manners yourself? He swings his axe with devastating force, but Genin vanishes instantly, leaving behind a terrifying after-image that leaves the fighter completely frozen in fear. An after-image. Fumizuki quickly tries to clear the air, telling them not to get it twisted because she is not his ally. But the blonde guy does not buy it, yelling that they have been tailing them all day. If you were not allies, you would not have listened to him. Even though he acts tough, he secretly has to admit Zara's sheer speed is incredibly terrifying. Cornered, Fumizuki cannot tell the truth right in front of Genin. Seeing his chance, the blonde guy charges aggressively, shouting that she just admitted it, before launching another heavy attack. He attacks like a madman, forcing Fumizuki to draw her daggers to block the heavy axe strikes. She grits her teeth, resolved to handle this mess herself. Watching from safety, Genin smirks with interest, asking, is the real show finally starting? Wow, the wicked really do get to enjoy a comfortable show. Magic blasts rain down everywhere, turning the battlefield into pure chaos. Genin secretly gloats, thinking the more chaotic it gets, the easier it is to make his move. Seeing the enemy mage channeling energy, he mockingly suggests she use that magic to help her teammate instead. Right then, Fumizuki delivers a precise slash that rips through the blonde guy's armor, sending him stumbling back in absolute agony. Genin continues to taunt the mage with a smug grin, reminding her that they can always just run away whenever they want. Look at that. You better hurry up, or your teammate is going to die. Sensing the dangerous situation, the mage signals, the priestess holding Herat with a quick nod, and both of them immediately launch their powerful support spells. The mage casts Nightmare Gaze, while the priestess activates her recovery spell, Gale Feather. Instantly, system notifications pop up as their stats begin to rapidly shift. The captain recovers 30% of his health and gains a 10% speed boost for 5 minutes. On the flip side, Fumizuki gets hit with a 3-second stun as strange purple chains lock her feet, leaving her defenseless. Watch closely, this looks like the end for her. Seizing his chance, The captain charges forward like a savage beast, roaring with pure, murderous intent. Die. Facing the incoming axe of death, Fumizuki does not even flinch, only smirking with pure contempt. How foolish. When the blade is just inches away, the captain suddenly freezes, his face twisting in absolute agony. A bright red notification pops up, confirming his status as poisoned. Dark purple veins spread rapidly across his entire body, draining every single ounce of his strength before he can even finish his strike. The captain collapses to the ground in shock, leaving his teammates, the mage and the priestess, screaming in utter despair. Fumizuki calmly looks down at the defeated captain, coldly declaring that she does not like pointless battles. The system delivers another harsh blow, announcing the priestess lacks the level to cure this poison. The rogue players panic at the horrific sight. Why did this happen? The mage screams frantically, demanding that she hand over the antidote immediately. But Fumizuki coldly replies that they were the ones who attacked first. Right then, Jenin steps up, placing a hand on her shoulder while smugly noting her use of poison and secret weapons. Even the slow-witted should have realized her true identity by now. Hearing the name of the Yagyu clan, the mage freezes in absolute terror. No way, someone from the Yagyu clan? Fumizuki turns to Jenin, highly suspicious. So you already knew who I was. Jenin maintains his mysterious smile, staring straight into her eyes as he offers a challenge. You are targeting me under the orders of the angels, right? Should I entertain myself by giving you a chance? Jenin silently calculates that keeping a deadly assassin like her right under his nose will make it much easier to control the situation. Her pride wounded, Fumizuki snaps back angrily, telling him not to look down on her. Instantly, Jenin unleashes a spine-chilling aura, dark shadow of the Demon King looming behind him as the air turns heavy. He smirks, staring deep into her soul as he delivers a cold reality check. Tell me, do you really have any other choice? Under that crushing pressure, Fumizuki breaks into a cold sweat, silently admitting she has absolutely zero chance of defeating the Demon King right now. She has no choice but to lower her head in defeat. Seeing her yield, Jenin instantly brightens up, smiling warmly as if nothing happened, and issues his command. In that case, give them the antidote. Fumizuki quietly approaches the dying captain, holding out the small vial and telling him that if he drinks this, he will survive. Once the system confirms the poison is cured, the captain slowly regains consciousness. Staring at Jenin in sheer disbelief, he asks why on earth he saved his life. Ignoring him completely, Jenin just strolls away, tightly clutching the glowing green card, his long-awaited ticket to the ancient battlefield. By the very next day, Jenin is living like absolute royalty, relaxing as he is carried across the desert wasteland on a wooden palanquin. Fumizuki is now acting as his personal servant, serving him fresh watermelon and asking with fake concern how the boss is liking the cold treat. Jenin munches and nods in approval, saying he has absolutely nothing to complain about. The blonde captain, now a loyal subordinate, runs up to report that the area ahead is where their squad recently clashed with another group. He anxiously asks if Jenin plans to recruit more allies for this quest, but Jenin replies with a mischievous wink. Of course not, I am only here to support your mission, after all. To boost their morale, he confidently promises that if they manage to take down Patry, he will personally hand out rewards as the game administrator. Looking at the blonde guy's absolute gratitude and complete trust, Jen quietly laughs at their sheer naivety. In reality, he doesn't hold any real authority like that at all. He smirks triumphantly to himself, enjoying his own little mind game. These guys are way too easy to fool. Rewinding to a day ago, Jen held up a glowing green card, claiming the right to challenge Patry. Out of nowhere, he handed it to the female mage, leaving her completely stunned and speechless. Jen flashed a bright grin, congratulating her on passing the trial and handing her the challenge rights. The entire Blonde Warriors party was absolutely shocked by this incredibly generous gesture, staring at him in disbelief. Jen smoothly continued his professional act, claiming his job as a GM was simply to find and assist the right challenger. While saying all that with a straight face, he quietly laughed inside at his own massive lie. The other players began whispering in doubt, wondering if a GM like Jen actually existed since they had never heard of one. Meanwhile, Jen calculated that keeping them close was his best bet to gather information on other players. Seeing their hesitation, he coldly turned his back, saying he would just find someone else to talk to. Panicked, the blonde leader quickly tried to stop him. "Hold on," the blonde guy stammered. "We believe you. We just need time to process this." Jen turned back with a sharp look, asking if they wanted proof, and the warrior sheepishly scratched his head. "Well, pretty much," the guy admitted. Jen smirked, throwing out a bold challenge. "Go ahead and attack me." The female mage stood there, completely confused, wondering if she heard him right. Jen laughed arrogantly as dark purple energy flared around him, daring her to take a shot. "Oh, you know she is not backing down." She gritted her teeth and launched her attack, determined to call his bluff. She instantly cast her fire magic, launching a blazing fireball right at him. Jen just stood there casually, calmly noting that her basic fire spell was not bad but too bad for her. He was the opponent. The moment the system detected the intense heat, it automatically triggered his counter skill, the punishment of the deep ocean. Sharp shards of ice erupted, completely freezing her fireball in midair at absolute zero before launching it back. The blazing projectile transformed into a massive block of ice, hurtling straight toward the terrified mage at a terrifying speed. Panic-stricken, the mage quickly raised a flame shield to block the attack, but the sheer force of the counterstrike blasted her back, leaving her screaming in pain. She crashed hard onto the ground, surrounded by shattered shards of ice. The blonde warrior and the priestess froze in absolute shock, realizing that his deep-sea skill should never have been able to convert elements like that. Staring at the glowing ice, they were completely convinced he was a GM. Jen put a finger to his lips, shushing them to keep quiet about it. The group immediately nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, Jen felt completely confident that by combining his Demon King skills with his veteran gaming experience, there was absolutely no way he could ever fail. His system displayed his unlocked Demon King skills, ranging from blood magic to petrification. Jen turned and ordered Harris to free the mage from the ice, though the Beastkin girl was still visibly annoyed. "I do not want to help anyone who opposes Lord Saw," Harris muttered, but she still shattered the ice with a kick. Watching this unfold, Yanagi Fumizuki grew suspicious of how easily Jen won them over. She suspected a real Demon King must have some dark, hidden motive behind this sudden kindness. As the party continued down a stone path, the blonde warrior curiously asked Ikino-san about that reward he mentioned earlier. Jen gave them a deeply mysterious smile, replying that while he could not say too much, his current appearance in front of them was already a massive hint. "Just think about what happened and why they are here," he said. Watching the backs of Jen, Harris, and Fumizuki, the players whispered excitedly about the meaning behind having a Beastkin and an assassin around. The female mage suddenly pieced it together, wondering if reversed magic and Demon King minions meant they should team up with races that betrayed the Demon King to defeat him. The entire party cheered in excitement, fully believing that recruiting the Demon King's former minions would weaken his forces upon resurrection. Jen quietly grinned, amazed at how useful the wild imaginations of these otakus could be. Jen leaned in close to the leader, whispering a secret. "If you succeed, you can actually bring something from this world back to reality, but keep it strictly between us." Though highly skeptical, the dream of bringing back legendary treasure had the party shouting in pure excitement. "Let us do this. We are going to be filthy rich," they yelled. But suddenly, a giant roaring stone monster blocked their path. Brandishing his sword, the blonde warrior rushed forward, urging everyone to coordinate their attacks. Watching from behind, Harris anxiously asked if Jen really intended to help these humans. She warned they would surely turn on him one day, but Jen gestured for her to wait and watch. Suddenly, a violent energy vortex erupted on the battlefield, throwing the players into a panic. "Watch out, a dragon," they screamed. But as the dust and wind settled, two figures slowly emerged: a white-haired man and the red-haired girl, Patry. Patry sniffed the air, muttering that she smelled a filthy cat. Her crimson eyes flashed with intense rage as she realized something. Could it be that he had finally shown up? She stared up at the high cliff where Jen stood, quietly watching the battle from a safe distance. Patry let out a furious growl, spotting the disgusting imposter who dared to copy her master's face. Mid-battle, the giant stone monsters suddenly froze in place, leaving the adventurers completely baffled. Out of nowhere, the beast was torn to shreds in an instant, throwing the blonde leader into panic. "Did it escape?" they cried as chaos consumed the area. Harris anxiously reported to Jen that the monsters were acting completely bizarre. Yanagi Fumizuki also felt an overwhelming pressure, sensing an incredibly powerful bloodlust drawing closer. Staring at the bizarre scene, Jen realized something was deeply, deeply wrong. Jen calculated that the desert monsters here were normally around level 65 to 70, so for a Yaju assassin to be this cautious meant their coming opponent was insanely strong. Suddenly, the howling sandstorm stopped dead. Through the thick dust, Harris suddenly gasped and yelled out Patry's name. But look closely at who is right behind her: a towering white-haired figure with majestic horns, making the adventurers tremble in absolute terror. "Demon King Zara, why is he here?" they cried out. Ignoring his terrified teammates, the blonde warrior rushed forward, driven by nothing but blind ambition and greed. "It does not matter, he is here now and his head belongs to me," the warrior yelled. Facing the charging fool, Patry knelt before the white-haired king, asking if she should kill him. With a cold nod from the king, Harris fell into complete confusion, staring. "That is really Lord Zara," she muttered. "What is going on here?" Jen was also losing his mind, comparing his own face to the identical king. But he quickly noticed a crucial detail: the aura around both the king and Patry was surprisingly weak. The blonde leader threw a powerful punch at Patry, but the red-haired girl easily neutralized the blow with her bizarre, weaponized hair. Standing calmly amidst her enemies, she turned to the white-haired king, reassuring him with deep respect. "Rest easy, my lord," she said. With blood-red eyes filled with killing intent, she coldly handed down their death sentence, promising to send every single one of them to the afterlife. In an instant, Patry vanished, leaving the panicked adventurers scrambling to form a defensive line. The brutal slaughter began as she unleashed the overwhelming power of a divine weapon. With her stats boosted to insane levels, her accuracy rose by 150% and her critical rate soared to 200%. She absolutely pulverized every enemy in her path. Black tentacles from her hair shot out, ripping the party's formation to shreds. Amidst the flashing explosions, one survivor foolishly asked if they had managed to take her down. But Patry stood completely untouched, muttering with contempt that it only tickled. Giving them no time to breathe, she unleashed another strike, leaving her victim screaming in horror. Her devastating attack power is terrifying, and she coldly marks her next target, the second victim. Even though they are shaking, the explorers scream to reassure each other, "Do not back down. We can take her if we strike together." Patry responds to their hopeless effort with a freezing stare. It is utterly useless. Right then, Jenin stands back and activates his beastly pressure skill, sending a thick wave of crimson dark energy flooding across the battlefield. The crushing pressure of a true Demon King skill makes Patry stagger. Is her physical body actually failing her now? Shaken to her core, she suddenly realizes the truth and glares at the imposter next to her with blazing fury. How dare a fake approach her king? She charges wildly to deliver a lethal blow die. Faker! But Harris steps in just in time to block the strike. She yells out, "Patry, it is me." Patry has completely lost control now, roaring with pure bloodlust that death is the only thing waiting for traitors. Watching this terrifying clash, the blonde captain stammers that this is not a level they should ever interfere with. Ren, standing nearby, just smirks, mocking him for acting like a total coward all of a sudden. Ren quietly calculates that using Patry as bait worked perfectly. He does not even need to keep an eye on Fumizuki anymore, since she decided to pull back with her own survival-first philosophy. A true ninja values survival over actual combat. Watching her fight, Jenin is quietly amazed by her durability. This weapon has a body that is practically equivalent to a real Demon King. Harris keeps trying to convince her, "Lord Sa and I came to take you home." But Patry glares back with deep suspicion that Lord Sa looks nothing like this foolish man. If he is real, why did you make me attack you? Seizing the opening, Patry wraps her tentacles tightly around her opponent's leg. Got you. She unleashes a lightning kick that slams Harris to the ground, standing over her coldly. "You are far too foolish," she says. "I do not even want to kill you, so do not try resisting again." Patry slowly turns to face the stunned fake Demon King. "Well, imposter, have all your friends abandoned you? Seems you are pretty popular yourself." The fake Demon King snarks back immediately, "Not as much as you. After over 100 years, you only have a single sycophant left by your side." Those harsh words strike a nerve, twisting Patry's face in absolute fury. She roars out that she will kill him. Suddenly, she is trapped under a heavy rain of arrows and magic from the blonde captain's party. Surrounded, she still looks down on them with arrogant contempt. "Do you really think a massive ambush and these pathetic, cheap little tricks are going to work on someone like me?" Instantly, a massive explosion swallows the red-haired girl in a sea of flames. Look at that, the fake Demon King steps out of the smoke with a smug smirk, ready to talk trash. You really shouldn't think so highly of yourself. Under the barrage of elemental attacks, bright red system notifications pop up one after another, triggering the ancient curses of the ancestors. From the bursting energy to a colossal red dragon, a deep-sea horror, and a spirit of wisdom rise up together, unleashing an absolutely crushing pressure over the entire battlefield. Watching elite powerhouses clash is incredibly satisfying. The fake Demon King roars in excitement as he commands the power of ancient gods. These curses are a greedy collection, so let's see if you can survive them. He commands the red dragon spirit to deliver a devastating lightning strike, sending Patry flying and pinning her flat to the ground. Behind them, the blonde captain cheers in absolute triumph. "We actually did it." Patry is totally exhausted, collapsing in the debris with a painful groan. The blonde captain excitedly yells to his squad, "Did we really just take her down?" But while they celebrate, Yanagi Fumizuki is pretty skeptical. She realizes the weird powers that fake guy just used aren't even mentioned in any historical records about the real Demon King. The fake king slowly towers over the weakened Patry, coldly giving her an ultimatum: surrender now or die. Patry briefly looks towards the real Saw with regretful eyes, silently making a promise. "I am so sorry. My Demon King," she thinks. "I will get my strength back soon." Saw gasps out in shock. What? Suddenly a massive wave of dark crimson energy erupts from the distance. What on earth is happening? The Demon King, who stayed quiet all this time, is finally moving, but Saw looks at that bizarre black shadow with deep suspicion that is definitely not him. The captain screams in terror as he realizes what that roaring red energy actually is. Patry's very own soul. Watching this giant soul entity rise up, Saw instantly realizes just how bad the situation is. He screams out, "This is bad. Do not let that thing touch Patry." He immediately activates his taunt skill to draw the enemy's attention. But the system screen coldly shuts him down. Taunt failed. The target is completely unaffected. Saw stares in absolute shock, unable to believe what he is seeing. What? That soul clearly belongs to Patry. A massive explosion suddenly tears through the area, swallowing everything in fire. Watching the bright crimson aura wrap around Patry, Saw realizes the truth. Could it be soul separation? He knows using this technique drops the main body's power by 30%. But what shocks him most is how she easily repels the 8 clans' curse with only a fraction of her remaining power. Think about that. Splitting your soul causes absolute agony and leaves the physical body incredibly weak, requiring a massive recharge of energy on a pretty regular basis. seeing her total loyalty to Shajia Herat. Sa realizes that protecting her master is worth any risk to her. He turns to the explorers and urges them to make their move. All right, attack her again. The blonde captain can only stutter back in confusion. Wait, what? Suddenly, Patri's terrifying aura explodes so violently that the surrounding air feels completely suffocating. Someone screams out, isn't it way too late for that now? The explorers scatter in absolute panic, and even a skilled assassin like Fumizuki breaks into a cold sweat over her terrifying battle aura. Patri's eyes glow with pure fury through the heavy black smoke, forcing everyone to wonder if they are finally witnessing her actual true power. A massive demonic foot with razor-sharp claws slams onto the ground, signaling that a total bloodbath is about to start. She dashes forward like a flash of red lightning, moving too fast for them to react. The blonde captain screams in absolute desperation to rally his squad. Don't panic, establish your defenses right now. But every single effort is completely useless against her overwhelming godlike strength. She glides past him in a split second with a deadly razor-sharp strike. The captain just stands there frozen, staring down in absolute horror at the massive hole blasted straight through his chest before he finally collapses to the ground. And just like that, he is completely done. For Patri takes the captain down in a heartbeat, leaving him totally lifeless on the ground. Seeing this absolute nightmare, the remaining adventurers shake in despair, realizing their only option left is to surrender immediately. But Patri, with blood splattered on her face and a manic grin, completely rejects that idea. Surrender? No way. She flashes forward like a red streak, tearing their formation to shreds. Despite their useless screams of resistance, I will never allow you to escape. Towering over the fake Demon King with her massive, glowing red soul looming behind her, she delivers her cold final judgment well. Imposter, do you have any last words before you die? Facing certain death, Jenin grinds his teeth in sheer determination. I am not some easy target you can just kill. Immediately, the system announces his full Demon King powers are active for 5 minutes, letting him unleash a devastating combo skill that shoots massive, jagged bone traps straight out of the earth to impale Patri. Jenin laughs triumphantly. Do you honestly think you can escape a combined skill like this? But Patri suddenly materializes right behind him, placing a hand on his shoulder and casually telling him that there is no need to run. That is when a brutal system notification pops up. Because of her special link to the Demon King, none of his skills can ever be used to harm her. Jenin gasps in absolute shock as she reveals her sacred soul contract with Shajia Herat, rendering his ultimate attack completely useless. Right as Patri is about to deliver the finishing blow, Hera suddenly throws herself in the way with a desperate scream. She shields her master, taking the fatal strike head-on as blood splatters everywhere. Jen clutches his loyal follower in absolute shock as she collapses, screaming out in agony. Why did you do this? He cries, you should have realized by now that I am not Sa. Gasping for her final breaths, Harris looks up at him with a gentle gaze and a warm smile. To me, the person who saved me back at the Beast Village is the true Demon King, and serving you was my greatest honor. Watching Harris slip away, Jen spirals into pure madness and regret. He used their trust just to escape this world, and now he hates himself for it. Suddenly, a terrifying surge of power erupts, making his eyes glow with absolute fury. He screams in utter despair, it cannot end like this. You can feel his pure desperation here. Suddenly, Jen passes out and wakes up in a strange illusory space. He realizes he is lying on a deep red floor. Sitting up, he is horrified to see a massive, agonizing version of himself wearing the Demon King armor, writhing in pain. What on earth is this? He gasps. Looking further ahead, he spots another version of himself slumped over a high platform. Is that really me, he wonders, but why does it look so incredibly pathetic? Walking deeper, Jen is stunned to find rows of statues carved in his image, all wearing heavy armor. Looking closely, there are so many of them. Are they all me? He mutters. A sudden chilling thought sends shivers down his spine. Could this be some kind of near-death experience before he fades away? Quietly, he approaches the throne of Sa, where the real Demon King sits with a mysterious smile on his face. A near-death experience is a very human concept, the Demon King says, but you are not entirely wrong. Recognizing the familiar face, Jen angrily demands answers you again. Are you the one who forced me into this role? And why are you appearing in my memories? Jen demands. Sa casually points a finger at him, declaring that this is what Jen has wanted all along. Jen glares back, what do you mean by that? Sa speaks calmly, you lamented your own weakness and desperately craved power. He then flashes an image of Hera's suffering because she could not protect her master, dangling a very tempting offer in front of Jen. That cat is agonizing over failing to protect you, Issei tells him, but if you hand over your body to me, I can save everyone. Jen just looks at him coldly, who even are you? Sa smirks, claiming to be the Demon King memories engraved deep inside Jen's mind. He is everything. Jen lets out a scoff, do not make me laugh. What could a mere parasite like you possibly do? Without warning, a massive blast of fire hits Jen right in the face. A blazing punch from Sa slams into him and sends him flying back, completely helpless. Sa casually declares that he can do everything Jen cannot. Watching the smoke rise from the Demon King fingertips, Jen feels a pit in his stomach. This guy definitely is not just bluffing. Sa points toward the magnificent, glowing throne and orders him to take his place there. He continues his dangerous temptation. If you just give up your ego and merge with me to become the true Demon King, you can shatter every seal on your power and easily defeat that dragon. But Jen refuses to back down. Cut the crap, he says. What are you even talking about? I will do things my own way as myself. Saw smirks mockingly. You really think you can? He starts bringing up Jen's bitter failures, from his inability to break the Spirit Clan curse to getting completely overwhelmed by Patry. If you had not made those stupid choices, you would not be struggling against Patry right now, and you certainly would not have been killed by her because of your own pride. The words, "if only it was not for you," echo endlessly in his head, breaking him. Jen sinks into deep self-blame. If it was not for my weakness, Harris and the others would not have ended up like this. So if that is true, would not anyone else be better than me, he thinks. Saw nudges him further, saying yes, that other person could eventually be you, meaning you can finally become that true ruler. Saw stands up, pointing toward the exit and urging him on. Go to where you belong now, your people are waiting for you. Jen walks silently along the red carpet toward the faint light ahead. Wait for it. Saw wears a triumphant grin, totally convinced his little mind game has succeeded. But suddenly, Jen's gaze turns sharp and icy. He sees right through the scheme. Your actual goal is to make me abandon this body, is it not? Without a single moment of hesitation, Jen spins around, grabs Saw by the collar, and slams him hard onto the ground, leaving the Demon King completely shocked. What? Saw barely gasps in pure shock as pins him down. Jen stands triumphantly over the fallen Demon King, completely turning the tables and taking full control of the situation. Gripping his sword, Jen declares, "Who do you think I am? I will never submit to you." He drives his blade deep into the ground right next to Say's face, saying, "There is no rule stating I need your power to beat Patry. Besides, I was the one who defeated the Demon King in the first place, right?" Saw's eyes widen in absolute panic as he stammers in desperation, "What on earth are you? You will regret this. You need my strength to make Patry recognize your soul." Jen lets out a mocking smirk. That is not how the strongest players do things. If I need power, I will grab it myself. In that exact instant, Jen's mind connects with a distant memory. He wonders if this is exactly what Saw once went through, or if this entire event has already happened in the past. Jen recalls the time he should have died when a demonic soul devoured him, only for an unexpected twist of fate to bring him back to life. His system window pops up to reveal the shocking truth. Jimaru had activated the angel curse to control him, but it somehow inverted into an angel blessing. This crazy transformation allows Jen to enter a special state called catastrophe, an existence that transcends both life and reincarnation. In this mode, he commands absolute power over the laws of life and death. Jen grins triumphantly, realizing he can level up and resurrect himself. Saw stammers in utter shock, protesting that this is not why he called him here, but Jen instantly cuts him off. Cut the crap. I am starting to seriously doubt if you are even the real Demon King. He turns his back and walks away, leaving Saw desperately reaching out, begging him to wait because he will surely return for power. Jen glares back with utter disgust. Your words had some dignity earlier, but now you just sound like a cheap scammer. The Saw I defeated had a burning conviction. He was way better than this. Pinning Saw down, Jen delivers his final blow. I will return your own words to you. I can do everything you cannot. Instantly, a system alert rings out. Player Ichinos Genin has unlocked the secrets of the soul. Meanwhile, back in reality, Patry stands on a cliff, looking down at Jen's motionless body with cold contempt. This is your punishment for daring to mock Lord Saw, she sneers. She reaches down to touch his armor, gritting her teeth in fury. How dare you defile Lord Saw's armor with your filthy blood? Suddenly, a hand shoots up from the dirt, grabbing Patry's wrist and freezing her in her tracks. Surprised, gorgeous? Did you think I was dead? Dream on. Opening his eyes slowly, Jen mockingly smiles despite his severe wounds. Are you really trying to undress another man so suddenly? He asks, isn't that a little too aggressive? Patry stumbles back, her eyes glowing red in complete shock. You are still alive, she gasps. Blinded by pure rage, she screams, then die again. She drives her razor-sharp tail straight through Jen's body once more. Watching her prey bleed out on the ground, Patry growls, you stubborn insect. Just die already. Can I finally watch you draw your absolute last breath and rid myself of you? Even with blood pouring from his mouth, Jen grins arrogantly and mockingly fires back. Wow, are you really that desperate to kill me? What is the matter? Are you scared of me? Patry screams in pure fury, you fool. If you are relying on your comrades, you are dead wrong. She points toward the bloody bodies scattered all around and coldly declares that your precious cat was just another useless insect and she is already dead. Patry charges in, determined to finish him off. She yells that this is his end. But at the brink of death, Jenin roars with authority. She isn't the only one who knows soul magic. Wake up right now. Instantly, a surge of purple energy erupts alongside a system notification. Soul fusion technique. Patry's eyes instantly contract in absolute shock. Is this some kind of joke? Out of the eerie light, a figure shoots forward at terrifying speed. Patry gasps in horror as her weapon is grabbed tight by a pair of powerful hands. It is indeed Harris, but now her face is shrouded in dark shadow, with glowing purple eyes. Patry can't help but panic, wondering how Harris could still be alive when she was supposed to be dead. Just watch closely, this is where everything completely shifts. Staring at this powerful new form radiating suffocating bloodlust, Patry panics, wondering what kind of magic is unfolding before her eyes. Suddenly, Patry is blasted back in shock. She realizes her opponent's power has just skyrocketed 10 times over in a split second. Jiden recalls the exact moment Harris promised to follow him, even knowing he wasn't Saza. She has become his true partner, unlocking this incredible fusion ability. Patry falls to the ground, trembling as she stares at the two of them, crying out in absolute terror. Trembling, Patry asks who he is. Genin just smirks smugly, mockingly telling her that he won't let anyone kill his partner that easily. He adds that this shouldn't surprise her at all. Or is it because your master Saza couldn't pull that off? Patry grits her teeth in fury. She refuses to fall into another trap. To test Harris's true strength, she summons a massive, glowing red dragon soul. The beast roars, shaking the entire area and unleashing crushing pressure. Seeing her opponent stand in complete silence, Patry mocks them coldly. Are you giving up without a fight? Looks like you don't even have the energy to strike back anymore. The giant dragon charges with a destructive blow, but a glowing blue barrier instantly wraps around Genin and Hera's, completely blocking the attack. A massive explosion erupts as the dragon smashes head-on into the solid defense shield. Inside the barrier, Genin stands completely unfazed. Even though the wound on his chest is still bleeding, a defiant smile plays on his lips. Well, do you still want to keep going? If so, just give me a second. Suddenly, Genshin and Harris dissolve into glowing blue particles and vanish completely, leaving Patry in total shock. Before she can wonder if their soul magic was absorbed, a deep blue energy tears through the ground, blasting her far away. She stares in horror through the rising dust, where a majestic figure slowly emerges in the dark. A bright system notification flashes, confirming that their soul fusion is finally complete. Covered in glowing blue tattoos with powerful beast ears, Genin charges like absolute lightning. Sorry to keep you waiting, he screams, launching a massive, devastating punch directly at her. The sheer force of that impact sends her flying dozens of meters away, ripping up the ground. Patry barely manages to crawl out of the smoking rubble. Looking at his new form, she is terrified. What on earth is that magic, she cries out. Genin casually steps closer, the glowing magical lines on his chest emitting a crushing pressure. Curious, are you? He smirks. Submit to me and become my weapon, he offers, and I might just tell you. That proposal instantly triggers her rage. Patry roars, telling him not to insult her, only a powerful king has the right to wield her. She charges like a maniac, sparking fiery clashes as her red energy collides head-on with his blue aura. Right in the middle of their fierce clash, Genin coldly counters, declaring that her precious king lost to him a long time ago. A heavy strike blasts Patry backward, forcing her to kneel on the ground, gasping for air in absolute rage while cursing his sheer arrogance. Damn it, you know absolutely nothing, she spits out. Gathering all her remaining strength into her claws, she charges at him with pure hatred, screaming that he will pay dearly for his insolence. Faced with that explosive wave of hatred, Genin just stands there, keeping a terrifyingly calm face. You are forcing my hand, he whispers, completely unfazed as her razor-sharp claws stop mere inches from his nose. Looking straight into her eyes, Genin drops a truly brutal truth. Deep down, you already know it. I am far stronger than the legendary Saza you once worshipped. Patry grits her teeth, her glowing red eyes blazing with madness, yet she is helpless. Genin unleashes another overwhelming strike, coldly reminding her that letting anger take over only makes her weak. Patry is deeply bitter, unable to believe she is letting an imposter shake her. Even though she recognizes his immense power, her heart still insists that this guy has absolutely nothing to do with the great demon king, Saza. Can you imagine how brutal that must feel? The duplicate is actually stronger than the real deal. Cornering her, Genin calmly delivers a final chilling ultimatum. Choose now, will you follow me, or are you ready to be destroyed? Struggling to block, Patry desperately wonders who he really is. But a lightning-fast kick suddenly crashes down, bringing her to her knees. In her mind, Saza's noble strength and spirit are heights Genin could never dream of reaching. As she desperately hunts for an opening, Genin just gives her a cold, mocking smirk. Noble spirit, he scoffs. Do you actually believe the most ruthless demon king to ever live was a virtuous saint? Enraged by his words, Patry screams at him to shut up, telling him not to judge her master from a human perspective. Vivid memories of Saza suddenly flood her mind. She remembers how he once refused to stand alongside those who only lived for destruction. He had reached out his hand to her, a creature despised and feared by the entire world, so they could form an alliance. To Patry, Saza was her only guide in the dark. Back in the present, Genin suddenly vanishes, leaving her totally bewildered. Did he really disappear, she wonders, only for him to whisper right behind her that he won't stop until she joins his side. Patry barely has time to curse before a massive impact sends her flying. A violent explosion completely swallows the red-haired warrior. Genin casually steps forward, asking for her final decision. As a magical weapon, Patry was shunned by every race, and Saza was the very first to ever accept her. That is why her absolute loyalty has remained completely unshakable for hundreds of years. Even now, as she lies completely broken at the feet of this new conqueror, Genin silently realizes that Saza's legendary charisma was no joke if he could heal her intense loneliness and earn such unshakable loyalty. Looking down at the trembling red-haired girl, he demands to know if she chooses surrender or defeat. Seeing her pushed to her absolute limits, Genin lets out a triumphant grin. But Patry still refuses to yield. Her eyes blaze with pure hatred as she vows never to surrender to an imposter. Gathering every bit of her remaining strength, she triggers her ultimate dragon soul technique, summoning a colossal red beast. "If I cannot break you from the outside," she screams, "I will destroy you from within." The massive crimson dragon plunges straight into Genon's mind, diving deep into his inner soul world. There, amidst shimmering vortexes of time, Patry is stunned to find herself surrounded by fragments of his past. She witnesses his broken family in the real world, where a raging father screams constantly at his son. She sees young Genon hiding under a blanket, escaping his reality through video games. His toxic father screams at him for wasting his life on gaming, calling him a completely useless disappointment. Deep inside his memories, Genon stares at a screen displaying a brutal defeat. "Even with this gear, I still lost," he thinks. "But I will keep pushing until I finally win." Then Patry witnesses Genon facing off against Saza in the virtual world. She is stunned to realize she has never seen Lord Saza look so incredibly happy before. Could he have actually accepted this imposter? Back in the soul space, Genon asks her coldly if she is finally satisfied, leaving Patry completely speechless with shock. Ren lets out an authoritative roar, completely repelling his opponent's intrusion. "How dare you invade my private space without permission? Get out of here!" A massive surge of pure energy erupts, blasting the red dragon spirit clean out of his body and forcing Patry to her knees. Standing proud, Ren looks down and asks if she finally understands. Patry closes her eyes, reflecting in deep silence for a long moment before finally reaching out to grasp Ren's hand. She proudly declares that since Lord Sa has accepted him and he truly needs her help, she will grant him her ultimate strength. However, her eyes turn razor-sharp and dangerous as she leans close to his face. She warns him that if he ever shows any weakness, regardless of Sa's orders, she will kill him right then and there. Faced with that terrifying threat, Ren stays completely calm, letting out a faint smile. She is not cute at all, he thinks. But as the weapon of the Demon Lord, that attitude actually fits her perfectly. Right then, a bright system notification pops up to confirm the link. Having acquired the weapon, Ren grips the massive greatsword, feeling a surge of raw power run through him as he mutters, "Perfect." The system then drops a crucial piece of lore about this legendary weapon. Patry is the weapon of Demon King Sa, meaning she carries half of the Demon Lord's curse within her very essence. Ren swings the sword in one devastating arc, generating a shocking shockwave that blows away everything in sight to test his new power. He stares at the blade with sheer satisfaction before the soul fusion ends, causing the glowing magic crests on his body to slowly fade. Soft blue light wraps around Ren as he reverts to his human form. Heras joyfully rushes over, throwing her arms around her master from behind while sobbing with relief. "Master, you are safe. Did you actually tame Patry?" After that intense clash to claim Patry as their ally, both Ren and Heras collapse onto the cold ground, completely drained. Ren sighs in exhaustion, admitting he is completely out of juice. Right then, Fumizuki of the Black Moon clan suddenly ambushes them from behind, weapon in hand. Ren instantly leaps up, drawing his blade and demanding to know if she still wants to fight. Fumizuki snaps back, yelling in anger that she is a proud assassin and only came back out of pure curiosity to see how this crazy battle would actually end. Despite her tough words, she looks pretty beat up, with fresh bruises all over her face. She quietly sits down, scribbling in her journal with deep anxiety written all over her. The Demon Lord is growing stronger by the second, making her feel like her mission is slipping away. Meanwhile, Patry has hit her absolute limit, declaring that since she burned through too much energy in this fight, she is transforming back into weapon form right now. With a sudden flash, she transforms back into a glowing greatsword in Ren's hand, strictly warning him to use her with extreme care. Ren calmly sheathes the heavy blade, turns around, and tells Fumizuki to start following him. The proud assassin blinks in absolute confusion, uttering a shocked gasp. Seeing her hesitation, Ren smirks mockingly and asks if there is some kind of problem. "Did you already give up on trying to kill me?" That smug question immediately wounds Fumizuki's pride. She snaps back, telling him to never underestimate her or the Black Moon clan as Ren casually walks ahead. "Then hurry up and keep pace," he tells her. Deep down, Ren is already formulating a long-term plan, knowing that as long as he wears the mantle of the Demon Lord, he must ally with the 7 great clans. The Black Moon clan is one of them. Fumizuki quietly follows him, her eyes filled with deep suspicion as she realizes this new Demon Lord is completely and utterly unpredictable. The party stops at a local inn to rest and fill their empty stomachs. Watching Heras happily devour a massive chicken leg, Ren sits in deep thought, reflecting on the cold nature of this world. He realizes the system is intentionally designed to force other players to hunt him down. To map it out, Ren places 3 different fruits on the table, representing the 3 major power factions. The pear represents the players, the orange is the system, and the red apple is him, the Demon Lord. Ren rests his chin on his hand, staring intensely at the apple as he solidifies his ultimate goal, conquering each clan and reclaiming his full power. He ponders a harsh, undeniable reality. In this brutal game world, every single active player has been assigned the exact same quest: slay the Demon Lord. They are actively hunting for the head of the Demon Lord, eager to strike him down in exchange for massive, generous rewards from the system. Judging by the inherited memories of the previous demon lord, Ren now fully realizes that every player considers him public enemy number one. The system is clearly not on his side. He remembers how all this trouble started back when he first entered the game and ignored the system's guide just to search for Patry. The last time he saw Patry, she was flying northwest, but he chose to march in the exact opposite direction. Instantly, players were dispatched to hunt him down. Now Ren is starting to suspect that the system might be secretly manipulating his every move. It turned him into the Demon Lord, yet it uses other players to wipe him out. Ren wonders if the king mentioned in the quest, Return of the King, really refers to the Demon Lord or someone else entirely. But wait, if his theory is correct, even if he completes the quest, will he actually get to return to reality? Is he just a puppet working for the system with no way home? While lost in these dark, complicated thoughts, Ren overhears whispers from nearby tables about adventurers suddenly showing up and vacuuming up resources all over the region. The number of players gunning for him is rising at a terrifying rate, forcing Ren to devise a counter-strategy immediately. Meanwhile, the tavern crowd is buzzing with gossip about a legendary treasure everyone desires. They whisper about joining various exploration expeditions to get a solid cut of the loot, complete with great pay and generous compensation even without active quests. Tempting offers and loud questions about where to sign up echo all around the lively inn. Ren lets out a dry smirk, seeing right through their scheme. He knows these opportunists all too well from his gaming days back in his old world. In reality, it is a clever trap to force everyone to join or risk being left with nothing. Ren calculates in silence, knowing he must finish his quest quickly before these factions grow too large and threaten the 7 great clans. He abruptly stands up, telling Harris it is time to go. Watching from behind, Fumizuki notices his expression instantly shift the moment he overheard the news about the players. She silently wonders if he views these newly arrived adventurers as a threat, and whether she can somehow exploit this situation to her own advantage. Following their map, the group ventures deeper into the ancient elven forest. The surrounding atmosphere is eerie and dead silent, with absolutely no signs of life anywhere. Standing beneath the gloomy, towering trees, Harris cannot help but voice her growing doubts. It is way too quiet. Where did all the elves go, she wonders. Fumizuki leaps onto a high branch to scan the area, spotting remnants of a brutal battle, but she quickly notices something far more bizarre. No, this is not just combat damage, is this corruption? Staring at the rotting, blackened flora at the base of the tree, she wonders in shock if those terrifying rumors are actually true. Meanwhile, Ren seems strangely fascinated by the sight of the elven tree of life being smothered by a sinister, dark energy. Without a second thought, he orders the group to march straight ahead and investigate. Suddenly, elven warriors emerge from the dense tree canopy, drawing their bows and aiming directly at the group. An arrow rips through the air toward them at blinding speed, and Fumizuki immediately calculates the trajectory of the oncoming attack. I can see the arrow's trajectory. She hesitates for a split second, realizing her position. If she dodges now, the projectile will fly straight into the Demon Lord. In an instant, the arrow pierces Ren, shocking everyone. Taking a direct hit, Ren loses his balance and plummets from the branch, making Hera scream out in absolute panic. Fumizuki watches him fall in utter shock, unable to believe that a powerhouse like the Demon Lord could be taken down so easily. The elves are equally panicked when they realize they just shot a human, rushing to inform their tribe. However, spotting a mysterious smirk on Ren's face as he grabs the arrow, Fumizuki instantly grows highly suspicious. Was that smirk a sign that he deliberately used her as a decoy? The elves launch a fierce barrage of fireballs and arrows, forcing Fumizuki to struggle to parry with her daggers. While Harris frantically checks his wound, Ren gently presses a finger to his lips, gesturing for silence as he reveals his master plan. Calm down. This is just a setup to lure the elves out into the open. Fumizuki immediately leaps into the clash against the elven warriors, unleashing a devastating kick that sends her opponent flying. Working in perfect sync, the elves shout to command the winds, telling each other to focus on the enemy first. Another one quickly replies while leaping through the ancient trees, searching for the perfect angle to strike. Surrounded on all sides, Fumizuki silently realizes that these nature-wielding elves are going to be a pretty troublesome opponent to deal with. One of them unleashes a blazing fire attack, cornering her. But right in the heat of the tense battle, Jinan suddenly appears behind an exhausted elven warrior, offering a friendly, reassuring smile and a very casual greeting. Sorry for the rough welcome. By the way, are you guys the only ones here? What exactly happened to the rest of your people? The startled elf spins around and hesitantly replies that they do not have to tell him anything, but it is no secret that they are the last surviving elves. Hearing this, Jinan smiles inside, realizing this is exactly what he needs. If I help them, I can complete my quest immediately. Still, he cannot help but wonder what could have driven these usually peaceful elves to become so consumed by pure rage. Jinan steps up with a sincere offer, saying he can help if they allow it. The skeptical elf repeats his words, confused by the gesture, while the violent clash between Fumizuki and the other elves continues to rage nearby. An elven warrior roars that this ends now and rushes forward to deliver a decisive blow. But right at the critical moment, Jinan screams out, "Wait!" A glowing red sword strike cuts through the battlefield, shaking the ground and halting the fight. Annoyed by the interference, Fumizuki snaps angrily, asking what the hell he is doing and warning him to stay out of her way. Jinan spreads his arms wide, trying to diffuse the heavy tension. Come on now, there is clearly a misunderstanding here. Why do we not all just sit down and talk this out? But his peace offering is met with pure outrage from the elven warrior, who demands to know what good talking will do. He shouts that their entire race was left to rot simply because not a single soul came to save them. Watching from a high tree branch, Fumizuki quietly ponders. She had heard rumors about the elves being isolated and desperate, but does the Demon King actually intend to help them? Another elf looks down from above, asking with deep suspicion if he really wants to help them. Jenin raises his head, offering a sincere smile as he confirms that he does. The elf continues bitterly, his voice dripping with resentment as he warns that others had made the exact same promises in the past, only to break their word and leave them betrayed. Suddenly, Fumizuki senses an incredibly powerful murderous intent rapidly closing in on them. Wait, look at the ground below! That bizarre pitch-black liquid is constantly spreading and swallowing up absolutely everything in its path, heralding the arrival of something truly horrific. Terrified, Fumizuki yells a warning to get up into the trees immediately. Just then, a colossal entity suddenly manifests, slamming its heavy foot down right next to them and shaking the entire forest. With their lives hanging in the balance, the elf looks directly at Jinan and declares that if they can somehow survive and escape this place, then perhaps they will give him one more chance to earn their trust. Meanwhile, Demon King Fumizuki silently hopes he can prove his capabilities, praying that he actually has what it takes to succeed here. Suddenly, a powerful sweeping strike lunges from the shadows directly at Herat. Shouting in panic for her to be careful, Jenin instantly draws his sword, pouring his power into blocking the beast's attack in a split second. Stunned, Jinan stares at his sword Patri, which is now enveloped in a strange purple aura. Wondering what this creepy glow is, even Patri in weapon form cries out in complete discomfort. Saying that something weird is sticking to its body, Jenin wastes no time and yells for them to move. He and Herat dive headfirst into the fight, while the elves unleash a barrage of fire and water magic. Declaring he won't let them escape, Jenin defends against the onslaught while analyzing the situation. He wonders if that strange liquid came from a monster, as Patri can feel something deeply unnatural about it. This is clearly no ordinary physical attack. The massive entity towering over them is actually a fallen elf, a terrifying skeletal monster bearing long horns and dripping with pure vengeful energy. Amidst the chaos, an elven warrior begins recounting their tragic past. 100 years ago, during the war between gods and demons, the sacred spirit tree that held their entire faith was brutally cut down by angels. Stripped of their life source, the elves were completely weakened. Without the sacred tree, they lost their magic and were banished from their very own home. The tragedy only worsened when they were captured as slaves. Yet, even in their darkest hours under chains, they still desperately held onto a tiny glimmer of hope for a better future. Thanks to their relentless efforts, a tiny sprout of the sacred tree began to grow, but the angels returned to crush their final hope. They mocked them, laughing that they used to be so numerous, yet now only a miserable few remain. How pathetic to see the proud elven race running away like rats, though it is hardly surprising. In the eyes of the angels, the elves are nothing but an inferior race. A cruel angel crushed their new sprout, mocking them for worshipping a mere tree. Driven to absolute despair and rage, the elven elder decided to sacrifice everything to fight back. And so their elder used a forbidden rotting technique to retaliate. He transformed into a fallen elf, gaining monstrous power to slaughter their enemies, but the price he had to pay was devastatingly high. Fallen elf obtains immense strength, but at the cost of their sanity. Over time, their once greatest warriors turned into mindless beasts, driven only by an endless hunger to devour all life. Although their enemies were forced to retreat, those who fell can never return to their original forms. Witnessing this tragedy, Jinan grits his teeth as the grim reality sets in. So the real enemy is actually the angels, meaning we shouldn't be fighting each other. Jenin is shocked to realize the angels behave completely differently from what he remembers back when he played the game. Jinan swings his sword to block the fallen elf's heavy attack. He quickly calculates that if these are indeed the last surviving elves, and the remaining sane ones finally give up, does that mean he has successfully conquered their race? Just then, the elven warrior pleads desperately, begging that if he truly wishes to help them, he must save the fallen ones as well. They are still our family. Seeing their desperate situation, Fumizuki senses a bitter similarity to her own Black Moon clan, who also suffered when they failed to save their comrades, though these elves have it far worse. Standing before the Demon King, the surviving elves are still filled with deep suspicion, wondering how they could possibly trust a conqueror who suddenly offers to help them. Fumizuki scoffs with a cold smile, calling their desperate struggle completely pointless. She tells Saga that from the very beginning, there was absolutely no way to salvage these corrupted fallen souls. Without warning, the elven monster wildly thrashes its massive wooden tentacles, sending the panicked crowd fleeing. A young elven warrior gathers all his strength, using wind magic to block the powerful sweeping strikes. Even as they struggle to chop down the grotesque wooden limbs, the sinister purple energy continues to spread, completely overwhelming the elves' natural elemental powers. Just as a massive branch crashes down in a life-or-death moment, Saga suddenly leaps in. He grabs two of the elven warriors, pulling them clear of the danger zone to land safely. Saga silently realizes that the game system is intentionally trying to block him, but there is no way he lets it control him anymore. He knows that saving everyone while earning the trust of the elven race will be an extreme challenge, forcing him to push past his absolute limits. As the fallen elves lumber forward, Saga stands firm. Even as the terrified elven warriors shake, claiming that these are monsters not even the angels themselves could defeat, his resolve does not waver. Charging headfirst into the chaotic battle, Jinan swings his glowing sword and proudly makes his declaration. This is absolutely perfect, since I am a demon king, way stronger than any angel. He lands right in the middle of the horde, ready to face the roaring fallen spirits surrounding him, gripping his massive greatsword tight. Ren quietly speaks to the soul inside him, telling Patry he is counting on her. Their attacks are highly dangerous, so she must keep him safe. Patry immediately replies with absolute confidence. Are you seriously doubting me? Right after, a blazing red sword light cleaves through waves of monsters in an instant. Ren unleashes a flurry of rapid slashes, leaving the beasts with absolutely no room to react. Watching from afar, her anxiously begs her master to try harder, but an elf warrior next to her coldly claims that he will never make it. Her asks in sheer shock what he means by that, but the warrior just coldly tells her to watch. You can practically feel the dread in the air as her eyes widen in absolute terror. She gasps in absolute disbelief. Instead of falling from those deep wounds, the mutated beast begins sprouting a mass of grotesque arms wrapped in a dark purple aura. A system screen pops up, warning him that the enemy now has total physical immunity. Ren looks at the looming six-armed giant and just smirks. Physical immunity, is it? Right then, the screen flashes red, fully unlocking his Demon King abilities. With only 5 seconds left on the clock, Ren drops into a low stance, his eyes blazing with fury. Let's see how you handle this. He pours all his energy into activating his White Bone Hell skill. Massive bone spikes erupt from the ground at a terrifying speed, completely impaling the fallen spirit monster. The beast lets out an agonizing, blood-curdling shriek as the spikes tear right through its flesh. Stunned by this overwhelming display of raw power, the elf warriors can only stare in absolute awe. It is unbelievable. He easily defeated a nightmare that even the high angels could not even scratch. Is this really the true power of a demon king? Standing right in the center of the battlefield, Ren smirks with total confidence. Someone like me? A fight like this is nothing but child's play. Though honestly, I might have gone a little bit too far this time, but his smug grin instantly vanishes as a wave of pure chilling bloodlust erupts directly behind his back. Frantic system alerts flash red, warning him of a terrifying new threat called the Super Fallen Spirit. The monster is not dead, and here's where the real trouble begins. It absorbs surrounding energy, evolving into a colossal, glowing purple nightmare. Ren realizes a horrifying truth. His guard was down, and they planned this exact moment to strike. Creeping up silently from behind, Fumizuki wears a highly sinister smile. She targets him, confident that this is her ultimate chance, since he knows nothing about the ancient legend passed down for centuries. She swings her blades to assassinate him, but Ren quickly reacts, throwing a powerful kick that forces her back. If you want to play around, wait your turn over in the corner. Even after getting blown back, Fumizuki keeps her calculating smile, reminding him that the Black Moon clan is exceptionally skilled at using illusions. She then reveals a chilling secret. Legend says these fallen spirits are actually immortal, capable of absorbing all surrounding life and mana to piece themselves back together. Suddenly, a surge of dark purple energy erupts. It binds Ren's arm in a vice grip. Fumizuki coldly tells him that this is where they say their final goodbyes. As the dark aura begins swallowing Ren whole, her screams out for her master in absolute terrified panic. The remaining elf warriors yell out to stop anyone else from approaching, convinced that getting close to that fallen entity means instant death. Among them, Klein completely loses his will to fight. He wonders if even a mighty demon king is completely powerless against this terrifying curse. Right then, a highly mocking voice echoes in Ren's head, laughing that both the real and fake demon kings are nothing but pathetic frauds. Drowning in total despair, Klein lets go of his weapon and accepts his grim fate. If nothing else works, then this is it. He looks up at the massive fallen beast towering over him. Klein whispers about returning to the Eternal Realm, completely ignoring his comrades, desperately screaming for him to not give up. From afar, a pair of eyes watches closely. Fumizuki quietly watches the tragedy unfold while painful memories flood Klein's mind. Losing his home, his family, and his comrades makes him truly believe that living a lonely life is simply no longer worth it. Closing his eyes, Klein lets out a small, relieved smile. Finally, he can reunite with his fallen comrades. Just as the giant hand swings down to crush him, Ren suddenly flashes in like a ghost, telling him that giving up on life now is way too early. Using his bare hands, he stops the colossal attack dead in its tracks, saving Klein in the absolute nick of time. Ren looks down at the shocked elf warrior with a highly confident grin, telling him to survive. Throwing away the life your parents gave you is a sin. Seeing her master completely unharmed, her squeals with joy, celebrating his safety. Ren casually turns around to tease the overly anxious tiger girl, telling her that she really needs to start having a little more faith in him. Witnessing Ren's terrifying power and determination, Fumizuki realizes in shock that all the intel she gathered about the Demon King being incredibly weak was completely wrong. In response to the assassin's stunned expression, Ren casually replies with a shrug, saying who knows. Still heavily shaken, Klein trembles as he asks what Ren just did, wondering if there is still any hope left of saving their fallen comrades. Ren grabs Klein to calm him down, telling him to ask one question at a time. While Klein keeps apologizing, Ren quietly wonders about the true identity of this elf. Klein stammers that he was only trying to find a way to save his people. Right then, Fumizuki suddenly lunges from behind, swinging a pair of razor-sharp daggers. She is stunned that the Demon King is still breathing, determined to kill him to complete her mission of freeing the Black Moon clan from the angels. Sensing her intent, Ren effortlessly dodges her strike, casually offering both good and bad news. He asks which one they want to hear first. Klein quickly votes for the good news while the other elves hesitate. Landing heavily on the ground, Ren announces that the good news is their race is going to be saved. The elves anxiously ask what the bad news is. With a heavy sigh, Ren reveals the brutal truth that those who have already fallen can never be brought back to life. Hearing this, Klein and his comrades completely break down. Regretting his past rudeness, Klein falls to his knees, drawing a dagger to end his own life to make amends. Her quickly rushes in to physically stop him from doing it. She promises him that her master is not a cold-blooded monster. Ren silently begins walking away, asking if that is really how they view him. Seeing Klein still filled with suicidal despair, Ren turns back with a sharp, piercing gaze. He asks if they know why these fallen spirits are physically incapable of dying. Another elf bitterly points out that both magic and swords are completely useless against them, which is obvious to everyone. Sighing with deep frustration, Ren puts his hand to his forehead. Suddenly, he swings his sword and slashes Klein, making him scream in sudden pain. To the absolutely shocked crowd of elves, he coldly explains that this is actually clear proof that these fallen creatures possess super-fast regeneration. Klein quickly begs for forgiveness for offending him, but Ren tells him to start using his brain instead of just talking. He points directly toward a massive ancient tree wrapped in writhing tentacles, signaling for them to observe it closely. The kneeling elves are entirely confused, failing to see how this connects to their grim situation. They begin to wonder if there is some hidden secret buried deep inside the bodies of these fallen creatures that they have never known about. Stepping casually into the pitch-black core wrapped in creepy roots, Ren is confident he spotted something highly unusual inside their bodies. Going deeper, he asks his sword, Patri, if she is all right. In stark contrast to the dark exterior, the space inside the tree core is surprisingly peaceful and feels quite nice. Ren begins searching around for clues to save the elves, suddenly letting out a triumphant laugh as the pieces finally fall into place. Finding exactly what he needs, Ren flashes a broad, confident smile, knowing this will play a key role in his upcoming plans. An elf suddenly realizes with shock that the Tree of Life itself has been silently protecting them all along. That explains why their regeneration is working so incredibly fast. Standing before the elven tribe, Ren makes a bold declaration to save them. They only have two choices: either revive the Tree of Life or destroy it completely. Hearing that their source of life must be destroyed, an elven warrior screams in pure outrage, demanding to know why they must destroy the very thing protecting them all. I will never allow this. Ren remains completely calm, staring straight at the warrior and replying with a freezing tone. You need to look at our actual situation before talking. Just then, another worried elf speaks up. Demon King, can you explain why you are targeting the Tree of Life? Heras quietly ponders his master's logic, realizing that the Tree of Life is capable of healing the fallen elves. So if we destroy the Tree of Life, those fallen elves will automatically weaken, right? Is that the correct logic? Ren nods in approval at his servant's reasoning and decides to explain further. They won't just weaken, their regeneration will completely vanish. In the battle against these fallen elves, we just need to keep our distance. He emphasizes that if they purify them with holy magic afterward, they can erase these corrupted entities for good. The stunned elves wonder if this is actually their salvation. Overwhelmed with despair, one of the warriors loses control of his emotions, conjuring a blazing fireball in his hand and charging forward in absolute desperation. If that is the case, kill me first. Ren swiftly dodges the reckless attack, shouting at him to stop jumping to conclusions and to quit throwing his life away so foolishly. Ren glares deeply at his opponent, his eyes radiating pure pressure, warning him that his life will lose all meaning if he keeps this up. Life is not something to be wasted. Instantly, he slams his foot down, pinning the elf to the ground, leaving him utterly helpless and trembling in sheer terror. Standing over the defeated warrior, Ren coldly declares that sometimes, life and death can be reversed. Face to face with this hopeful offer, the stunned elves ask if he truly means they can bring their fallen comrades back. Ren quietly calculates his own benefits, but seeing their desperate sincerity, he nods in confirmation anyway. Instantly, the elven warriors fall to their knees, swearing before the Tree of Life that they will serve him forever. The system interface alerts him that the elven tribe obedience rate has reached 2%, bringing a satisfied smile to Ren's face. He confidently announces that he has already formulated a plan. Right then, hideous fallen elven beasts begin surging from the depths of the forest. Ren calmly watches them approach before turning to the elves, asking if they have decided who will be the one to fall. A brave warrior steps forward, firmly pushing his comrades behind him to take the lead. Ren smirks, ordering him to resist with everything he has to buy time, as he wants to carefully analyze exactly how this corruption process unfolds. Though trembling with fear, the elven warrior tells himself that he just needs to hold on. Screaming for the pride of the elves, he recklessly throws himself straight into the jaws of death. Suddenly, pitch-black tentacles shoot out from the Tree of Life, wrapping tightly around his body. A heartbreaking scream echoes as an eerie dark energy completely engulfs him, beginning the gruesome corruption of his soul. Watching the elven warrior get swallowed by the dark aura, Fuvazuki scoffs, calling him a complete fool for sacrificing his life. She asks if he thinks dying for his comrades is nothing but stupidity. After all, he cannot actually save his comrades, right? She turns to glare at Ren with suspicious eyes, demanding to know if he ever truly intended to save any of them from the start. What is your actual goal here? Ren merely smirks with mystery, asking if she has ever heard that man proposes but God disposes. Suddenly, a massive tremor shakes the area, leaving Fumizuki in utter shock. What on earth is that? Talk about perfect timing. A giant branch suddenly crashes down with immense power, and Ren smiles, knowing the star of the show has finally arrived. Right ahead of them, the elven warrior screams in agonizing pain as a dark purple aura slowly invades and corrodes his face. Wasting no time, Ren draws his blade and flashes forward like a phantom to interrupt the transformation. Ren unleashes a razor-sharp strike, severing the tentacles binding the warrior, but deep down, he suddenly realizes a cruel truth. It seems anyone outside the elven race cannot receive the blessing of the Tree of Life. Staring at this critical situation as the dark energy thickens, Ren makes a final decision, declaring that he has no choice left but to do this. Instantly, the system triggers the soul fusion technique, causing a deep blue energy to erupt and completely wrap around his body. Ren closes his eyes, letting the tree roots bind him into a massive cocoon, calmly thinking that this will all be over soon. Moments later, he stands tall before the colossal ancient tree which radiates suffocating pressure. An authoritative and furious voice from the Tree of Life itself echoes across the entire forest, demanding the non-elf intruder to leave immediately. Up from the high branches, hideous fallen elves with skeletal faces slowly crawl out, glaring down at the intruder with glowing, hateful eyes. This massive horde of corrupted beasts leaps down in unison, surrounding the lone demon king in the deep forest. They roar like beasts, unleashing a dense purple aura to swallow Ren, ready to rip apart anyone defying the holy tree. Ren mutters that these fallen creatures seem to have made themselves quite comfortable here. Despite activating his soul fusion technique, Ren still senses that something is off. He swings his blade, blazing with a red aura, to strike down a fallen elf, but questions himself in confusion. Why can he not feel any elven power flowing inside him? Right then, bizarre purple tentacles suddenly lash out, wrapping around his body from all angles and trapping him completely in place. Ren can only grit his teeth and endure as the hideous fallen elves relentlessly swarm down from the canopy. At this critical life-or-death moment, a massive burst of fiery energy erupts and covers his body. And here is the best part: the system immediately announces the completion of the Demon King's exclusive weapon. Ren now radiates a blazing pressure, but a mysterious voice mocks him, asking how he plans to fight Patry. The entity resting inside his blade threatens him, warning that if he has no other moves left, she will take his body for herself. Suddenly, the Tree of Life speaks, shocking Ren as a bolt of golden energy crashes down and makes him scream in pain. He looks at the golden electricity crackling around his body, wondering if Patry caused this damage. However, a powerful voice from the shadows quickly denies it, stating that she has not attacked him at all. Ren snaps back, asking who would attack without showing their face. Enveloped in a glowing golden light, Ren asks what this energy is. He quickly realizes the truth: the Tree of Life just forced him to attack the fallen elves. Have they possessed his body? Instantly, a golden magic circle manifests, trapping his enemies as the system announces that the Tree of Life is sharing attack damage. The dark entity representing the holy roots declares its absolute control over life. I rule over all life. Ren smirks wickedly, his glowing eyes seeing right through his opponent as he scoffs that they do not look like a Tree of Life at all. Do you honestly think I will be intimidated just because you hit me? Ren roars in excitement, calling out to Patry that they are mocking her too, urging her to teach them a lesson. With one brilliant crimson slash, he cuts down a horde of fallen elves in an instant. I bring salvation through absolute destruction, while you bring death in exchange for temporary salvation. Let's see whose path wins out, your fake salvation or my ultimate destruction. Time to end this. Ren laughs like a maniac as blazing flames wrap around his entire body. Just then, an authoritative voice from the Tree of Life echoes through the dark smoke. Outsider, I understand your demand. If you protect the elven tribe, I can bestow my ancient power upon you. But Ren merely scoffs, replying that looking at the situations, he has absolutely no need for that power. Offended, the holy tree roars in anger, calling him rude and asking if he wants to die, but Ren casually responds with a smirk. What, are you going to use me as fertilizer? Meanwhile, the fallen beasts are dragged across the ground by purple tentacles as the Tree of Life questions his methods, asking if this is his idea of helping. At this rate, you really could wipe out everyone here with just a single blow. Ignoring the warning, Genin swings his sword to unleash a massive arc of crimson energy, ready to tear through any obstacle. Even with thick tree roots binding his body, he forces his blade deep into the trunk and begins to calmly analyze the situation. I have been wondering this whole time why the elf race fell so low if it was just because of the rot. If it is not decay, then those damn angels must have had a hand in it. Either way, whoever is to blame, we need to deal with the fallout first. He states with absolute determination. If that is true, then I am the only one who can save the elves. They might have started as fallen spirits, but with your revival, a completely new form of life has officially been born. As you already know, this new life is affecting everything nearby. These fallen entities stand completely still in the dark, releasing a thick purple mist of pure malice that slowly blankets the entire forest. The sacred tree speaks up, claiming its influence is far greater than Genin ever imagined. Massive purple tentacles wrap tightly around him, but from within the thick black smoke, Genin still defiantly replies, "You are only partly right, and I am not giving up yet." He unleashes his fiery energy at full power, shouting back a defiant challenge. Let us just see which one of us will actually be the savior of the elf race. From a distance, Herat and Fumizuki anxiously watch everything from a high tree branch. Herat panics as she sees her master go inside and immediately return, but things quickly go south when the fallen spirits suddenly lock onto their location. Fumizuki is just as shocked, completely unable to make sense of what is happening right now. Surrounded by enemies, Herat takes a stance and screams, "We have to do something." A swarm of fallen spirits looms closer, trapping the two girls on the ancient branch, but suddenly a brilliant flash of light erupts and rips through the night. Genin steps out from the glowing light, surrounded by a swirling dark purple aura. He mutters to himself that it seems to have succeeded. Seeing their master return, Herat and Fumizuki rush over to ask, "Master, are you alright? Can you run?" But the only response to their deep concern is Genin laughing like a complete maniac, shouting that he finally did it. Herat freezes in shock as she feels a bizarre, terrifying energy radiating from the master she deeply respects. Realizing something is terribly wrong, Herat furiously points her finger and demands, "Who are you? Return our master to us this instant." The imposter wearing Genin's face smirks, letting out a sinister laugh as he speaks in a strange voice. Now, that is not true. An authoritative voice echoes out, declaring that his soul now belongs entirely to the Tree of Life and the fallen spirits. He laughs arrogantly as a massive pillar of light shoots straight up into the sky, releasing a crushing pressure that completely swallows the forest. The exploding energy unleashes columns of thick white smoke that cover everything. Standing among the ruins, Herat can only call out to her master in absolute shock and despair as she witnesses the horrifying scene unfolding right before her eyes. Oh man, is Genin's soul actually trapped inside that tree? Let us jump back 5 minutes, where he is tightly wrapped by purple tentacles, unable to move a muscle. Sahar stands there with a triumphant look, casually revealing that he used a fusion technique to combine the Tree of Life with the power of Rot. Sensing the danger, Genin grits his teeth and demands an answer. "I cannot move anymore, so what is your actual plan?" Sahar steps closer with a sinister smile and delivers his final ultimatum. "Are you ready to hand this body over to me?" Facing the threat, Genin remains completely calm and defiant. "So you finally decided to show yourself? It is not that I am stingy, but you simply do not have what it takes to control this body." Sahar glares at him with blood-red, murderous eyes, growling that he is as arrogant as ever. "I see, but that only makes you far more worthy of becoming my next vessel." A massive blast of energy erupts as their two souls violently clash. Genin smirks calculatingly. "There is no point reasoning with you, so I will let the angels deal with you. Now that it is just the two of us, let us take our time." Meanwhile, back in reality, the entity holding the Demon King's soul hovers in midair and quietly admits that taking over this body was never going to be an easy task. Down on the ground, Herat and Fumizuki struggle against the overwhelming purple dark energy. Herat calls out to her master in worry, but suddenly freezes as she catches a strange scent drifting on the wind. Wait, this scent. Right after that, a massive army of angels suddenly appears and tears through the night sky. Herat gasps in shock. "The angel clan? Why are you guys here?" A mysterious cloaked figure steps forward, praising Fumizuki Yanagi for a job well done. Herat turns to the assassin in absolute shock, her eyes burning with rage as the bitter truth finally clicks. "Were you following me all this time just to act as one of Lady Ben's pawns?" Fumizuki keeps her head down, staying silent. Unable to hold back her fury, Herat charges forward to settle the score. But Montes, the cloaked figure, is one step ahead. He unleashes a burst of purple magic and coldly warns, "Watch your tongue in the presence of Lady Ben." Herat is blown back, collapsing onto the ground with severe wounds as blood drips from her mouth. Tears well up in her eyes as she glares at the ones who betrayed her, swearing she will never forgive Montes or Fumizuki for what they did. Finding out the truth now must have been a massive shock. Fumizuki bitterly admits that nobody can ever hope to defeat the Angel Clan. She feels highly frustrated that she could not defeat the Demon King with her own hands. Just then, A high-ranking female angel appears with a smug grin, mocking how quickly the game ended, but admitting that letting someone else hold the Tree of Life is too much trouble. Raising her hand, Lady Ben calmly declares that everything ends here. Fumizuki drops to her knees, desperately begging her to fulfill the promise of resurrecting her executed comrades. In response to those desperate pleas, Lady Ben simply smiles and casually says, I just do not feel like doing that anymore. Fumizuki is stunned by this shameless betrayal, realizing deep down she always had a bad feeling about this. Treating her complaints like annoying white noise, Lady Ben unleashes a powerful blast that sends her flying. Fumizuki is left completely broken as Lady Ben enjoys the quiet. Getting ready to leave with Montes, she orders Montes to clear the battlefield because she cannot stand staying in this smelly place any longer. Instantly, a massive magic circle from the Angel Clan forms in the sky, ready to rain down their final, devastating judgment. Hiding behind a tree, Fumizuki watches in horror as the divine beam crashes down like a giant pillar of fire, incinerating the entire forest in a flash. Once the blinding light fades, she stares into the ruins and screams for the Demon King to stop playing dead. Wait, so he was just playing hide-and-seek this whole time? Suddenly, the blackened roots shake violently amidst the dark energy surging from the Tree of Life, and Jinin steps out, looking completely unfazed. Fumizuki can only call out to the Demon King in utter shock, while Jinin smirks and notes that everyone is still breathing. He quickly warns them to start running because the angels are not done attacking yet. Another destructive beam of light rains down from above, turning the surrounding area into ashes. Jinin looks at the angels with a sinister smirk, casually saying this massive attack is nothing more than fertilizer for the rotting tree. Reaching out, he gathers energy and loudly declares that he will siphon power from these angels to fully restore the elf race. Right away, creepy roots surge up from the ground and trap the angel soldiers, giving them barely enough time to scream in agony before being dragged down into the darkness. Standing in the forest among glowing blue soul cocoons, Jinin suddenly senses another presence right behind him. An angel soldier is covered in a brilliant golden glow, making Fumizuki mistakenly think he is transforming into an elf. But looking through the cold eyes of the Demon King, Jinin confirms this is no elf, but rather a miserable creature undergoing a highly painful transformation. Is he falling just like the other spirits did? Total chaos breaks out as the angels start turning on each other in a frenzy. The mutating soldier is bound by roots, screaming in absolute agony as his soul is ripped to shreds. Jen looks straight at the scene with a triumphant smile, declaring that this is finally the true form of a fallen spirit. He boldly declares he will absorb every drop of their blood to turn it into boundless power for himself. The battle erupts instantly as sharp wooden stakes burst from the ground, impaling an angel soldier before he can even utter a single sound. Standing silently among the ruins, Montes mutters, calculating, "Is that actually the Tree of Life?" Instantly, Jen plunges from above like lightning, swinging his sword with a loud shout, "You don't need to know, you'll end up just like the rest of them soon." Jin pours all his power into the glowing red strike, but Montes quickly blocks it with his pitch-black wings. He smirks. Jen knows too much. Jen doesn't flinch at all, coldly firing back and asking if Montes is just another cunning opportunist. Memories of the past flood Jen's mind, back when everyone was fighting like crazy. Montes was the only coward who surrendered to save his own skin. He has always been a master manipulator, playing every side for profit. And, honestly, dealing with a guy like this makes my skin crawl too. Montes claps his hands in smug satisfaction, admitting that Jen is still a step ahead. They purposely leaked information just to lure the daughter of the Yanagi clan into a trap. In the background, Fumizuki is struggling hard, surrounded by a swarm of angel soldiers. Meanwhile, creepy tree roots keep impaling other angels, draining their energy to bring the Tree of Life back to life. Jen steps in front of Fumizuki, glaring at Montes with pure disgust before demanding to know when he started manipulating the Yanagi clan, and why on earth the Tree of Life is supporting him. Jen laughs coldly, asking what's the use of explaining anything to a filthy traitor anyway. Montes only responds with a sly smirk, gathering a massive surge of glowing purple magic around himself, while declaring that in that case he'll just split Jen's skull open to check for himself. He soars high into the air, spreading his wings wide as the chaotic, sinister energy begins to tear the entire forest apart. Monty snaps his fingers, activating a dark spell that wraps glowing purple chains tightly around the fallen angel corpses. Jen remains completely calm, warning him not to forget that the Tree of Life can easily revive its allies. But Montes just smiles with pure malice, and trust me, you are not ready for this next twist. What if they aren't actually? Is in utter shock as the impaled angel soldiers stumble back to their feet, their eyes glowing with dead purple magic. Staring at the rising undead army, Jen narrows his eyes. Impressive. Extremely impressive. These guys just won't stay dead like they're possessed by some nine-tailed fox spirit. Montes looks down on Jen with total contempt, mocking him for having such unexpectedly weak power. Instantly, a barrage of glowing red magic circles surrounds Jen, but he stands perfectly still in the chaotic storm of energy. Montes keeps mocking him in disappointment until Jen suddenly appears right behind him, asking where he's aiming. Montes spins around in absolute shock. "You absolute traitor." Jen coldly drives his blade straight through his chest, asking a deeply sarcastic question. He asks if Monty's blood runs red too, before dripping a drop onto the tree of life, declaring this is the proof he wanted. Flashback to moments ago inside the tree, where Jen is tightly bound by roots. He figures he can use soul manipulation, but it's taking much longer than expected. With his quest timer ticking down fast, this situation is turning into a real nightmare. He turns to ask the sacred tree's spirit if it wants revenge. The giant entity suspiciously questions what this outsider is getting at, so Jen begins bringing up its painful past. He asks if the angel race wasn't the one that wiped out its entire kind. As the tree hesitates, Jen confidently asserts that the man standing right in front of it is the only person alive capable of threatening those angels. The tree just laughs mockingly. Ridiculous. If Jen can't even conquer a tree, he has zero chance of ever challenging the angel race. Hearing its doubt, Jen just laughs arrogantly and makes a bold wager, telling the tree to bet on him, because once the angels hear of him, they'll swarm in like starving wolves. Jen lays out his grand plan to use angel blood to purify the sacred tree and make it his forever. Suddenly, a glowing green leaf marks his head as a seal, showing that the ancient entity is finally convinced. It agrees to serve him, as long as their enemies pay in blood to nourish its descendants. Jen begins absorbing its deep green essence, confidently declaring he will borrow a fraction of its power to get to work. With the glowing sprout of life on his head, Jen declares that from now on, the tree of life will follow him like a shadow. Back in reality, Jen looks down at the bleeding Montes with quiet satisfaction. Clutching his chest in agony, Montes looks up in terror as the Demon King approaches. Jen raises his dark blade, coldly decreeing that a cowardly traitor like him has no place left in this world. Jen swings his blade for the final blow. Game over. Montes trembles in absolute despair, looking up with heavy eyes and asking if he has really forgotten him. At his last breath, Montes painfully gasps out the word father before losing consciousness. Both Jen and Fumizuki freeze in absolute shock at this completely unexpected declaration. Jen instantly presses his glowing blade right against the man's throat, mockingly asking if he really just calls an opponent he can't beat father. Montes looks at the cold steel in shock, asking if his father is actually serious. Jen coldly brushes off any potential sympathy. He tells him this pathetic act is getting boring, but then comes the real shocker. Montes insists that Jen forgot he was the one who sent him to infiltrate the angels 100 years ago. This shocking revelation leaves Fumizuki completely gasping in surprise, wondering if it's true. Jen remains deeply skeptical, asking who on earth would believe such a story from someone who switched sides after being defeated. Jen silently realizes that if Montes is telling the truth, it means the old Demon King planned for his own defeat from the start. He demands to know if that Demon King ever believed he'd lose. He demands an explanation. With his man's and mysteriously, Montes replies that he cannot explain it except that he has personally witnessed a prophecy from the Lord himself. The Demon King already knew the ultimate truth of this world, and nobody could ever change it. Stunned, Jen is left wondering what kind of truth Montes is actually talking about. Memories of being sucked into the game flash back, making him question if this is truly just a virtual world or if there is a mysterious link between the game and reality. Watching the angels hovering above, Jen realizes sending Montes undercover actually makes perfect sense if Saw really knew the future beforehand. Covering his face, Jen laughs with wild excitement and heavy skepticism, muttering that while he can understand why the Demon King sent him to infiltrate, he refuses to believe this story is real. He demands solid proof right here and now, telling him to cough up every single detail. Montes narrows his eyes, staring at Jen's sword as he mutters something deeply mysterious. Monty scoffs at the word proof. Instantly, the angels in the sky begin forming a tight perimeter around the group. Montes takes a step back, boldly challenging Jen that if he wants proof, he must pay the price. No warning, her charges forward like a wind-splitting arrow. She unleashes a truly brutal swipe right through his chest, leaving Montes gasping in utter shock. A chaotic battle erupts in the deep forest as her clashes with the powerful angel warriors to carve out a bloody path. Through the rising dust, the heavily wounded Montes still stares at Jen with eyes full of deep reverence. He asks if this is also part of his father's master plan, whispering that he never truly wanted to fight him. Blood spills from his mouth as he mutters with absolute loyalty. He gasps that everything he did was entirely for his father. Monty staggers to his feet, facing Jen's blade head-on without making a single move to run or hide. To verify those vague words once and for all, Jen decisively drives his sword straight through Montes. The man accepts the strike peacefully, whispering that this is the only way to confirm it. Watching this brutal scene unfold right before her eyes, Fumizuki gasps out in pure horror. Jen notices something strange about the complete lack of resistance, silently realizing that his blade has only pierced through the man's physical vessel. Staring at the bizarrely shifting shadow at his feet, Jenin asks coldly, "You have been waiting for this exact moment, haven't you?" A massive shadow entity with glowing eyes suddenly erupts from Monte's shadow, instantly wrapping both Genin and Yanagi Fumizuki in an absolutely suffocating and heavy pressure. Legendary demons are born from darkness, much like the symbiotic link between elves and the Tree of Life, always coexisting and relying on one another. These creatures can easily hide inside shadows, only truly reviving in full power by completely crushing the will of their opponents. Jenin stands tall, facing the massive demon phantom as its incredibly dominant form slowly takes shape right in front of him. Montes firmly claims his power is bound directly to the Demon King's favor, and if abandoned, he can never revive in his father's dark shadow. He offers this painful truth as proof of his absolute loyalty. Seeing his sheer determination, Jenin quietly asks about the real mission he's carrying out. Montes admits he doesn't know the ultimate goal either, simply waiting for orders. Right now, his only task is to protect Jenin from the shadows. Noticing Monty's intense loyalty, Jenin asks if he managed to dig up any valuable intel while staying close to Ben. But he also knows this move will definitely blow Monte's cover, ruining a century of stealth. Montes dismisses the worry completely, suddenly spreading his massive gray wings as a heavy purple energy wraps around his body. He takes off into the sky alone, charging straight into the surrounding army of angels. Watching this insane clash unfold, Jenin can only watch in absolute shock. Dark tentacles suddenly erupt from below, brutally impaling the angel soldiers before they can even react. Seizing the opening, Herat also charges fiercely into the heat of the bloody battle. She lands a powerful kick straight to her opponent's neck, sending black blood spraying everywhere. Montes just smiles mysteriously, claiming this action still isn't enough proof to earn Jenin's complete trust. Seeing Yanagi Fumizuki highly provoked and ready to draw her weapon, Montes warns her not to fight him. But wait, here's where it gets tense. He leans close to Jenin, whispering a massive secret he discovered at Ben's place. Answering Jenin's curiosity, Montes clearly states that Ben is trying to resurrect the previous generation's Heavenly King and Demon King. This shocking revelation completely freezes Yanagi Fumizuki in her tracks. She can't believe her ears. How is that even possible? The Heavenly King's legacy is tied directly to the flow of life and power, meaning a new ruler cannot rise unless the old one is truly dead. The haunting memory of the Demon King saw her standing tall amidst a sea of blood under the golden moon flashes back. It's a brutal law of survival. But Jenin quietly notes that they've already managed to resurrect the Demon King, so bringing back either the Heavenly King or the Demon King is definitely possible. Hearing this, Herat breaks into a cold sweat, stammering in pure disbelief, bringing back Lord Sara. Jenin lets out a knowing smirk. He knows that even though the sacrifice required is absolutely massive, a complete resurrection is indeed possible. He silently recalls how he was brought to this world specifically to serve as a sacrifice for the Demon King's revival. Looking at Montes, Jenin sharply notes Ben doesn't seem like the type to sacrifice herself. Montes nods in agreement. Exactly, Ben would never do that. She already has another perfect pawn lined up for this task. Worried, Yanagi Fumizuki quickly asks who this pawn is and what Ben is really planning. But Montes admits he isn't close enough to dig up such classified secrets from her. Still, with a sinister smile, he drops a crucial hint: a physical body can be restored by the Tree of Life, but resurrecting the soul is another story. Dragging a vanished soul back to life is an insanely difficult task. He explains that the Abyss clan is the only race capable of manipulating souls, meaning the Heavenly King's revival will absolutely require their direct intervention. Jenin is stunned as he realizes the enemy's next dark scheme. Ben is clearly targeting the Abyss clan to bring them back, no matter how impossible it seems. Monty skeptically asks if the Abyss of Time is merely a myth, but Jenin firmly asserts that it's absolutely real. Relying on his memory of the game's map from the sequel, Jenin is convinced that if the two worlds are truly merging, that place must exist. Shivers, recalling the grim legend that the Abyss of Time only opens amidst the weeping of the Abyss clan. Jenin coldly concludes that Ben is planning a brutal raid on the Abyss clan, just like her past massacre of the Soul clan. Montes urges the group to set off immediately. However, Genin orders Montes to stay behind and stall Ben's movements, knowing that any harm to the Abyss clan would spell absolute disaster for their own plans. Montes bows deeply in obedience, thanking him before taking flight. Seeing this, Herat asks anxiously, "Master, shouldn't we head there as well?" But Jenin calmly replies, "Not yet. I still have a little surprise to prepare." He walks over to an elf bound tightly by thick vines and commands, "Wake up." The elf's eyes snap open in shock, feeling a surge of raw, unfamiliar power flowing through his veins. Staring at his hands in disbelief, he mutters, "Wind, light, why do you look like that? Do I look weird?" Jenin silently notes that expanding the clan is no easy task, requiring highly compatible young guardians first. They gather around a glowing green sprout, watching as a continuous stream of pure energy surges from it. Genin quietly recalls the brutal wars the elf clan endured against the savage attacks of the Oros and giant dragons. "Trust me, rebuilding a fallen clan from absolute ruin is infinitely harder and takes far more effort than starting a fresh one." Standing before an elf in beast form, Jenin extends his hand and declares, "This Wind King shall grant you a name." He touches the elf warrior and announces, "From this moment on, your name is Thon." Watching Jenin perform this divine act so effortlessly, the surrounding elves are completely struck with awe. Their leader steps forward to introduce Jenin to a newly returned comrade. "Welcome back. This is the Demon King who saved us." Intrigued, Herat asks how he managed to completely cleanse the decay, but Jenin reveals a shocking truth: "I didn't get rid of it. I simply pumped more power into their bodies, allowing them to coexist with the rot." Worried, Herat asks if this will trigger any side effects, but Jenin just smirks. "Is that a problem?" If anything, the side effect will only make them stronger. Instantly, the system screen flashes, showing the elf rescue progress at 4 of 7 and urging him to claim his reward. Jenin smirks, glad he dodged any penalty despite bypassing the rules. He realizes the system is forcing him into a direct clash with the Angel clan, sparking a bold idea. If converting other races into allies is allowed, then their guardians are the key to everything. This is the exact loophole the system left behind. Standing before the blazing red dark energy, Jinan hardens his resolve: if I cannot defeat the angels, I will simply turn them into my allies instead. His eyes gleam with deep calculation as he notes that in the end, only one person truly understands the Angel clan. Meanwhile, everything is playing out exactly as Montes and Ben planned. Inside her magnificent palace, Ben coldly declares that sacrificing every single elf for the Tree of Life is a perfectly acceptable price to pay to resurrect the Heavenly King. She is even willing to throw away the lives of her own angel soldiers to regain the enemy's trust for her grand ambition. Still, Ben wonders if the abyss of time mentioned by the Demon King actually exists. Montes assures her it is inevitable, and the next move is to let Jinan approach the Abyss clan to open that gateway for them. Staring deeply into Montes, Ben asks if this will truly satisfy both of their desires. Receiving his silent nod of confirmation, she suddenly casts a truth spell. Ben threatens that anyone who dares to lie under its influence will be instantly burned to ashes by divine holy light. Standing before the glowing magic circle, Montes kneels flat on the ground, loudly asserting that he truly wants to help her. Suspicious, Ben asks if he is living for his father the same way she dedicates her entire life to the Heavenly King. Montes cleverly replies that he lives for his father just as he serves her. In a sudden flash of anger, Ben violently whips Montes and orders him to get out of her sight immediately. But she quickly flips her attitude, her face flushing in a bizarre way, admitting she was wrong to doubt his loyalty to Ben in front of the majestic Heavenly King statue, and boldly claiming that absolutely nobody in this world loves him more than she does. Montes quietly walks away with a cold, contemptuous sneer, leaving Ben completely lost in his own world of blind, obsessive worship. Walking through the empty hall, Montes silently promises his father, the Demon King, that he will complete his mission at all costs. Meanwhile, over in the Spirit Forest, a noisy victory party is already kicking off around a massive campfire. Yanagi Fumizuki is completely hyped up. Raising her drink high, she shouts out for everyone to enjoy the night to the absolute fullest before they officially transform into hardened warriors tomorrow. The fierce assassin boldly declares that this is going to be their final showdown, and absolutely nobody can stand in their way. But watching all this wild chaos unfold, Herat chews on a chicken leg and asks Ren if he really plans to fight alongside a total madman like Fumizuki against Ben. The White Tiger even snarls, calling Fumizuki completely insane as she watches her stumble around totally drunk. Face flushed red from all the alcohol, Fumizuki leans in close to Ren, insisting she is permanently bound by the blood oath of the Black Moon clan, meaning her loyalty is absolute. Ren only lets out a soft sigh over how fleeting trust really is, while Herat grumbles that a blood oath proves nothing. But suddenly, Fumizuki's playful eyes turn incredibly cold and sharp. Now look at this, her tone completely shifts here. She warns Ren never to underestimate the blood oath, because her people must obey every command. If they fail, the angels will wipe them out, making this contract their only leverage to get him to negotiate. A panicked Herat quickly tries to stop Fumizuki from saying such bizarre things to her master, forcing Ren to step in and gently calm the tiger girl down. Fumizuki drops to her knees, admitting her assassination mission was a total failure and her tribe can no longer harm him. Ren just smiles, realizing she is completely wasted, looking exactly like Patry did when he first recruited him. He wonders if turning her down would just end up getting her killed right in front of his eyes. Ultimately, Ren makes up his mind, accepts her pledge, and pulls out the Black Moon pledge token he was keeping. Herat looks totally confused, unable to remember seeing this before. Ren quietly points out she missed that exciting moment because she was knocked out cold. Flashback to Fumizuki handing him their tribal symbol as a binding vow. Back in the present, with blood still staining her lips, she proudly declares that this is the absolute ultimate oath of the Black Moon clan. With this token in his hand, Ren holds the power to command her entire clan to carry out any order he wishes, even if that order means throwing their very lives away. Ren tightly grips the token and asks with a teasing smirk, "What if I actually command you to end your own life right now?" Fumizuki only smiles, admitting that after watching him closely, she realizes his rough exterior hides deep, brilliant calculations normal people could never hope to grasp. She genuinely trusts him, knowing he has never once carried out a meaningless slaughter. Ren smirks, mocking his own notorious reputation as a cruel demon king, but Fumizuki looks at him with eyes full of hope, insisting that he is their one and only savior. Walking away in silence, he finds it completely hilarious that a demon king is now someone's beacon of hope, realizing how twisted this world has truly become. Ren catches the stumbling Fumizuki, coldly warning her that he has zero interest in her life, so she better not fall on him. Suddenly, the system detects nearby toxins and activates his blood magic. Looking at her body, which is totally filled with the Black Moon clan signature poison, Ren leans close to the assassin's ear with a dominant smile. Live under my complete control without a single regret, he whispers. Fumizuki freezes, her heart skipping a beat under his overwhelming pressure. Slowly closing her eyes, she silently replies that she is highly looking forward to it. In her mind, he is the greatest demon king of all, someone who never backed down even when hunted by the angels. She realizes her clan is destined to be the shadow that fights right by his side. With iron determination, Fumizuki vows never to back down. Under the brilliant glow of the full moon, she makes a promise: if this world is truly twisted, then she will help him tear it completely to shreds. While he is lost in thought, Herat runs up in a panic, holding a flyer and shouting that they have a huge problem. The paper boldly announces that the old era is dead, and the reign of a new king has officially begun. Right below that is a highly majestic picture of Ren. He calmly takes the flyer, turns to Fumizuki, and asks if she was the one behind this stunt. When she nods, Ren can only click his tongue in annoyance, complaining that next time she should really pick a much cooler angle. Meanwhile, the news of this new king quickly attracts greedy, fame-hungry adventurers. One leader rallies his crowd, shouting that this is their perfect chance to farm some serious experience and take down the Demon King. Meanwhile, a red-haired elf girl is running for her life from a group of aggressive strangers. Cruel shouts echo out, telling them to grab her and chop off her fingers. A gray-haired hunter proudly draws his bow, mockingly yelling that she is way too slow. The elf trips, instantly surrounded by the aggressive thugs laughing in triumph, asking her if she honestly thought someone was coming to save her. A bunch of absolute cowards cornering a defenseless girl. Staring at their prey kneeling on the ground with glowing green marks on her hands, they continue to mock her, asking if she can even move, or if her savior is running a bit too late. But instead of showing fear, her eyes burn with a fierce orange flame. Gritting her teeth, she channels power into her legs, activating a deep blue spiritual energy to prep for a sudden counterattack. An assassin charges in with dual daggers, yelling at her not to be stupid and try to run. Right behind him, another thug swings a heavy axe, roaring that she is completely trapped. The nimble elf dodges both attacks and lands low. Staring straight at her enemies with ice-cold eyes, she calmly tells them that they are actually the ones who cannot escape. Suddenly, multiple shadows drop from the high trees, completely locking down every escape route. The trap is sprung. Even with backup arriving, the gray-haired leader keeps a smug look on his face, claiming it is nothing to worry about. He tells his men to look closer, calling them weaklings. Peering through the weakened status windows of the elves, he scoffs, asking how strong they could possibly be even after being revived by the Tree of Life. He raises a purple potion, laughing maniacally as he threatens to slaughter them all over again, tauntingly asking how they plan to fight once he uses dark magic to weaken them even further. Wait for it, because right here, things take a massive turn. The hunters suddenly freeze as a terrifying horned shadow emerges from the dark, displaying an absolute beastly level of 90. In a panic, the leader hurls the poison bottle and screams for him to die. But as the purple smoke clears, the stranger stands completely untouched, leaving the leader terrified, wondering how he has 0 scratches. Totally losing his mind, he asks what is happening. The Black Moon Warrior immediately counterattacks, pinning him hard to the ground, coldly repeating that he already warned them they were the ones trapped. He looks down at the trembling hunters with absolute disgust, calling them pathetic weaklings. Meanwhile, further away, Ren is casually riding his white tiger Herat, muttering that the idiot will probably show up soon. Running alongside him, Fumizuki confirms that spreading rumors about the weakened elf tribe worked exactly as they had planned. Ren stretches excitedly, declaring their next move is to power up the elves to defeat that woman. Heading towards a towering seaside cliff, a curious Herat asks if they are going to pay the Abyss clan a visit. Ren removes his mask with a grin, noting that if they visit Rugu Palace, they will definitely meet a sea turtle. Hearing this, Fumizuki starts reciting the classic legend of the kind-hearted Urashima Taro. The tale flashes back to Taro saving a tiny turtle from some kids, letting it return to the ocean. Years later, a giant turtle returns to repay the debt, inviting him to visit the magical Ryugu Palace. There, Taro meets Princess Otohime, dines on legendary feasts, and enjoys a dreamlike life. Hearing this, Herat drools with hunger, but her jaw drops when Fumizuki finishes the tale by revealing Taro suddenly turned into a withered old man. Her asks in a panic, isn't she skipping the most important part of the story? Jen turns to Patry and curiously asks if she wants to add anything to that old legend. But the red-haired girl just stays completely silent, her face clouded with a strange deep sadness that is pretty hard to read. Since she refuses to speak, Jen just clicks his tongue. Fine, if she wants to keep quiet, so be it. But he warns her not to mess up when things get critical. Classic Jen teasing her first, then bringing up work to threaten her. Quite a wild attitude, right? The group pushes on, with Jen riding comfortably on the white tiger Heras while Patry floats behind him, her eyes glowing red with murderous intent. Suddenly, she senses a deadly threat closing in on them. Hold on, danger is literally everywhere. Out of nowhere, a massive red energy slash rips through the sky, tearing the ground apart and triggering a devastating explosion right next to where they stand. Jen leaps down to the ground, glances up at the incredibly tense Patry, and casually asks if she is angry. Standing right before a massive, dry, towering, rocky mountain, he just smirks with pure amusement. Well, things are definitely getting interesting now. Hera's in her tiger form suddenly senses something and calls out to her master, but Jen confidently cuts her off, announcing that they have finally arrived. Immediately, her shifts back into her beautiful beast girl form. Looking around at the desolate wasteland of rock and howling wind, she gets pretty skeptical, wondering if they actually came to the wrong place. A sharp crunch echoes under his feet as he steps toward the steep cliff. Jen looks all the way up to the towering mountain peak and suddenly shouts out, "Hey, can you take me to meet your boss?" Only the dead silence of the mountains answers his call. Jen persists anyway, shouting again for them to let him meet their leader. Seeing no response, he mutters that this is not going nearly as smoothly as he hoped. Her walks over anxiously, asking her master who on earth he is talking to. Jen just flashes a pretty mysterious smile, replying that it is someone she knows very well. Instantly, the ground shakes violently as a colossal creature with a rough, rocky shell rises from the cliff face. It spots Patry and cries out with deep emotion, "Dragon Lady, I have been searching for you for so long." Her gasps in utter shock at the sheer size of this ancient creature, calling it a massive sea turtle. Seeing how much this beast worships his subordinate, Jen silently reflects on the powerful divine weapon he now holds. The sword Patry was forged purely for war. Standing majestically with glowing red eyes and creepy demonic tentacles floating around her, he realizes this weapon is a source of absolute terror for every living soul on the planet, except for one mysterious tribe. Looking at this giant sea creature shaped like a towering stone dragon, Jen realizes that the secrets of the deep sea are way more complicated than he initially thought. Floating right in front of the giant beast's glowing gold eyes, Patry looks tiny. The ancient creature speaks in a deep, rumbling voice, asking the dragon lady why she is in such a strange state after all this time. Watching this unfold, Fumizuki and her are completely blown away. Her stutters, asking to make absolutely sure, is Patry really the legendary dragon lady from the ancient stories? Jen starts putting the clues together. Her dragon horns are clearly proof of her deep-sea origins. Smirking, he points out that legends and reality are usually quite different, asking the girls if they know what myths actually are. Fumizuki wonders if it is a lesson or a warning, but Jen sharply cuts in. No, the actual truth of any legend is that humans are the ones who made it up. Still pretty confused, Fumizuki asks if being human-made means these stories are always filled with lies. Jen raises two fingers and calmly explains that people usually have two very specific reasons for telling a lie. The first reason is to take advantage of others, just like how he was dragged into this world as a mere substitute to fill the vacant Demon King throne. Raising a second finger, his expression grows serious as he reveals that the other reason is to hide something, and Patry fits perfectly into this category, along with her whole legendary story about Taro. Patry is completely lost, while Fumizuki anxiously asks what really went down. Jen just smiles, suggesting they let the person who actually lived through that era reveal the truth that history kept buried in the dark. Closing her eyes, Patry begins to look back on 1,000 years of memories she never planned on sharing. She admits the first part of the legend about Taro visiting the Dragon Palace is true, and that was her very first time meeting someone from the outside world. She happily recalls those beautiful golden days, when she would host grand feasts for Taro and they would play together inside her magnificent, sprawling Dragon Palace. Taro's kindness in helping her friends deeply moved her dragon heart, bringing them closer together than they had ever been before. But that joy did not last as the harsh reality of human aging and mortality caught up with them. Patry was so lost in her happiness that she completely forgot the massive difference between their races. Human fragility is always their ultimate weakness. Looking at how old Taro had become, Patry was completely heartbroken to hear him say a bitter farewell, telling her they should stop seeing each other. Seeing her deep pain and confusion, Taro weakly explained that he did not want her to watch him decay and that he simply could not stay by her side forever. Refusing to let her lover fade away, Patry frantically searched through ancient books until she found a forbidden blood exchange ritual to turn Taro into a deep-sea tribe member. She firmly told him that she would help him. Her intense desire to stay together forever completely blinded her, even ignoring the terrifying warnings of her stone dragon guardian. The guardian warned her that it was too dangerous and she would die, but Patry did not care as long as it was for Taro. What she did not realize was that the ritual would leave her body completely paralyzed. Holding Taro's hand gently inside the magic circle, she promised him that he would soon be able to move again, blessed with incredible new power. Hearing about her blind sacrifice, her feels a shiver of fear for her friend. But as expected, Patry's pure kindness was met with the most ruthless, cold-blooded betrayal right when she was at her absolute weakest. Suddenly revealing his wicked true face, Taro coldly wraps his hands around her neck, leaving her in absolute shock. "Why, Taro?" she gasped. He had planned everything from the start, using the ritual to steal all her power and status. Taro transformed into a twisted demonic monster, leaving Patry with a lifetime of trauma and humiliation. Hearing this tragic, awful end, her gets absolutely furious, cursing out that garbage excuse of a man. Fumizuki is pretty curious about what happened after she lost everything. Patry explains that thanks to the incredibly resilient soul of her deep-sea tribe, she managed to survive, but her grand power was completely gone forever. Left as a wandering, broken soul, She eventually crossed paths with Sat, the Dark King. Thanks to him, she received a new body as a divine weapon, reviving to serve under the Demon King. Jen listens in silence with a pretty solemn gaze, but the giant stone dragon suddenly speaks, completely shattering the quiet mood. "You are being way too naive," the beast rumbles. It stares directly at Patry, demanding to know if she plans on telling her new master about the grim reality that her entire tribe is on the verge of becoming human slaves. Hearing this sharp, painful accusation from the stone dragon, Patry gasps in absolute shock, asking what on earth he means. The massive ancient turtle just lets out a heavy sigh. "Yes, my dragon lady, it is the truth." The giant beast begins sharing the tragic story, explaining that after she left, things were fine, until Taro suddenly showed up and led her entire tribe onto the dry land. He used incredibly sly, deceitful words to trick her warriors, promising them there was a way to bring their dragon lady back if they marched onto the mainland. Desperate to see their beloved master again, the loyal warriors happily followed him without a single second thought. But the moment they stepped on dry land, they walked right into a brutal massacre and were utterly wiped out. This is just brutal to watch. Seeing her entire family slaughtered on a bloody battlefield utterly breaks Patry. She trembles, refusing to believe it, crying out that it must be a lie since humans could never defeat her tribe. Right then, Jen breaks his silence. "During that exact time, the Demon King turned you into a sword. Don't you think the timing was just a bit too perfect?" Patry looks up, asking what he means. Jen calmly explains the true nature of these special divine weapons. They can actually absorb all the negative backlash instead of their owners. Patry, who is protected by the deep sea power, was turned into a weapon. It would be the perfect plan for Shajia Herat to profit, just like he did with the curses before. Yanagi Fumizuki starts putting the pieces together, realizing a terrifying conspiracy is at play here. "So you mean someone orchestrated this entire tragedy just to get their hands on Patry, and that person is the Demon King?" Patry immediately screams in denial, insisting he would never do something so despicable. But Jen keeps pushing her coldly. Did she never find it strange? Even if she failed in battle, using deep-sea power meant her soul would survive. And here's where the dark realization finally hits. Memories of their fateful meeting come rushing back. When Patry was severely wounded and on the brink of death, Shajia Herat appeared and reached out to her. Back then, she naively believed it was destiny. She remembers kneeling before the Demon King as a mere soul, begging him, asking why he wouldn't use her. Shajia Herat just sat casually on his throne, telling her not to rush, that he would use her soon, but not today. Now facing the brutal truth, Patry painfully realizes she was just a pawn in the grand plan of the king she worshipped. She bursts into tears, falling into complete despair. She really thought her beloved king cared for her, but it was all just a setup. What did the Deep Sea clan ever do to deserve this? Staring at her weakness, Jen looks down with a sharp, cold gaze and asks if crying and screaming is really all she's going to do. As Patry looks up in shock, Jen boldly declares that if he were her, he'd make them pay 100 times over. Her eyes instantly turn determined. Wiping her tears, she looks out at the vast sea while Jen turns to order the sea turtle. "Sea turtle, take us to the Deep Sea clan right now." Clenching his fist, he vows to make their enemies pay 100 times over, while Patry gently places her hand on his, promising to fight by his side until the very end. Yeah.